The clock of all things allows Subai to upgrade even junk-tier gear into legendary equipment. He had obtained it as a supreme-level reward after clearing the 999th floor of the Tower of God video game. But right after that, he died, only to wake up in another world. To his shock, it turned out to be the very world of Tower of God itself. Combat classes, life classes, job transfer crystals. All of it was real here. Subai starts wondering if he has transmigrated into a parallel world where the Tower of God actually exists. Here, though, the tower has only been cleared up to the 99th floor. Subai feels this is exactly the kind of opportunity he wanted. If he is the one who cleared floor 999 in the game, then here he would be unstoppable. He thinks to himself that this must be the beginning of his peak life. Before he can get carried away, the teacher shouts at everyone to sit down quietly so they can receive their teleportation crystals. Once handed out, the teacher tells them to crush the crystal to begin their transfer and wishes them good luck and safe travels. The kids are hyped beyond belief, and even Subai admits to himself that he is quite excited. He crushes the crystal immediately. A notification greets him, welcoming him to the Tower of God. It says that personal information has been bound, data is being processed, and he should wait. Then another message dings, saying that the upload has failed, a pre-registered account has been detected, and it is attempting to log in. Subai feels his pulse race. If it can log into his old account, then he will be invincible. But soon another message arrives. The account information does not match, login has failed, and the system is attempting to clear data. Subai becomes furious. The thought of his old save file being deleted irritates him more than anything. And sure enough, in an instant, all his progress is erased. After the reset, he is welcomed once more to the Tower of God. He immediately recognizes the beginner town, the place where all new players gather to buy gear and supplies before stepping into the tower. While looking around, he receives another system message. Because he had cleared the 999th floor in the original Tower of God, he is being awarded the supreme artifact, Clock of All Things. He mutters in confusion to himself, wondering what exactly this is supposed to be. In the Tower of God, he recalls, items and gear are ranked by color. White for crude, gray for common, green for rare, blue for perfect, purple for epic, and orange for legendary. The Clock of All Things, however, is on a completely different level. Its quality is marked as Supreme Artifact, a heaven-tier reward that has no level requirements. Its effect is simple yet terrifying. Upgrade. The description says it is a clock that can successfully upgrade anything with a 100% success rate, though it comes with a very small price. The vagueness of the effect makes him uneasy, but since he is just a beginner and doesn't have much to upgrade anyway, he decides to look around town first. He even wonders if the tavern lady here would still remember him. Another announcement shakes the atmosphere. Since Yen Nation was the first to clear the newbie zone, all Yen Nation players are given a blessing. Stats increased by 10%. The crowd erupts in excitement, cheering for Sword God Lin, who had cleared it first. Subai checks his own stats and thinks aloud that since the Tower of God is now real, they can no longer treat it like a simple game. If someone dies here, they really die. Still, he notes, a 10% stat boost at the beginner stage is incredibly useful for job transfers. Then he remembers his supreme artifact. If it really works, even junk-tier gear can be upgraded straight into legendary. He tests it on his noob equipment. To his amazement, it succeeds. The Clock of All Things truly upgrades items at a 100% success rate. He stares at the newly transformed legendary gear in shock. Just as he is starting to feel overjoyed, another notification cuts him down. The system tells him that the action has failed due to insufficient coins. Subai suddenly realizes the harsh truth. He is completely broke. With a heavy sigh, he admits to himself that the first step in this world is not about conquering the tower. It is about making money. After all, in the Tower of God, money solves everything. At the Tower of God, beginners gathered in the thousands. The first announcement hit them like a hammer. Their beginner protection would only last 7 days. 7 days. Fail to change your class in that time, and you're expelled from the tower. That was why every newcomer's top priority was simple. Level up fast and get a class change crystal. Some were even willing to buy one from others at ridiculous prices. The crystals were that valuable. Even so, countless beginners were eliminated every single year. Inside the tavern, Subai leaned closer to the counter. He told the tavern lady that he had a few cocktail recipes and wanted to know if she was interested. One of them, he explained, was called Rare Beast Blood Wine, a drink so addictive it would keep customers coming back again and again. The tavern lady gave him a sharp look. She warned him that he'd better not be joking. Subai calmly offered to sell the recipe for 5 gold coins. He promised there was no trick involved. After a moment's hesitation, She agreed. 5 gold was nothing if the recipe was real. Still, she warned him that if he was lying, he wouldn't survive the consequences. Subai wasn't worried. He knew the recipe was genuine. It was only a basic tier 1, and he had knowledge of far better recipes tucked away in his mind. 5 minutes later, gasps filled the tavern. The wine glittered in the glass like a glowing red crystal. Everyone stared, wide-eyed. Then the crowd went wild. People pushed and shoved, fighting to get a sip. Exactly the reaction Subai had expected. The tavern lady tried it herself. Her eyes lit up. She immediately asked how many recipes he had, saying she wanted every single one. Subai chuckled. He told her he had 5 recipes in total, and since they now knew each other, he'd give her a discount. 20 gold coins for all of them. The tavern lady grinned. She told him he was quite the man, and that she was starting to like him. 20 gold coins in a single deal. Considering 1 gold meant 100 silver, and 100 silver meant 10,000 copper, that was a small fortune. More than enough to upgrade the clock of all things again. And the deal didn't end there. The tavern lady even gifted him a premium quality dagger as a bonus. Subai pocketed it, satisfied. Then, without lingering, he decided it was time to move on. The tavern lady tells Subai that if he ever comes across rarer wine recipes in the future, she would be interested in buying them too. Subai replies that she can count on it for the sake of their old friendship. The tavern lady laughs and calls him a smooth-tongued kid. Without wasting more time, Subai decides to upgrade his weapon. The process eats up a lot of silver, but the stat boost is more than worth it. As long as he manages to change his class during the protection period, spending money early is the smartest choice. Wasting time on slow development is not an option. He pours his silver into upgrades and is rewarded with some incredible results. With stats like these, clearing the first floor of the Tower of God will be as easy as slicing through a watermelon. Out at the beginner zone's outskirts, chaos is already breaking out. Players are fighting over wild rabbits. Subai frowns. He wonders why they're crowding around a creature like that. To him, the rabbit looks too cute to even think about killing. On top of that, wild rabbits barely give any experience points. Not to mention they don't even drop copper coins. But when the other players notice him walking closer, they start shouting at him. They tell him not to go into that unguarded area because it's dangerous. Subai doesn't understand what they mean by unguarded area. And then, without warning, a snake bursts out. A wind serpent strikes at him in an instant. One of the players panics and yells for Subai to watch out and come back quickly. He shouts that it's a wind serpent, one of the most dangerous monsters for beginners. Subai only smirks. He mutters that a tiny serpent like this isn't even enough to get stuck between his teeth. With one swift strike, he kills it instantly. The crowd freezes in shock. They whisper in disbelief, asking how he could possibly kill a level 1 wind serpent so casually. Subai waves it off and says there was nothing difficult about it. It only took a flick of his hand. Still, the other players keep warning him. They remind him that if a wind serpent lands a critical hit, it can kill a beginner instantly. With their weak gear and low stats, none of them could survive it. Dying once in this world means being gone forever. Subai just tosses a few copper coins toward them and thanks them for the warning. He tells them to take care of themselves too. The players wish him luck as he walks away, though once he's gone, their tone changes. They whisper to each other about how reckless he is. One of them complains that he even tried to help Subai but got brushed off coldly. He mutters that Subai will probably be dead in 5 minutes anyway. Meanwhile, Subai pushes further outside the safe zone. He notes with satisfaction that there are far fewer players here. That's exactly what he wanted. Another wind serpent appears, but just like before, Subai cuts it down in an instant. This really was just like the game Tower of Gods. But leveling up through rabbits and wind serpents felt painfully slow. Subai realizes that if he wants real progress, he will need to kill more monsters and push through the first floor as quickly as possible. More wind serpents suddenly slither out from the grass, but he cuts them down one after another. Instead of feeling tired, he feels excited, almost playful. Hunting monsters like this was definitely faster, but the drop rate was still frustratingly low. Then, an announcement shakes the entire tower. Season 10 of Tower of Gods has officially begun. All first-time players will receive the tower's blessing. Kill records in the beginner zone have been reset. Luxurious rewards await the first killers. New players, give it your all and surpass the pioneers. The words make Subai pause. Season 10, so that meant the race had officially started. If that was the case, he had no intention of letting anyone else take the first kill rewards. Not when he held the divine item, the clock of all things. Around him, the nobodies in the beginner zone whisper among themselves. They wonder aloud who will get the first kill this year. None of them dare to dream too big, though. They already believe it will go to one of the 3 great families of the eastern region. Those people were born with silver spoons in their mouths. Some even mentioned seeing the eldest daughter of the Lin family earlier. She was wearing a full legendary set, gear worth tens of thousands, maybe even millions. A complete set could go for tens of millions, and on top of that, she had high-level bodyguards protecting her. Compared to people like that, the ordinary beginners had no chance. So they put the thought out of their minds and go back to chasing rabbits. Meanwhile, Subai keeps mowing down wind serpents one after another. Then ding! A notification congratulates him. He has reached level 2. As the 823rd player in the eastern region to level up, he has been awarded a black iron chest, along with 2 free stat points. Subai nods in satisfaction. Not bad. But then, another system feature unlocks, the ranking system. He checks it and is stunned. So many players had already reached level 2. The top rankers were even closing in on level 3. He quickly realizes why he is behind. He had spent too much time earlier studying the clock of all things after entering the tower. That little delay had cost him a spot on the leaderboard. Still, he isn't worried. He tells himself that the others only have a temporary lead. Soon enough, he will be the one standing at the very top. With that thought, he focuses on the black iron chest he just received. He wonders what kind of reward might be waiting for him inside. Subai opened the black iron chest. Inside he found only a basic cloth armor and 30 copper coins. The system then told him to select which gear he wanted to upgrade. Now he had a weapon and some armor. He thought about it. The beginner boss wouldn't hit that hard anyway, so defense didn't matter much. What mattered was damage. He chose to upgrade the dagger. The system asked how many times. The maximum was 8. Each upgrade would cost 50 copper coins. Without hesitation, Subai decided to push it straight to the maximum. 8 upgrades in one go. More than 9 silver coins gone at once. But he could afford it. The stats refreshed. Only the first upgrade improved the base attributes, while the rest just stacked more attack power. Even so, his total attack was now close to 100 points. It was still labeled as excellent grade, yet the numbers were already on par with rare weapons. Subai knew then, this mysterious watch really was a legendary treasure. With this tool in hand, it was time to step onto the first floor of the Tower of God. The beginner boss, however, only spawned 10 times on the first day. Whoever killed it earned the right to enter the tower. Even teams could only secure a limited number of spots. And the first killer? Almost guaranteed entry. Subai hurried to the boss's location. But when he arrived, he heard the clash of steel and the roars of goblins. Someone was already there. He couldn't believe it. The first kill was supposed to be his. On the field, a group was fighting goblins. Their equipment shone with excellent grade glow. At the center was a young woman in full rare gear, Lin Yuchan, the Lin family's miss. Compared to her, Subai's dagger suddenly felt worthless. Lin Yuchan called for her second faction to regroup. She told the third to push forward and ordered her men to distribute potions quickly. They followed without hesitation. One of her aides told her they would soon reach the first floor at this pace. But Yuchan reminded him not to underestimate the Li and Bo families, since multiple routes could lead to the plains. Then her gaze landed on Subai. Her men noticed him as well. They asked who he was. Subai explained that he was on his own, not part of any team, and that they could continue their fight while he passed through. The Lin family members exchanged doubtful looks. For their battalion, fully equipped, it had taken half an hour just to clear the forest. Yet this young man had arrived alone? It didn't add up. Her aide warned Yuchan that Subai was trying to use their fight as cover to slip past and steal the boss. Yuchan immediately gave new orders. She told her 3rd battalion to cut potion use, and instructed them to coordinate with the 4th to stop Subai with everything they had. She wasn't about to let anyone take her first kill. The soldiers turned toward Subai, ready to block his way. Subai only sighed. To him, they were nothing but a nuisance. Subai frowns and tells them they're already fighting their own monsters, so why bother dragging him into it? The Lin family's assistant only sneers. In his eyes, Subai is just a level 2 rookie. He can't understand why this kid dares to resist. The man orders the soldiers to get rid of Subai quickly. He insists they cannot let the young miss lose her chance at the first kill. The troops rush forward without hesitation. Subai doesn't even feel threatened. Instead, he decides to toy with them for a while. Arrows whistle toward him. With a flick of his dagger, he deflects them all. The motion is so effortless that even Lin Yuchan herself looks stunned. More fighters leap at him, blades flashing. Yet they can't land a single blow. Subai slips through their formation, dodging with ease, and takes them down one after another. The assistant freezes in disbelief. To him, this is impossible. A level 2 rookie shouldn't be able to wipe out trained fighters in an instant. The men falter. Then they retreat. Subai warns them that while they may be stronger than the average rookie, they are still far from enough to bring him down. He moves again, striking with precision. Critical hits land one after another, dropping soldiers before they can react. The assistant blurts out in shock that these are critical hits. He can't process what he's seeing, but then he quickly shouts for everyone to fall back. Even while retreating, he grits his teeth and warns Su-bai not to get too cocky. He asks if Su-bai even knows whom he has angered. Su-bai dismisses him coldly. He tells the man that he doesn't care who they are. Anyone who stands in his way won't walk away unscathed. The threat hits hard. The assistant's face twists with rage. Before he can retort, Lin Yuchan suddenly cuts in. She tells her aide, Zhang Fei, to shut up. Then she looks at Su-bai and calmly suggests that perhaps they should make a deal. Everyone is stunned when Lin Yuchan suggests making a deal. Su-bai narrows his eyes, curious about the details. Yuchan studies him carefully. He arrived alone, yet from the way he fought earlier, he is clearly no ordinary player. She tells him that there can be no understanding without a fight and asks him to name his price. Her assistant, Zhang Fei, looks uneasy, but Yuchan silences him. Delaying their progress in the Tower of Gods would bring real consequences, and she knows very well that Zhang would never be able to shoulder that responsibility. Su-bai finally speaks. He tells them that the matter is settled. He guarantees he won't attack again. In return, they must pay a protection fee based on headcount, 1 silver coin per person. To him, that is a fair price. Zhang explodes in anger, demanding to know if Su-bai is dreaming. But Su-bai only replies coldly that this is the cost of keeping their lives, and asks if anyone has any objections. Once again, Yuchan cuts Zhang off. She accepts Su-bai's demand, but instead offers him 3 gold coins, saying he can consider the rest a token of friendship. She also asks him to add her as a friend. Su-bai then tells her that to add her as a friend, 1 more gold coin is required. To everyone's disbelief, Yuchan agrees. Those behind her clearly dislike the arrangement, but none dare to oppose her decision. Zhang mutters that this stranger is blatantly exploiting the situation. Ignoring him, Yuchan proposes something else. She suggests that Su-bai join them to hunt the beginner area boss together, so they can claim the first kill reward. Su-bai thinks to himself that the first boss in the eastern beginner area must be very important to her. He agrees, but adds a condition. He will lead the group. This pushes Zhang over the edge. He snaps that Su-bai must be dreaming. Lin family elites trained since childhood have no reason to follow a mere level 2 rookie. Su-bai remains firm. If they want to kill the boss, they must follow his orders. Otherwise, he has nothing more to say. He won't let anyone slow him down. Yuchan surprises everyone by agreeing to his demand. Zhang, however, protests again. He reminds her that Su-bai is a stranger and not someone they can trust. But Yuchan dismisses his objection. She tells Su-bai that, while he may move freely, leadership is something she cannot hand over. Su-bai doesn't argue. He simply says that if that is the case, then there is no need to waste more words. He turns to leave. Yuchan calls after him, asking if he doesn't want to reconsider. She offers him 100 gold coins. Su-bai only replies that the first kill reward is worth far more than 100 gold, and he won't let them waste his time. Zhang sneers at his retreating back, saying that this man thinks he can break the world record for the first kill. To Zhang, it is nothing but a fool's dream. Yuchan secretly doubts him. A solo player? Even I can't guarantee success, let alone him. Meanwhile, Su-bai sits by a rock and calmly checks his notifications. Now that he's stacked with wealth, he decides to upgrade his gear immediately. He spends 1,650 silver to skip the waiting time. The silver vanishes, and his weapon shines with new power. His stats climb, HP now over 300. With this, he feels confident enough to face the beginner area boss. Back in the tavern, people gossip. Some comment that this year's rookies seem unusually active, and the first kill of the beginner area will probably be decided soon. The tavern lady wonders aloud whether Yen Nation can hold on to that honor, reminding everyone that last year, their guild held the first kill record up to the 9th floor before being overtaken by a super rookie from the Beacon Nation, an SSS class profession. With a sigh, someone says Yen Nation hasn't seen an SSS rookie since Lin the Eternal Swordsman. If even one appeared this year, it would be a miracle. At the cliff, Su-bai descends quickly. The thought of the first kill burns in his mind. He cannot afford to lose. But ahead, he notices a group already fighting monsters. For a moment, he thinks he's late, but then his sharp senses pick up something. The faint trace of energy concealment powder is a cheap trick, useful only against monsters of similar level. Against high-level bosses, it's worthless. Still, it's costly, worth millions, and seeing it here tells him the enemies are well-funded. Dozens of fighters struggle against mobs while their leader watches from behind. Su-bai is relieved. The boss hasn't been provoked yet. If it had, he would have to wait an hour for respawn. One of the group members notices him and asks if they should stop the newcomer. Their leader, Wang Zishi, the legitimate son of the Wang family, one of the 3 great families of the eastern region, waves him off. To him, Subai is just a lone wolf. Lee Yura, daughter of another great family, sneers that this fool dares to covet what isn't his. But the sneers fade when Subai ignores everyone and heads straight for the boss. The Goblin King roars to life as Subai closes in, a notification flashing in his vision. Beginner area boss, Goblin King. The others wait for the slaughter, certain the monster will crush him. Wang Zishi smirks, saying there's no need to interfere, and Lee Yura agrees, dismissing him as trash. Then the fight begins. The Goblin King swings his massive club, but Subai slips past with ease. His dagger flashes, landing a critical hit that tears away over 100 HP in one strike. The king howls in pain, but Subai calls him nothing more than a barking dog and continues. Another critical hit slashes across the monster's chest, another 100 HP gone in seconds. The crowd stares in disbelief. The Goblin King's weak points, chest, lower back, and eyes, are being exploited flawlessly. They can't believe what they're witnessing. A level 2 rookie standing toe-to-toe with the area's strongest monster, parrying its blows and landing devastating counters. Even Lee Yura is stunned. None of them expected this lone stranger to last more than a few seconds, let alone overwhelm the boss. The lady turns to Brother GC and asks what is wrong. Brother GC replies that he cannot understand how Subai is using Flash Step, since all 3 of his attacks have been critical hits, something that should not even be possible. Flash Step is a high-level technique that even top players rarely manage to use, so this sight leaves everyone unsettled. They begin debating what to do next, wondering if they should take him down right away. But Brother GC tells them not to rush. No matter how strong Subai looks, there is no way he can finish the boss in a single strike. He reminds them of the mantis and cicada proverb, saying that they should wait until Subai is nearly at his limit, then strike when the opportunity is perfect. Meanwhile, Subai continues the fight with the Goblin King. He tells himself that defeating this opponent will be no harder than chopping vegetables. The monster swings at him again, but Subai answers with another precise slash that lands as a critical hit. He remarks mockingly that screaming will not help the Goblin King, and then strikes at its kidneys. The monster howls in pain, but this time the roar sounds different. Subai quickly realizes the boss might be summoning reinforcements. The other spectators soon notice it too. Just when they thought the battlefield was almost cleared, more goblins begin to appear. The lady points out that the boss has summoned goblin guards. Brother GC immediately orders everyone to switch into assault formation and break through the encirclement. His teammates rally behind him, encouraging each other to give it their all. The lady, frustrated, wonders aloud if these endless goblin guards are appearing because of Subai. Brother GC ignores her complaint and gives another command, telling everyone to clear a path for him. His teammates respond with determination, saying they will get him through and urging him to take the lead. Another member adds that they will carry him forward, all shouting encouragement for Brother Wang to push ahead. In his own thoughts, Brother GC believes there is still time. With Subai's damage output, there is no way he could possibly deplete the boss's remaining health instantly. By using a magic scroll, Brother GC is certain he can secure victory and claim the first kill in the eastern zone for himself. He vows not to let anyone else steal that glory. But Subai also sees through their scheme. He understands that they are planning to strike at the last possible moment to steal his achievement. He notices that they have even brought along a mid-grade magic scroll, proof that this is indeed a wealthy rival trying to overpower him. Still, Subai feels a surge of defiance and tells himself that he wants to see them try. At that moment, Brother GC declares that Subai will be destroyed along with the boss. He then activates the mid-grade flame burst scroll, unleashing a massive explosion across the battlefield. Everyone around begins cheering, believing that their leader has finally done it. They praise Brother GC as awesome and assume the victory is his. But the supposed winner himself grows uneasy. He starts to worry when the system remains silent. Then, with growing dread, he blurts out why the system hasn't announced the result yet. At that very moment, the notification appears. It declares that the East Zone beginner town boss has been defeated by player Subai and encourages everyone else to keep working hard. The news hits the entire crowd like a thunderbolt. Their excitement collapses into shock and disbelief. Many cannot understand how this outcome is even possible. Even Brother GC himself mutters that it makes no sense for Subai to one-shot the boss. Subai, standing over the fallen Goblin King, explains coldly. He tells them they are fools for not knowing that fatal wounds can stack damage. He reveals that he deliberately targeted the Goblin King's critical weakness and finished it off when it had only 5% health remaining. He adds that he could have ended the fight earlier, when the boss dropped to 20%, but he waited. Instead, he let the others drool over victory until Wang Jisi wasted his mid-grade scroll, and only then did he deliver the final blow. With a sigh, Subai remarks that it must hurt to think about losing such an expensive item, one worth thousands of gold, for nothing. For Subai, this is more than just a victory. He has been waiting for the chance to teach these wealthy player bullies a lesson, those who rely on throwing money around to crush free-to-play players. Now they are the ones humiliated, left only to wait for the boss to respawn. With a smirk, he tells them farewell and walks away. The announcement quickly spreads to the tavern, where players are already buzzing with talk about someone defeating the East Zone's Goblin King. The news shocks them further when they realize the first kill did not go to one of the three great clans. Speculation rises immediately. Some wonder if the East Zone has a hidden noble Su family behind this mysterious player. Others insist that whoever claimed the kill must be a serious contender, perhaps even someone from a secret clan. A few consider that it could really be Subai, but another player quickly dismisses the thought. He argues that Subai is just an orphan and could never surpass the three great families, suggesting it must be another person with the same name. Yuchan, upon seeing the notification herself, is left speechless. She lashes out in frustration and orders her team to advance to the settlement at full speed. Her command is met with an immediate, unified response of agreement from her people. Meanwhile, Brother Wang's anger burns hotter than ever, now fully directed at Subai. 9:16 p.m. The lady turns to Brother GC and asks what they should do now. Brother replies that everyone should rest and regroup, and in an hour they will farm the next boss. But before his words can settle, a portal opens in front of them. Out steps Yuchan, her expression burning with anger. She demands to know if they intend to take the second boss as well, snapping that she never gave them permission. Just then, a notification appears before Subai. It announces that he is the first player in the East Zone to defeat the Goblin King, granting him access to the Tower of God's reward silver chest. Another line follows immediately, declaring that he is also among the first 100 players globally to unlock the same chest. Two gleaming silver chests materialize in front of him. Subai decides to open them before moving on, reasoning that rare gear might lie inside. The first chest grants him rare boots called One Step Away, along with 10 silver coins. The second chest provides a small XP potion and 30 more silver coins. He inspects the boots and notes that they grant a valuable speed boost, though the level requirement is still beyond his current reach. As he organizes the rewards, another thought strikes him. Since he secured the first boss kill, the Season 10 Global Tower leaderboard should now be open. He pulls it up and checks his standing. His name appears at rank 98. It's a surprisingly low placement, considering he left the beginner village less than 2 hours ago and already killed the Goblin King. He realizes that the top players in other regions must have defeated their bosses nearly an hour earlier. Clearly, wealthy and powerful competitors are not limited to the East Zone. They are scattered across the world. Determined not to fall behind, Subai immediately consumes the small XP potion, gaining a temporary 10% boost to experience gain. He steels himself, thinking that he has no time to waste. 9:16 p.m. With the buff active, he prepares to grind as quickly as possible. Turning back to the portal that has opened, he steps forward without hesitation. He is eager to see what awaits inside, the first dungeon of this season's Tower of Gods. Subai steps into the Tower of God's first floor and immediately recognizes it as the Dark Maze. The tower's beginner zone dungeons are infamous for their variety, each one entirely different in theme, layout, and enemies. Dark Maze, though only an entry-level floor, is notorious for being mid to high difficulty. For most new players, it is a death trap, but Subai remembers this place. Every path, every turn, every hidden dead end, he had memorized it all from his years in the game. The maze hasn't changed. The same patterns still apply, and that gives him a major advantage. Before he can take more than a few steps, however, a pale hand bursts through the ground. A gaunt figure drags itself up, skin stretched over bones, eyes glowing faintly. A notification identifies it as a ghoul. Subai recalls their traits: fast, aggressive, and lethal in groups. If they manage to encircle him, he's done for. He reacts instantly, activating Flash Step to close the distance in a blur and driving his blade into its skull. The critical strike drops the monster instantly, but another ghoul erupts from the floor right behind him. Without hesitation, Subai pivots, strikes again, and lands another decisive blow. This one also falls. The chain of kills, combined with the Goblin King's earlier XP, pushes his level up to 3. Encouraged, he presses deeper into the maze. Soon, he reaches a fork where 2 glowing inscription tablets await, one blue, one red. The blue tablet signifies an easy route, while the red marks the hard path. Subai doesn't hesitate. Harder paths mean greater rewards, and he chooses red. The tablet vanishes, and a massive door materializes in front of him, thrumming with ominous energy. Meanwhile, far away in the Yen Kingdom, the Yeo Dynasty Guild headquarters is abuzz with reports. In the guild's conference room, a woman delivers her update. Young Master Junkai's progress has been smooth so far. Sitting at the head of the table, guild leader Zhou Wang listens with a calm but stern expression. He reminds her that an early lead is meaningless, that the title of Rookie King only belongs to the one who seizes the final prize. The woman smiles politely, insisting that with Zhou Wang's careful arrangements, young Master Junkai is all but guaranteed victory this season. But her words ignite the leader's fury. He roars at her, calling her a fool, warning that the Rookie King is not a title that can be inherited or bought. Every past king carved their name with blood and survival against overwhelming odds. One of the guild's assistants bows his head, agreeing with the leader's criticism. Zhou Wang exhales slowly, temper cooling. He admits softly that he only hopes his son will not disappoint him. Back in the maze, Subai's situation grows harsher. Ghouls continue clawing up from the floor, their shrieks echoing through the darkness. They try to encircle him, lunging from every direction, but Subai stays sharp, cutting them down one by one before the trap can close in around him. So far, Subai's critical hits have been carrying him well. In less than half an hour, his kill count has stacked up, and the tower's generous experience rates keep pushing him forward. After finally clearing a room full of ghouls, something unusual catches his eye, a gray tablet half hidden against the wall. It marks a hidden chamber. Picking the hard route has paid off, and this is his bonus. He decides to go inside. The moment he enters, more ghouls surge out of the ground, far more than before. Their shrieks echo in the chamber as they swarm from every side. He counts quickly. There must be at least 50. With no hesitation, he dives into battle, slashing through them in a blur. Flash step becomes his rhythm, his blade carving critical strikes as bodies collapse one after another. Half an hour later, the final ghoul falls. Subai is breathing hard, but the notification flashing before his eyes makes it worthwhile. He is leveled up to 4 and gained 2 free attribute points. With the hidden room cleared, he is awarded an S-rank battle evaluation, a perfect clear. The tower grants him 1,000 experience points and a stack of gold. His balanced attribute growth makes him grin. It is exactly what he was aiming for. Now he feels ready. The time has come to challenge the floor's boss. Checking the global rankings, he sees Zhou Junkai sitting at number 1, Lin Mengxian at number 2. Yet neither name shows a boss clear. Subai takes it as a challenge. If no one else has claimed the first clear, then he will. He pushes open the door to the boss chamber. Inside are rows of towering statues, all frozen in place, surrounding a massive goat-headed figure seated upon a throne in the center. The floor 1 boss, the Minotaur, level 5, 55,000 health points, and infamous for punishing careless adventurers. Around him, ghouls begin to rise, moving to intercept. Subai wastes no time. He uses flash step to cut through the fodder instantly, his focus locked solely on the boss. The Minotaur rises slowly, silent and imposing, axe in hand. Just like in the game, it exudes an oppressive aura. Subai hurls his sword at it, testing its defenses, but the boss does not fall for the trick. A thunderous roar follows. A violent wind blasts across the chamber, shaking the floor and rattling the walls. Even the statues along the sides begin to move, stone dragons tearing free from their pedestals to join the fight. Instead of fear, Subai feels his blood pumping. The fight has finally become worthy. The Minotaur swings its axe in a devastating arc. Subai leaps high, using a gap step to avoid the crushing strike, and drives a critical blow against the beast's shoulder. The hit lands, but the boss's massive health bar barely shifts. Only a sliver disappears, a mere 150 points gone. And the real battle has only just begun. The Minotaur lashes out, its massive axe slashing towards Subai. He sidesteps with flash gap, unfazed, and turns the momentum against the boss and its stone minions. The beast stomps the ground, triggering a glowing magic circle. Flames burst outward as the Minotaur activates its signature skill, Bull Charge, and rushes forward with incredible speed. Subai is caught off guard by how quickly the skill has been used, but he regains his composure instantly. He vaults into the air with flash step, avoiding the charge, and drives his blade down in a vicious strike. The hit lands cleanly, this time tearing away a full 1,000 points of the Minotaur's health. The statues surrounding the chamber close in, sensing an opening while Subai is locked against the boss. But he cuts through them in a blur, turning their ambush into free experience. A new notification flashes, level up, level 5, plus 2 attribute points gained. Without hesitation, he equips a new pair of boots, boosting his speed to terrifying levels. Now he's everywhere at once, darting across the arena faster than the boss can react. The Minotaur roars and swings, but every attack misses as Subai circles it, striking from all directions. The monster grows frantic, unable to lock him down. When he suddenly appears behind it, the Minotaur tries to counter by entering its berserk state. But Subai anticipated it. With its stamina burning too quickly, the effect fizzles out before the boss can and land a decisive blow. Subai seizes the moment. A deep stab tears through its hide, inflicting heavy bleeding, and its health bar plummets. The Minotaur is left staggering, an easy target. Subai presses in mercilessly, delivering a final critical strike that rips away 3,000 HP in one blow. The towering beast collapses onto the stone floor, its body dissolving into motes of light. The tower's system flares with a congratulatory message. Boss Minotaur slain. Tower of Gods. Floor 1 cleared. His reward, an entry ticket to Floor 2. The system congratulates Subai once more. A notification announces him as the first player of Season 10 to slay Floor 1's boss, granting him a golden treasure chest, a beginner's experience orb, and gold coins. For him, this pace is acceptable, neither too slow nor rushed. In the past, he would have cleared a floor in half an hour just to move on. But this season, he knows resources and experience are worth more than raw speed. Elsewhere, a massive explosion rocks the battlefield of the Zhou dynasty. Junkai, armed with his father's perfect-grade weapon, the 10,000 Calamities Annihilation Cannon, remarks on its destructive power. The weapon is brutally effective, though costly to use. Confident, he prepares to continue his bombardment until a sudden notification freezes him mid-action. The system declares that player Subai has broken the first clear record, officially clearing Floor 1 and securing the Yen Kingdom's first victory in the Tower of Gods. Junkai is stunned, his disbelief quickly boiling into rage. To him, the idea that someone managed to clear in under an hour, 58 minutes and 59 seconds is absurd. He insists it must be cheating. Word spreads quickly across the global leaderboards. Subai's name flashes to the top, not only for the tower but also for the beginner zone rankings. Players everywhere are shaken. Many question whether such a time is even humanly possible, while others marvel at the appearance of a newcomer this strong. Comparisons are immediately drawn to Li Jiangxian, the last terrifying prodigy the Yen Kingdom had produced long ago. Excitement spreads. This year's Rookie King title might belong to the Yen Kingdom once again. At the headquarters, the kingdom's leader studies the leaderboard, though his assistant tries to calm him, reminding him that young Master Zhou's time was still among the best in history. The leader remains furious. For him, there is no consolation in second place. A loss is a loss. Still, the assistant reminds him there are 9 more floors to go. If Junkai manages to complete his job transfer early, there is still a path to overturn the standings and seize the Rookie King crown. The leader orders an investigation into the identity of the record-breaking newcomer. The assistant immediately agrees, hurrying to carry out the command. Elsewhere, Yuchan sends a direct message to Subai. She first questions if he was the one who interfered with Wang Jiqi and Li Yuran's boss kill, then acknowledges that he has truly seized the world's first clear record. Finally, she offers an invitation. If he is interested, the Lin family would gladly welcome him as an ally. Standing near the portal, even she admits that they had underestimated him. Meanwhile, Subai stands before the golden treasure chest, the kind that only appears for first boss kills and major events. As the very first chest of the season, he knows it must contain something extraordinary. When the lid opens, golden light floods the chamber. Inside lies a perfect-grade item, the golden hoe. Subai stares in surprise, wondering if this could be the legendary version he once heard about, an item of immense value in the later stages of the game. Alongside it rests a beginner's experience orb. Using the orb immediately rewards him with 60,000 experience points, pushing his level up to 6. Without hesitation, he spends 3,280 silver to skip upgrade times, enhancing his equipment on the spot. The stat increases feels satisfying, and the temptation makes him upgrade again, laughing as his power continues to surge. With preparations complete, Subai steps toward the portal. He sets himself a small but ambitious goal: clear the first 10 floors within 24 hours. The scene shifts to the Naka Desert, where he materializes on floor 2. His trial progress is currently at 0. A timer begins to count down, 1 minute until the dungeon officially starts. The rules here are simple but grueling. Survive 10 waves of monster invasions. Too slow, Subai thinks. If he wants to maintain his momentum, he'll need to find a way to force the monsters to spawn faster. Just as the countdown continues, a sudden threat emerges. A sawtooth lizard appears right behind Subai, but it isn't alone. Dozens more follow, crawling out to surround him. Even faced with this sight, Subai only feels impatience. The pace is too slow, the waves waste his time. If he lets them drag on, his first clear record will slip away. So instead of waiting, he takes the initiative. His blade flashes, every strike landing a critical hit, and in moments the entire group is reduced to corpses. The system timer keeps ticking. Normally, Surviving the wave should take 10 minutes, but Subai finishes in less than 2. Another surge of monsters pours out from the portal, but he dismisses them as still too slow. To accelerate the trial, he activates one step away. Since fate had given him such a glorious restart, he vows to push beyond every limit he once knew. Each monster falls to a single blow, and he declares that he will break all the records from his past life. Moving with relentless speed, he tears through Wave 2, Wave 3, Wave 4, and Wave 5 without pause. At last, he steps into the boss chamber of Floor 2. Waiting there is the little werewolf, growling with challenge. Subai hardly considers it a threat. He simply wants it to die quickly and not waste his time. With one strike of steel flash, the creature collapses. The clear notification rings out, awarding him a Floor 2 entry ticket to proceed to the next level. Laughing to himself, Subai turns toward the reward waiting at the center of the chamber, another golden treasure chest. He opens it eagerly, and as expected of a perfect clear chest, brilliant light spills forth. Inside rests a piece of perfect grade equipment, linked purple gold armor. He upgrades it once, careful not to push the level too high, or else he won't even be able to wear it yet. The cost is steep, draining a good chunk of silver, but when the upgrade completes, the armor's glow eclipses everything else in his inventory. As expected of perfect-grade gear, it radiates unmatched quality, making every other item seem second-rate by comparison. Using the Novice Experience Orb, he gains 50,000 experience. A notification pops up congratulating him for reaching level 7 and awarding free attribute points. Not bad at all. Subai figures this should be enough to handle Floor 3, so he moves forward. But just like that, over 100 gold coins vanish. He realizes he really needs to start earning faster. Stepping into the portal, he enters Floor 3, the Silken Cavern. A huge horde of monsters rushes toward him. Rats, massive spiders, all kinds of creepy crawlies. Subai laughs, calling them little cuties as he slashes through them instantly. A few other players are battling a giant boss here, but Subai barely glances. He tests it with his 10,000 annihilation cannon, noting the boss isn't much of a challenge. Notifications confirm his success. He's congratulated for slaying the Minotaur and clearing Floor 1. He receives a Floor 2 entry ticket. His clear time is 2 hours, 25 minutes, 30 seconds. Subai exhales, telling himself it was intense but manageable since the boss's rage mode is limited. Another notification delivers a rare weapon, the exquisite long sword, and he laughs at the reward. He notices a world announcement stating that player Subai has set the first clear record for Tower of God Floor 2, a win for the Yen Kingdom. Subai notes the clear time, 29 minutes, 42 seconds. He thinks it's insane, then admits to himself that he's still too weak and wonders who else might be out there. He then tackles a giant spider, explaining to himself that it's time to show what true speed leveling looks like. Another notification pops up, congratulating him for setting the first clear record on Floor 3 in 25 minutes, 45 seconds, another victory for the Yen Kingdom. On Tower of Gods Floor 4, the Crimson Flame Desert, Subai is already swarming through a horde of reptile-style monsters. Despite the chaos, he sets the first clear record, finishing in 22 minutes and 23 seconds. On Floor 5, the Misty Swamp, he moves even faster, taking down the monsters and clearing the floor in 19 minutes, 58 seconds. News spreads like wildfire. Everywhere, people talk about Subai's insane speed. 3 floors cleared in barely over an hour. It's unreal. Whispers float around. Is he a genius? A monster? A god? Some claim he just gets stronger the higher he climbs, while others wonder if maybe the rookie floors this season are unusually easy. Someone brings up Zhou Junkai, the Dynasty Guild Master's son, noting that he heard Junkai brought the 10,000 Annihilation Cannon into Floor 1. Another confirms it, explaining the cannon vanished from the weapon rankings, probably melted down into a newbie weapon. Yet everyone wonders if Subai somehow snagged an epic-grade weapon for himself. Later, in a strategy group meeting, a cluster of Yen Kingdom elites stands around. Pai Lingxiu comments on how intriguing Subai is, while Nancian adds that his background is a complete mystery. No parents, no backing, and at school, his combat class scores were unremarkable. Pai Lingxiu wonders aloud if Subai might have discovered something extraordinary in the tower. Nancian points out that even for the first-tier strategy group, epic-grade gear is incredibly rare. Only about 10 exist across the entire Yen Kingdom. She teases that Subai must have some nerve, being one of the top 5 assassins and already coveting a kid's weapon. Another member notes it's easy for her to say, considering she wields the silk-tasseled Fire Phoenix Spear, while most in the group don't even have a full set of perfect-grade gear. The discussion escalates until the strategy group captain, Su Kong, steps in, frustrated, telling everyone to calm down. Captain Kong tells the group that if Subai comes out without pulling an S-rank or higher job transfer crystal, they should try to buy his epic weapon. But if he does pull one, they'll invite him for a strategy group trial. One of the members cautions the captain, saying the second-tier team is essentially a reserve squad, and that newcomers should start in the rookie squads first. Only if they perform well should they move up to the third-tier team. Kong interrupts, saying that the rookie squads these past 2 years haven't produced much. If Subai can become rookie king, there's no harm in cultivating him. The member opens his mouth to argue, but Kong simply walks off, declaring the matter settled. Nancian is reminded to worry about her own progress. If she can't make her second transfer this month, she might roll down to the second-tier team. Meanwhile, through another portal, Subai checks his character attributes. He notes that his luck isn't bad. Every level up gives him 8 random stats, but upgrading gear is draining him. Each upgrade now costs about 13 gold, and with only 300, he can't afford many. Clearing floor 10 will net him roughly 500 gold, and claiming the Rookie King title adds another 200. Still, he worries about where he'll get more money. He's basically broke. Then he remembers Lin Yuchan's messages. She'd asked if he was the one who sniped Wang Jaisai's boss, congratulated him on the first clear record, and offered cooperation. The Lin family is willing to welcome him as a guest retainer, even offering a 20 million annual contract, later raised to 30 million. They'd already transferred 100,000 in real currency to his account, calling it a red packet in case the deal didn't work out and apologizing for chasing him earlier. After reviewing the messages, Subai decides it's time to do some business. He messages Lin Yuchan, asking if she's interested. She immediately replies, asking about the price of job transfer crystals. Subai sets the rates. D rank, 1 gold, C rank, 5 gold. Anything above C, negotiable. Lin Yuchan notes that this is far below market price, but agrees anyway, saying she'll take them all. Subai tells her he has 13 for now, with more to come, and gives her 6 days to raise funds. They'll trade once he exits the tower. Lin Yuchan confirms. Subai chuckles to himself, noting just how much power the rich wield. With the deal set, he turns back to leveling, moving toward another portal to enter floor 6. The 6th floor is Wild Oasis. Among the Grand Canyons, a few wyverns circle the skies. Subai looks around and says that Wild Oasis is a leap in difficulty. He explains that the boss here is a roaming type with no fixed spawn point, meaning luck will play a big role. Luckily, he has a flying dragon crossbow upgraded to +10. It's rare grade and has impressive attack power. He equips it and remarks that it's a good thing he prepared long-range gear in advance. Still, he admits he didn't bring enough arrows, so he will need to use them sparingly if he wants to keep up his pace. With the great grade crossbow in hand, he moves forward. Soon, a monster comes flying straight at him. For Subai, this is the perfect chance to test his new weapon. The creature is down before it realizes what's happening. One after another, the monsters try to strike from different angles, but his bolts hit with sharp accuracy, taking them out instantly. When a few sneak up behind him, Subai reacts immediately. He spins and lands precise shots in a full sweep, clearing them as well. Once the area is quiet again, he nods in approval. He says that the weapon's effect is solid, and the arrows can even be reused if he's careful. That should be enough to last him at least 2 or 3 more levels. Feeling satisfied, he adds that he will sell it to Lin Yuchan when the opportunity comes. He then recalls that the boss should be wandering north along the water source. He follows the stream and hears the sound of rushing water. Smiling, he says that it must be the river. But instead of the boss, he finds a group of amphibious monsters waiting for him, Murlocs. They are ordinary but dangerous, each at level 9 with 70 attack, 45 defense, and 400 HP. Their skills include bite and fish shoot. The moment they notice him, the fight begins. Before the Murlocs can launch a single attack, Subai's bolts cut them down in rapid succession. The ambush is so sudden that they have no chance to respond. When the last one falls, the loot drops onto the ground, 20 copper coins, and, most importantly, a B-rank job transfer crystal. A system notification prompts him to pick it up. He laughs to himself and says that the rumors about this floor's high drop rate seem to be true. Without wasting time, he lists the crystal for bidding, curious to see how will the response be. Lin sees the trade request and remarks that, as expected of Subai, he is very efficient. She offers 10 million in cash, along with 100 gold coins as the highest bid, plus another 1 million cash. Subai agrees, and Lin responds that they have a deal. With the transaction done, Subai keeps on hunting monsters. As he continues, he notes that this way of making money is not slow at all. Then he hears something different. This time, he is sure the sound belongs to the boss. He heads toward it and comes face to face with the Oasis fish monster, Ellie. At first sight, he observes that the creature looks quite unique. With a confident grin, he mutters that he will play with it. But the boss has no intention of playing. It roars furiously and charges. Subai reacts instantly. He leaps upward with his flash gap skill, fires his crossbow midair, and lands 3 critical hits, each inflicting over 1,000 damage. Enraged, the boss hurls its weapon, but Subai dodges effortlessly. He taunts the monster, saying it is still as stupid as ever and has made no progress. He then unleashes another barrage, this time slamming critical hits straight into its face, dealing over 3,000 damage in total. A system notification chimes, congratulating him on defeating the Oasis fish monster and clearing the 6th floor of the Tower of God. He receives an admission ticket to the 7th floor. Since he is also the first player to defeat the Oasis fish monster in Season 10, he is rewarded with 1 gold chest, 1 novice experience orb, and 50 gold coins. His clearance time is recorded at 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 59 seconds, setting a new first clear record for the 7th floor. He also earns the title Murloc Hunter. Though he admits the level took more time than expected, he feels the extra rewards are worth it. 5 silver treasure chests appear around him. One after another, the notifications inform him of the loot: 10 small blood replenishers, 5 gold coins, 50 silver coins, and a piece of excellent grade equipment, the Fish Demon Gauntlets. He also acquires 10 small experience potions and 30 copper points. Looking over the rewards, he mutters that the drops are not extraordinary but still better than nothing. Examining the Fish Demon Gauntlets, he decides to upgrade them. After enhancing them to +8, he equips the gauntlets and notes that their properties are impressive enough to use for now. With his new gear in place, Subai heads toward the portal leading to the 7th floor. He sets his sights on a clear goal: to conquer the first 10 levels within 20 hours. He tells himself that if he can finish within a day, the Rookie of the Year title will surely be his. But just as he prepares for the next step, a global announcement resounds across the tower. It congratulates player Lin Mengswan for obtaining the S-level profession, Berserker. The news surprises Subai. He winces and admits to himself that he hadn't expected the first S-level player to be Lin Mengswan, wondering how that guy managed to appear so quickly. People everywhere start talking about Lin Mengswan. Many wonder whose eldest daughter she is, since the Lin family from Beijing already has a Lin Mengswan who married Li Jianxian. That Li Jianxian is an invincible figure, ranked number 1 in the world. When the news spreads, most players can't believe their eyes. From their perspective, Lin Mengswan has the potential not only to become Rookie of the Year, but maybe even surpass future competitors. After all, someone who climbs to the very top can sometimes outshine even the current first place. If even the second-ranked player can't deal with such a person, then what hope do the rest have? The shock grows when people realize this Lin Mengswan is actually Li Jianxian's future daughter-in-law. That connection makes her rise even more intimidating, because it means Li Jianxian's power and influence will likely back her up. Still, it feels impossible. Subai has already reached the 7th floor, yet she hasn't cleared past the 3rd. But with her pre-job change completed, her combat power will increase dramatically. By the time she reaches level 10, her strength will be undeniable. Some players speculate further. One woman points out that Li Jianxian must have prepared big tricks for her, because there's no way he wouldn't. Another guy agrees, adding that even the king of Zhou handed down his weapons to his son. Meanwhile, someone checks the ranking list. It shows Subai in 1st place, Lin Mengswan in 2nd, and Zhou Junkai in 3rd. Zhou Junkai himself grows irritated as he stares at the board. Muttering to himself, he says it's fine to be behind for now. Once they all reach the 5th floor, he'll make them suffer. Back inside the tower, the 7th floor reveals itself as the Dark Castle. To most, the monsters here are terrifying, but to Subai, they're nothing more than piles of old bones. He remembers their weak spots perfectly and keeps landing critical hits, clearing enemies with ease. It looks like even this floor won't slow him down for long. Elsewhere, on the 4th floor, the Scarlet Desert, Lin Mengswan is pushing herself hard. She refuses to lose to anyone. Even though she has just gained the Berserker rank, she knows she must push past Subai if she wants to secure her place at the top. Zhou Junkai finally reaches the Tower of God's 5th floor, the Misty Swamp. Laughing proudly, he declares that with the Fate Stone fragment, he can finally change his job. A notification soon confirms it. He has obtained an SS-level job change crystal and successfully transferred to the rare SS rank gunner class. But while Zhou is celebrating his breakthrough, Subai is already far ahead. He's battling through the Tower of God's 8th floor, the Abyss of Pain. The grim Reaper-like monsters that lurk here don't stand a chance. Subai keeps landing critical hits, shattering their bones one after another. He even mocks them, laughing as he points out how useless they are since they're nothing more than bone monsters. At this point, only 2 more floors remain before he reaches his goal. Meanwhile, Lin Mengswan, holding 2nd place, is still stuck on the 6th floor. Determined, she tells herself that she will catch up to him no matter what. But fighting the monsters here is no easy task. She realizes she's wasted too much time in the oasis and pushes herself harder, desperate to close the gap. By now, Subai has already entered the 9th floor, Nightmare Town. The place disgusts him, the monsters, the atmosphere, everything feels rotten. He grumbles about how he doesn't even want to stay here longer than necessary, so he rushes forward, clearing enemies as quickly as possible. While Lin Mengswan struggles her way into the 7th floor, Subai pushes straight into the 10th nightmare platform. There, he finally comes face to face with the floor boss, Nightmare Harms. Subai doesn't waste time. He calls it the Little Nightmare and says this is the final hurdle standing between him and the Rookie King title. The monster roars back, unwilling to tolerate his mockery. But Subai isn't interested in playing around. He charges in, striking directly at its kidneys, forcing the boss to stagger. Nightmare Harms tries to grab him, threatening punishment for daring to desecrate the Nightmare's domain. Subai just scoffs, kicking its hand away in midair. He mocks the boss, saying that trick didn't work before and won't work now, before finishing with a ruthless strike, telling the monster its rightful place is in hell, not standing in front of him. With one massive strike, Subai finally takes down the boss. The monster lets out a pitiful cry, insisting that nightmares are supposed to be invincible and wondering how it could possibly be defeated by a mere young man. Almost instantly, a wave of notifications fills Subai's vision. He is congratulated for breaking the first kill record, clearing the 10th floor of the Tower of God, and securing yet another victory for the Yen Kingdom players. His clear time is recorded at 54 minutes and 23 seconds. The system also announces that he is the very first player this season to conquer the 10th floor. As a reward, he receives a random SSS-level job transfer crystal and, at last, the long-awaited Rookie King title. The title boosts monster hunting experience by 100%, passively increases all attributes by 20, and remains valid until the start of the next season. Subai can't help but feel delighted. He remarks to himself how he has finally achieved both the SSS-level crystal and the Rookie King title, something he never managed to obtain even after clearing 999 levels in his previous life. Looking ahead, he notices the line of gleaming gold treasure chests waiting for him. He decides to open 5 at once, hoping for something worthwhile. From the first, he is congratulated for obtaining the rare-grade weapon, the White Tiger Sword. However, he dismisses it as underwhelming, noting that its attributes aren't really suited for his build. The next chest grants him a lost treasure map, which excites him. He reflects on how useful treasure maps can be, since with enough luck, they may lead to perfect-grade equipment. Another chest rewards him with a rare-grade energy shield, followed by a light effect stone. He acknowledges that while the shield isn't particularly useful for him, the stone is valuable, as it allows equipment to be hidden and prevents unnecessary trouble. Finally, he draws the perfect grade equipment Fire Dragon's Fist. This catch immediately grabs his attention, and he quickly tries it on. He notes that the stats on the gloves are close to epic level, and the flashy movements created when wielding them are impressive. He feels confident that this weapon will make it much easier to deal with tougher monsters moving forward. Satisfied, he opens up his stat window to review his current progress. His profile shows: name, Subai. Level, 10, cannot be upgraded yet. Occupation, not yet changed. Strength, 80+8. Agility, 80+8. Physical, 80+8. Spirit, 80+8. Health, 880. Constitution multiplied by 10. Subai checks his stat window once more. His magic value is 880, calculated from spirit multiplied by 10. His physical attack comes out at 176, strength multiplied by 2, while his magic attack is also 176, spirit multiplied by 2. His equipment slots look stacked. The Clock of All Things, a supreme artifact, Fire Dragon Fist +1, perfect grade, Chain Purple Gold Armor +1, perfect grade, Flying Dragon Crossbow +1, perfect grade, Exquisite Dagger +8, excellent grade, and one step away, rare grade. His constitution sits at 10 times the base, and to top it off, he also has the Fire Dragon Belt +1, perfect grade, Chain Purple Gold Tube +1, perfect grade, Flying Dragon Crossbow +10, and an Exquisite Lantern Sword +8, excellent grade. Looking at all this, he grins and tells himself that, with these stats, upgrading through the Clock of All Things will turn his punch into something deadly. He then decides to clear out the remaining 30 or so silver treasure chests, mostly to exchange for money. The notifications keep rolling in: congratulations for receiving exquisite swords, an iron sword, moon earrings, 10 small experience potions, 5 gold coins, and even a pair of dark green leather boots. Suddenly, the announcements start booming across the server. The first declares that in the 10th season, player Subai has become the first to clear the 10th floor of the Tower of God, and has officially been awarded the title of Rookie King. Another announcement follows, confirming that Subai cleared the first 10 floors in just 17 hours, 2 minutes, and 34 seconds, completely shattering the historical record. For this, he is rewarded with yet another random SSS-level job transfer crystal. Everywhere in the Eastern District, Xinqiang townspeople lose their minds over the news. Some shout in disbelief that an SSS-level crystal has appeared, noting it is only the 10th one since the Tower of God was first established. Others remind each other that the last SSS-level warrior from the Yan nation was Li Jinxian, now ranked number 1 in the world. Crowds even start praying, asking for blessings upon the Yan nation. Inside a conference hall, the atmosphere is no calmer. Leaders scramble as the captain demands every bit of information on Subai. He orders Pei Lingxiu to follow up immediately, making sure their team engages him as soon as he leaves the novice area, warning not to let any other squad get ahead. When Pei Lingxiu cautiously mentions that proper recruitment should involve offering conditions, the captain cuts her off sharply. He tells her to forget the negotiations and just use the highest standards of their elite 11th team, pay whatever it takes, recruit him directly into the first-line squad. The captain insists that with Subai on their side, they'll have an SSS-level combatant under their banner. That would put them second only to Li Jinxian's team and elevate their status beyond anyone's reach. Pei Lingxiu finally agrees, privately thinking that the captain is right. She looks forward to shutting down the arrogant mockery they've endured from the 5th and 6th teams once and for all. At the beginner's tavern, people are chatting restlessly. One person brings up how Subai still hasn't changed his job yet. Another agrees, pointing out that to achieve such results without switching classes means his strength is terrifying. A few wonder why he refuses to change jobs at all and ask if he might return to Novice Town. They admit they'd love to see it for themselves. While they are talking, the tavern door suddenly bangs open. The crowd panics and shouts at whoever dares to act so reckless. But when they realize it's Subai carrying an enormous bag, everyone freezes. No one dares to mess with him. Some whisper that he must be insane, certain the boss lady will beat him half to death for barging in like that. Others back the thought, saying anyone foolish enough to tease her usually ends up dead on the spot. To their shock, the tavern lady doesn't get angry at all. Instead, she praises Subai for being efficient and even seems genuinely happy to see him, showing no ill will. Subai then tells her to bring him a cup of falling star. The boss lady laughs softly and says he must be good at drinking, since that recipe is her exclusive specialty. The onlookers grow uneasy, whispering among themselves and wondering just who this guy really is. They cannot understand how the boss lady is tolerating someone who kicked her door open, yet she even praises the harvest he has brought in. She sniffs the bag and, true to her werbeast senses, immediately notices there is something extraordinary inside. Still, she warns him that no matter how sweetly he talks, there will be no discounts, 1 gold a cup and no credit. As Subai drinks, he notices a notification that a cup of falling star increases all attributes by 1 point. The boss lady shakes her head and sighs that he doesn't even appreciate the rarity of what he's consuming, comparing him to a cow chewing on a peony. 11:15 a.m. After finishing, Subai stretches tiredly and tells Sister Dana to arrange a private room upstairs for him since the day has worn him out. Just then, another figure enters, and everyone is shocked to see Lin Yuchen walk in. She herself feels relieved, thinking how fortunate it was that she hadn't escalated their earlier conflict. Otherwise, she fears the outcome would not have been good. Subai greets her casually, saying he had been expecting her. Lin Chuan, standing beside her, urges her to check the goods. When Lin Yuchen looks inside the bag, she is stunned. She had not imagined it would be packed with so much. In the private room upstairs at the tavern, Subai finally reveals the contents of his bag. The others gathered there are stunned into silence, whispering among themselves and wondering if this might actually be a treasure bag. Subai lays everything out and calmly says that everything they need is right here. The assistant, however, mutters that he's just too good at pretending. Now the real matter comes up, the price. Lin Yuchen cannot take her eyes off the shine of the treasures. Spread before her are an AF level job change crystal, 50 E level crystals, 20 C grade pieces, 30 D grade pieces, and 5 B grade crystals. Every type one could possibly need is there, sitting in plain sight. Subai even mentions that there's a 5-level job transfer crystal if she's interested. Then he casually adds that he also has an S-level job transfer crystal, something he had almost forgotten about. The moment he says it, the room falls into stunned silence. Out of everything he's displayed so far, this single crystal is the most shocking of all. No one present can believe what they're seeing, an actual S-level job change crystal lying right in front of them. 11:16 a.m. Lin Yuchen is speechless as she stares at it. The notification displays the item's information clearly. An S-level career transfer crystal, mage scholar. The assistant behind her blurts out in disbelief that this really is an S-level crystal. Lin Yuchen picks it up carefully, holds it for a moment, and feels its power before setting it back down on the table. Her expression makes it clear there's no way she can pass this up. She needs it, and she needs it now. She asks him how much it will take, how much she will have to pay. Subai doesn't waste time. He explains that everything except for the S-grade crystal will be sold at market price. For payment, he wants 10% in cash and the rest in gold coins. On top of that, he will prepare a list of supplies and expects her help in purchasing them. Lin Yuchen nods quickly, confident that such an arrangement won't be a problem. Supplies are the easiest thing for her to handle. Subai then hands over a sheet of paper, explaining that it's the list he wants purchased. A soldier standing nearby accepts it with a nod and says it looks fine. Lin Yuchen then instructs him to head out immediately and begin arranging the purchase. Once the deal is set, Subai leans back on the sofa and tells them that it's time to discuss the S-grade crystal, asking Lin Yuchen to give him a quote. She starts calculating quickly, unwilling to let such a chance slip away, and immediately offers 200 million in cash. The number leaves Subai stunned. He hadn't expected something so outrageous. 200 million? He thinks to himself that it can't really be worth that much. After all, he's already seen treasures of insane value, and this crystal didn't seem on that same level. But Lin Yuchen isn't finished. She explains that S-level job transfer crystals are always in short supply, so her offer is more than reasonable. Along with the cash, she promises 200,000 gold coins and even adds a house in Linfeng City, the first city of the Tower of God. The guards behind her can't hide their shock, muttering that such a property is unbelievably expensive and out of reach for ordinary people. Subai pauses, weighing it all in his mind. The more he thinks about it, the more he realizes the offer is indeed worth no less than what she claims. Lin Yuchen waits quietly for his response, watching him closely. Finally, he says he understands and won't haggle further, only asking if payment within 7 days would be acceptable. For Lin Yuchen, that isn't a problem. She agrees right away and urges him to sign the contract without wasting time. The contract is drawn up and signed, with Lin Yuchen watching every stroke of his pen, as though afraid something might go wrong. When the notification confirms the deal is complete, they shake hands. Subai tells her it's a pleasure to work together, while she replies that she looks forward to their cooperation. With the deal sealed, Subai offers her the chance to say anything else on her mind. Lin Yuchen admits that the entire world already knows he obtained an SSS-level job transfer crystal, and tells him that the Lin group would gladly welcome him. But Subai only waves it off, saying they can talk about it later, since he has no intention of changing jobs right now. This response puzzles Lin Yuchen. She wonders why he wouldn't switch jobs immediately, asking herself if he isn't worried that someone might come and steal it. Subai simply laughs it off, saying he has his own plans, and then excuses himself to return to his room and rest. 11:17 a.m. Meanwhile, the tavern buzzes with gossip. The regulars whisper that this is the first time they've seen the Lin family's eldest daughter act so gentle with anyone, and they speculate about who the mysterious man might be. Some suggest it could really be Subai, but others dismiss the idea, pointing out that someone who cleared the 10th floor of the Tower of God wouldn't be wandering around in beginner's gear. Subai, overhearing the chatter as he walks away, can hear them gradually realizing the truth. Some recognize him outright and exclaim that it really was Subai just now. Still, many remain doubtful, arguing that a player of his level should be draped in luxurious equipment, not dressed more poorly than an ordinary adventurer. Others counter that strong players often hide their identities on purpose, so it makes sense. Even the boss lady joins in, scolding him in absentia. She complains that because of Subai, she's now facing all sorts of trouble that's affecting her business, and insists he must be held accountable. The boss lady heads towards the room where Subai is sleeping silently. She first looks at him and thinks to herself that he is hiding here to sleep. Then, she steps closer and kicks him lightly. Subai, still half asleep, asks in a drowsy voice why she is there and why she is being so loud. The boss lady puts her face close to his and tells him that she cannot do her business properly because of him. She also asks if his name is Nana and warns that he had better find a way to fix the mess downstairs, or else she will kill him. Subai, however, still wonders if Nana is really her name. Then, he pulls out a large pile of gold coins and shows them to her. The boss lady is shocked and surprised after seeing them. Subai asks if that is enough to pay for his room. The tavern lady replies that the amount is more than enough and says she is a professional at solving problems. Still, Subai mentions that he is tired and asks if he can sleep a little longer. He adds that killing people is an option, but the boss lady reassures him that she is not a murderer. Subai then tells her that he has a business deal to discuss. The tavern lady wonders if he has brought her another rare wine divine recipe. She asks how many recipes he has this time, but instead of a recipe, Subai takes out a crystal. The sight leaves the boss lady speechless. She says he is truly capable and asks if he really obtained an SSS-level job transfer crystal. Subai responds that he plans to begin the God's test. Hearing this, the boss lady finally understands, but she still wonders how he knows about the God's test. Subai explains in his own mind that he has taken the test over 100 times in his past life and, of course, he knows about it. But he does not reveal this to her. Instead, he simply tells her that she does not need to know the details, only to answer his question whether he is qualified. The boss lady explains that the crystal itself is the certificate for entering the test of gods. She says that inside, he cannot gain any gold coins or equipment. There is only one reward, the hidden profession crystal. But she also wants to confirm if Subai is completely certain about participating, because once he enters, the crystal will be consumed and he only gets one chance. Subai thinks about how he failed more than 100 times in his previous life, but this time he is determined not to fail. He tells the boss lady that he is absolutely certain about his decision and asks her to schedule the test. This leaves her speechless, and after a pause, she mutters that if he wants to die, she won't stop him. Subai calmly replies that she does not need to worry, since he has a long life ahead of him and he will not die here. At that moment, the crystal in his hand begins to crack apart. The boss lady takes the crystal and says that they are about to begin. A system notification appears, declaring that the God's test has begun, and asks if he wants to enter. It also warns that once he enters, there will be no turning back, so he should consider carefully. A huge magic circle suddenly forms beneath the tavern lady. She once again tells Subai that it is not too late to regret his choice. Subai asks her when she became so talkative, reminding her that she usually was not like this. Hearing this, she angrily kicks him straight into the magic circle, snapping that if he really thinks she is nagging, then he can go to hell instead. With a bang, Subai is pulled into the circle. As he descends, a mysterious voice echoes in his mind, telling him not to use that trick. The boss lady is left behind, frowning as she wonders what that strange message could mean. She mutters to herself that this brat always gives her an oddly familiar feeling. Inside the trial, lava spreads out everywhere. Subai lies on a solid block of ground surrounded by the molten rivers. As he slowly rises, he thinks about how familiar the place feels. He tells himself that he is back in the God's test once again. Looking at the system notification, he confirms that it is exactly the same as it had been in his past life. The message explains that he has officially entered the God's test, and that his equipment and backpack slots have been sealed. All amplifications have been temporarily removed, and will only be restored after passing the test. Subai begins walking forward through the fiery landscape. Along the path, he notices countless skulls scattered across the ground, evidence of those who failed to escape. As he passes them, he reflects that the corpses lying in the dark river are all the remains of men who once had the courage to challenge this trial. Although it seems contradictory, it is true. Those brave ones are exactly what he came here to surpass. And in this life, he tells himself it will not end the same way. Subai checked his stat window again and sighed that the bonuses from weapons and equipment were almost non-existent, and even his backpack was sealed. His name was displayed as Subai. His level remained fixed at 10, unchangeable. His occupation had not yet been altered. His strength, agility, physical, and spirit stats all showed at 100. His health stood at 1,000, calculated as Constitution times 10. His magic value was also 1,000 from Spirit times 10. His physical attack was listed at 200, calculated as Strength times 2, and his magic attack was the same, Spirit times 2. His gear consisted only of a novice longsword, rough, a novice shortsword, rough, and a beginner's tunic, rough. Even so, Subai reminded himself that at least the golden shovel he had obtained earlier was not sealed by the system. He pulled it out, gripping it firmly in his hands. A new notification flashed before him, warning that a large wave of crypt demons was approaching. All players were instructed to prepare for battle. A countdown appeared, starting at 59 seconds, quickly dropping toward 55. Subai readied his stance, weapon in hand. He thought to himself that his current attributes were already higher than when he had attempted the God's test in his previous life. If he were to fail again this time, it would be far too shameful. The countdown ticked down for 3. Subai muttered that the activity area was only a little over 1,000 square meters wide, which meant he would need to stay completely focused. One wrong step into the surrounding lava would mean instant death. At 2 seconds, a portal flared open. Dark shapes began emerging. Soon, dozens of crypt demons poured into the arena. Each was classified as elite level 10, with 250 magic attack, 180 defense, and 2000 health. Their skills included spider web and burrow. Subai narrowed his eyes. He recognized them immediately and whispered that he was ready for them. The demons multiplied quickly, filling the ground. Rather than waiting, Subai launched forward first, striking one with a fierce blow. His critical hit cut down 500 HP in an instant, but he frowned. Compared to the massive numbers he was used to inflicting, the damage felt pitiful. He swung again, and this time his strike pierced deeper, reducing the creature's full 2000 HP in one blow. The system immediately notified him of his first demon kill, awarding him 1 point. It encouraged him to continue. Subai muttered that the reward seemed stingy, but he wasted no time. He dashed forward again, slicing down demon after demon. His critical strikes began landing harder, each slashing off 2000 HP at once. Now, 3 crypt demons fell before him in single hits, collapsing under the weight of his golden shovel. Cutting steel was one of the most basic applications of sword energy. Beyond that, there were techniques like sword chi slash and sword chi assault, skills that could drastically boost a player's combat power. In a situation like this, with dozens of monsters rushing toward him, Subai knew he needed something truly powerful to break through. Even as he fought, he thought to himself that without mastering these techniques, he would never be able to pass the test. Experience alone wasn't enough, but the monsters weren't simple either. They moved with cunning, waiting for the right moment to overwhelm him. Subai, however, sensed the ambush. His instincts sharpened. He immediately dodged, avoiding the coordinated strikes, and countered with a fierce blow. His sword landed cleanly, tearing through one of the demons with a critical strike. The creature's health dropped by 2000 in an instant. It was a one-hit kill, and he managed to land it 3 times in a row. The system chimed, demons killed, 3, current points, 10. Another notification followed. Tip, accumulate 100 points to gain 1 chance to restore your status. That small detail lifted his spirits. With a grin spreading across his face, Subai launched himself back into battle, blades flashing as he cut down wave after wave of demons. Notifications flooded his screen with every strike. Meanwhile, on the message boards, the entire forum buzzed with speculation. At floor 25, one user asked why Subai still hadn't used his SSS-level job transfer crystal. Another, on floor 26, complained that he was too reckless, saying he should have activated it long ago. On floor 27, someone else wondered aloud if he wasn't afraid of losing it altogether. Further down, the gossip shifted. By floor 156, rumors spread that Lin Yuchan was auctioning off novice gear in town, items of unusually high quality, including a variety of job transfer crystals. Floor 157 erupted with shock. Players questioned if those items had come from Subai himself. And at floor 158, another poster confirmed it with certainty, saying there was no doubt. Lin Yuchan was only level 4. Who else could possibly have supplied such treasures, if not Subai? At level 159, some players speculated that Subai would never sell his SSS-level crystals. Yet the rumors and debates continued endlessly, even spilling into the Novice Town Tavern. Inside, the tavern lady snapped at the crowd, warning them in a sharp voice that if they dared step onto the second floor again, she would treat them as thieves and kill them on the spot. She made it clear that Subai was not upstairs, and that his SSS-level job transfer crystal had already been shattered into useless fragments. She hoped that this would put an end to the constant harassment aimed at Subai, but the restless crowd refused to believe her. Some muttered that there was no way such a crystal could have been destroyed, demanding proof. Another scoffed, calling it impossible. The lady only sneered in response. She reminded them that proof wasn't necessary to kill someone. She insisted that she had crushed the crystal with her own hands, and if they doubted her, they were welcome to test her grip strength themselves. Her words carried a chilling edge as she asked if it was strong enough to crush their hands, or even their heads. But she warned that anyone who volunteered for such an experiment might not live through it. Meanwhile, in the strategy group's meeting room, the atmosphere grew tense. The leader and his team were reviewing information when a scout rushed in, pale-faced, and reported that Dana, the tavern keeper, had claimed to personally destroy Subai's SSS-level crystal. The leader was stunned, demanding confirmation, while the rest of the group fell silent. They reasoned that Dana was an NPC and would never lie, which meant the news had to be true. With that realization, despair washed over them. They had just lost the last thread of hope they had been holding on to. Far away, the wider player base erupted in mixed reactions across the message boards. On floor 1008, someone mocked Subai, laughing that Yarn Country had produced a fool who flaunted his crystal everywhere but never used it, only to have it destroyed. On floor 1059, another declared between fits of laughter that it was like a cooked duck flying away right when it was ready to be eaten, using Yarn Country's own saying to drive the insult home. By level 1324, the tone shifted to something darker. Players insisted that this was destiny, that Yarn Nation was unworthy of possessing an SSS-level crystal. They claimed that only Fabing Nation deserved such glory, and that the honor of having a second SSS-level superplayer would belong to them alone. At level 1447, players from Sakura Country grew confident, boldly declaring that their next SSS-level superplayer would surely come from their nation. They placed their hopes on Yumori Guang, the son of Lord Yumarita, insisting that he was destined to surpass even his father's mastery. Meanwhile, at the strategy group meeting, the atmosphere was tense. The leader slammed the table and shouted in frustration, furious that such an important crystal had been lost. One of the men present smirked, remarking that he had always said Su Bai was unworthy of being in the first team, and that this incident only proved him right. Pei Ling Xiu, standing nearby, glared at him and snapped, asking why he always had to stir up trouble. But the man only laughed mockingly, teasing her and suggesting that she might be attracted to Su Bai. She angrily told him to shut his mouth. The boss cut in, irritated, demanding to know why they were wasting time bickering when all the SSS-level newcomers were already gone. Pei Ling Xiu quickly clarified that shouting at them was pointless. After all, she was not the one who had crushed the crystal. The boss waved off the quarrel and issued his next command. They were to defend the Tower of God, and the moment Su Bai left the novice area, they were to capture him immediately. Another subordinate questioned why they even needed to bother with Su Bai now, arguing that it was unrealistic to expect him to produce another SSS-level crystal. But the boss countered sharply, calling them all useless. He reminded them that Su Bai's record-breaking performance in clearing stages proved he possessed rare skills. With such potential, it wasn't impossible that another SSS-level crystal could appear in the future. Pei Ling Xiu chuckled and admitted that the boss's reasoning was far sharper than their own. One of the men then asked which method they should employ: torture, coercion, or inducement. The boss scolded him harshly, asking if he was a bandit or some prison thug. Torture, he said, was both foolish and impossible against someone like Su Bai. Instead, he ordered inducement. No matter how much money it took, they were to lure Su Bai and make him reveal his true skills. This, he declared, was critical for the future of Yen Country, and none of them were allowed to fail. Back within the God's Test at the first level, Su Bai faced another wave of spiders rushing at him. He slashed them down effortlessly, landing critical hits and killing each with a single strike. Laughing in excitement, he challenged them as if they were little devils before his sword. Soon after, a system notification rang out, congratulating him for passing the first level and urging him to continue forward. Su Bai finally let out a deep sigh of relief. 10 long hours had passed, and the first stage was at last over. His body felt drained, but there was no time to celebrate. He reminded himself that this was only the beginning, just the first level. Ahead of him stretched 9 more trials, and to clear them all he would need to slay 1,000,000 monsters and push his way to SSS rank. As he stepped into the next area, the environment shifted drastically. The blazing fire and molten ground of the first stage disappeared, replaced by a vast open space filled with jagged rocks, some even floating unnaturally in the air. Su Bai glanced at the counter and calculated. There were 11,034 enemies waiting here. It was only a fraction of the total, yet the road ahead already seemed endless. A system notification appeared, informing him that he had entered the second level. His status had been refreshed, but a large wave of stinging demons was approaching. The countdown began at 59, ticking lower by the second. Su Bai steadied his breathing and began circulating his magic to recover his strength. The novice period was nearing its end, and he had no time to waste. The buzzing reached his ears before the swarm appeared. Bees, thousands of them, shot toward him, their wings cutting the air like blades. He immediately realized the danger. Their venomous stingers could drain his life with every hit. The sound of their wings filled the entire space, a suffocating cloud of noise. Instead of panicking, Su Bai muttered to himself that it was troublesome, but in a way, just right. He swapped his weapon for the iron whip of thorns. It was nothing special, only novice grade, yet its wide sweep made it more practical here than a single blade. The fact that equipment could be switched freely inside the test gave him an advantage. The swarm closed in. Su Bai lashed out once, stepping back at the same time. The whip tore through the air, releasing a wave of force. 20 demons dropped instantly with a single critical strike. A small smile crossed his face, exactly as he had predicted. The whip was perfect for this kind of fight. The bee demons might have speed and deadly poison, but their defense was pitiful and their health low. Without pausing, he followed up with sword extinction, cutting down another 20 in a single sweep. Another strike fell 30 more, and then another 40 gone in one hit. The notifications flickered non-stop as his kill count surged upward, and Su Bai pressed forward with growing momentum, carving his way into the swarm. 12 hours later, Su Bai was still fighting. His movements had become almost mechanical, critical strikes flowing one after another. The swarm of stinging demons had seemed endless, but with every lash and every strike, the numbers thinned. His latest kill was 19 in a single blow, bringing his total points to an astonishing 2,552,100. Finally, the last last of the bees hit the ground, their lifeless bodies covering the battlefield. Su-bai stood tall amidst the silence, chest rising and falling with exhaustion. He muttered to himself that he was finally done. He had killed them all. Switching back to another weapon, he began moving forward again. The second level, he reflected, had not been so bad after all, though nearly 250,000 bee demons had been waiting for him there. A system notification urged him to recover before proceeding, reminding him that more trials awaited. He obeyed, steadying his breath and regaining strength. Soon after, another notification appeared. You have reached the third level. All statuses refreshed. A large wave of witchcraft imps is approaching. Players, prepare to fight back. The countdown began once more. 59, 58, 57. Without hesitation, Su-bai switched weapons again. The witchcraft imps specialized in long-range chanting, so he selected a short bow, the most effective counter. With it, he could fire arrows rapidly before the imps could complete their spells. As the goblin-like creatures appeared, they locked eyes on Su-bai, raising their hands to chant in unison. Dark magical energy gathered at their fingertips, ready to strike him down. But Su-bai was already drawing his bowstring. He loosed arrow after arrow in a seamless rhythm, and the battlefield lit with the cries of wounded imps. Their casting faltered. Spells fizzled midway, the concentration broken by his relentless attacks. He knew their weakness well. Long chanting times made them vulnerable to anyone with faster reflexes, and speed was his greatest strength. With sharp confidence, he told himself that when it came to speed, he had never feared anyone. Critical arrows pierced through their defenses. 5 fell instantly, one after another. He adjusted his aim and fired again, targeting those who had managed to finish chanting. Bolts of dark magic streaked toward him in return. His agility saved him, dodging at the last possible moment, but he realized grimly that even one hit could prove fatal. He had to be faster still. Meanwhile, far away in the Tower of God, the 10th floor shook with excitement. An announcement echoed through the sky. Congratulations to player Lin Mangxuan for clearing the nightmare platform on the 10th floor of the Tower of God. Time, 40 hours, 23 minutes, 15 seconds. The woman herself stood with a calm yet determined expression. Though she had secured her place, her eyes narrowed as she thought aloud. Second place was not enough. Somewhere out there was the one who had taken first, Su-bai. If fate allowed, she intended to meet him. Then we take a look at a notification window about Novice Test Day 6 in the city. According to the latest stats, more than 4.5 million players have qualified this year. By the end of the novice period, the number of players who finished the game is expected to be about the same as in previous years. This year's list of new professional classes has also been released. There are 110 S-rank newcomers and 21 SS rank players. Among Yen Nation's newcomers, 8 have advanced to S-rank or higher, 6 S-rank and only 2 SS rank. This news spreads quickly across the city, and everyone starts talking about it. Outside, groups of people gather and chat about the rankings. One man sighs and says that this year is the same as the previous 2 years. Yen country is strong in the first half but weak in the second half. Still, he admits it is better than last year when there was only one S-rank player. Another man comments that this year they at least have Zhao Zhangkai, a gunner, and Wei Lan, a two-handed swordsman, both of whom belong to high-damage professions. A third person brings up that Lin Mingxuan's Berserker is also focused on violent damage output, and that Lin Yuchan herself is an S-rank mage scholar. Then someone wonders aloud where Su-bai is. Later, in a pub, a man asks Lin Yuchan why she turned down the invitations from Lin Mengxian and Zhao Zhangkai. He presses further, telling her that there is no need to give up such a good opportunity just for Su-bai, and that if she had accepted, the Dongqing Lin family might have risen to a higher level. But Lin Yuchan, calmly sipping her drink, asks instead whether he had finished the last-minute tasks she gave him. She reminds him that today is the final day. The man replies that he is ready, but still tries to continue speaking. Before he can, however, Lady Yuchan cuts him off. She tells him that she has her own plans, and that even if she explained, he would not understand. Finally, another system notification window appears. She swipes through a few menus, bringing up her friend list, which shows Su-bai, Abnormal State, Su-chi Online, and Chung Fei Online. After looking at the notification, she smiles and remarks that it has already been 6 days. Ever since the Abnormal State was flagged, news about the crystal's destruction has spread everywhere. Because of that, she reasons Su-bai must still be in the novice zone. She admits she doesn't know what kind of surprises he will bring to the world once he comes out, but she is certain he will bring something unexpected. Her curiosity runs deep, because so far, everything she has seen Su-bai do has been astonishing, always unpredictable, always beyond expectations. People may try to guess what he might do next, but he never follows those guesses. At least she and her group are among the lucky ones who can clearly see his progress, unlike the others who can only speculate without any real idea of what he is accomplishing. The scene then shifts to the 7th level of the God's Test. It is a mountainous area shrouded in drifting clouds, though it is hard to tell whether it lies high in the sky or deep beneath some ocean-like abyss. There, a horde of stone-bodied monsters with massive eyeballs are locked in battle. They are being bombarded by countless blue magical arrows, each arrow exploding on impact and scattering shards of stone. The attacker is revealed to be Subai himself. He unleashes a barrage of ice arrows, each one striking with devastating precision. Every shot lands as a critical hit, dropping the monsters instantly. It becomes a chain of one-hit combos, and just like before, Subai's relentless assault works wonders, clearing out wave after wave of enemies and securing his path forward. Subai scoffs at the monster's defense, remarking that high defense means nothing when faced with freezing attacks. The harder the target, the more brittle it becomes once frozen. Against other opponents, the stone creatures might have been unstoppable, but against him, they are nothing. He then prepares to climb higher, thinking about how it is already the 6th day. With 3 levels still left, he knows he must speed up the process. A notification suddenly pops up, level 8 reached. All statuses refreshed. Incoming threat, poisonous armored holy insects. Prepare for battle. Countdown begins. 59, 58, 57. As the timer ticks down, Subai sees the swarm of poisonous insects moving to surround him. But he laughs at their attempt, declaring that if they think they can trap him, they are only dreaming. With one massive strike, he delivers critical hits that instantly kill 29 of them. 6 hours later, another monster roars in fury at him. Subai, wielding a fiery sword, mocks it for being far too slow. With a sweeping strike, he lands another series of critical hits. 14 enemies fall in one blow, followed by another 10 in the next. A system notification then rings out. Ding! God's test score has reached 1 million points. There are 24 hours left until the end of the novice test. New players, please pay attention to the time. Excited, Subai leaps into the air, thrilled at reaching the milestone. He knows there is still the final level boss waiting, and defeating it will grant him the coveted brave achievement. After finishing off another monster, he pushes forward until he arrives at a glowing orb, pulsing with red light and crackling with electrical energy. Determined, Subai braces himself and touches the orb, ready to summon the final boss. A massive mark spreads across the ground the moment he makes contact, and with a thunderous boom, the red lotus demon appears. Its details flash before his eyes. Type, Demon King Demon. Level 10. Magic attack, 5000. Defense, 2000. HP, 1 million. Skill, Hellfire. The battle for the final stage has begun. Subai, standing on the ground, gets even more excited and says that this is exactly the opponent he wanted. The monster raises its weapon and screams that it will destroy all humans. With a flashy, devastating move, it tries to strike Subai down. Subai immediately dodges out of the way and admits to himself that the demon is still extremely difficult to handle. He thinks that this really is a true demon-level boss. With a defense value of 2000, he tells himself that landing any real damage on it is impossible for now. The monster holds its enormous sword, glowing like the sun, and scans the battlefield to locate Subai. Subai reminds himself that he will have to keep fighting in a smart way and decides that he must wait for the right opportunity to deal the finishing blow. After preparing his strategy, he jumps into the air. The monster notices the movement immediately. At that moment, Subai is engulfed in blue energy. He says that this battle feels like a cat and mouse game he has played dozens of times in his previous life, but now it is far more exciting. He adds that this time he has a hook to rely on. While flying on a block of rock, Subai locks his eyes on the demon, ready to push his strategy into action. Subai suddenly gets startled as a group of skeletons appear right beside him. Each one is being controlled through thin threads of energy sent out by him. He tells himself that he wants the monster to taste its own magma. He lands back on the ground, while the monster screams that it will cut him into pieces and avenge the brave warriors that Subai had defeated before. Subai replies sharply. A dagger, forming out of glowing blue energy in his hand, gleams as he rushes forward. He shouts for the monster to die and slashes hard, landing a strike that takes off one of its limbs. The monster is shocked at the sudden attack, but Subai announces that this is the end for it. He charges again, this time drawing his bow, and begins firing arrows at point-blank range. The monster is caught completely off guard, unable to react, forced to stand helplessly as arrow after arrow pierces into its body. While the monster reels from the hits, another surge of blue energy races from rock to rock, and the demon is struck once again by an arrow. Subai laughs loudly, saying that as long as he can break through its defense, he can kill even gods. With that confidence, he readies yet another arrow on his shining bow. Before he can fire the finishing blow, the monster lets out a furious scream. It curses humans, shouting that it cannot believe such fragile beings would be the ones to defeat it. Even worse, it realizes, is the humiliation of being brought down not by an army, but by a single human, Subai alone. For the Red Lotus demon, this is the greatest shame it could ever face. Even as the monster was getting torn apart, it kept trying again and again to fire blasts back at Subai. Explosions shook the whole area, the shockwaves echoing everywhere, but the creature didn't stop. It kept spamming attacks, desperate not to let Subai slip away. But in the middle of its frenzy, the monster suddenly realized something terrifying. Subai was no longer in front of it. He was right beside it. Too close. Subai called it an idiot, saying that this was the end. The monster tried to fire one last blast at point-blank range, but it was already too late. Subai's sword came down, slashing through in a clean arc. The monster's wings were sliced apart, feathers scattering like ashes in the air, and its body plummeted toward the ground. A notification chimed instantly. Ding! Congratulations, you have passed the God's test. Points, 1,082,022. You have reached the requirements to redeem the only hidden class. Do you want to redeem it? Subai barely glanced at it, too tired to care. He let out a long breath, muttering that it was finally over. But then another notification popped up. Once you redeem your 1,000,000 points, you will receive the super professional title Brave. That woke him up. He jumped to his feet, laughing. This was it, the legendary hidden title. An exceptional profession far above even SSS rank. In his past life, this very title had carried him all the way to the 999th floor. This was exactly what he had been aiming for. Still, he forced himself not to rush. Instead, he thought about the golden hoe and the legend tied to it. Supposedly, it could copy items. If that was true, then maybe he could double his rewards here. With a quick prayer for luck, he tossed the golden hoe into the air, hoping the story wasn't just a fairy tale. But then, silence. The hoe didn't return. Subai froze. His face darkened as panic started creeping in. It was gone, just like that. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The system still showed his points intact, but the missing hoe left him rattled. Just as he was wondering what had happened, the ground rumbled violently. Lava flared up around him, sparks of volcanic fire bursting into the air. Then it happened. From one side, something golden burst forth, radiating blinding light. From the other, something dark and purplish surged, exuding a chilling, destructive aura. Subai stared at both, wide-eyed, feeling the clash of energies. His body tensed as one of them suddenly exploded. As all the golden and dark energies clashed and converged on Subai, a new notification flashed before his eyes. Congratulations! You have obtained a twin career, the Brave Man and the Demon King. Immediately, Subai felt his body shift. His form began to change. Half of him radiated light, the other half draped in shadow, resembling a man split between two worlds. The transformation wasn't painless. Power surged through him like fire and ice colliding in his veins. But despite the strain, strength poured into him like never before. A massive portal opened in front of him, its energy swirling like the boundary between two realities. Panels appeared one after another, showing his updated stats. Name, Kenbai. Level 10. Occupation, Sick King Hero X. Strength 500. Agility 500. Constitution 500. Spirit 800. Health 5000. Magic power activated. Physical attack 2000 plus brave bonus 100. Magic attack 3200 plus demon bonus 100. Special traits. Kinto group hero vibration. Can learn any non-physical skill with instant full proficiency. You on firepower part 3. Unlimited mana. All non-physical skills have no cooldown. Equipment equipped. Cloak of all things supreme artifact. Fire dragon fist plus 1 perfect level. Chain purple gold armor plus 1 perfect level. Subai stared at the panels and felt a surge of satisfaction. His 4 attributes had increased more than 5-fold. His attacks had doubled thanks to his new passive ability. His mana pool was now limitless. With this kind of power, he could crush anything in his path, walk sideways across the world without fear. Looking at the corpses of countless challengers who had failed before him, he bowed his head slightly and promised them that he would carry their will forward. This time, he swore he would not stop until he killed 2 gods at once. Elsewhere, Lin Yuchan nervously stared at her friend list. Subai's name suddenly lit up, showing him as part of Xia Qingfei's team. She froze for a moment before blurting out in shock that Subai had finally reappeared. Her words sent ripples of panic through those around her, who wondered what was happening. The tremors from above felt like an earthquake shaking the town. Back at the tavern, the boss lady opened the door cautiously. To her astonishment, she found Subai lying there comfortably, as if he had just woken from a nap. She was stunned and muttered in disbelief that he had actually succeeded. Subai smirked and reminded her to never doubt him. The lady, still both excited and overwhelmed, could only exclaim that he had really achieved that impossible job. The tavern lady grows serious and tells Subai that heroes and demon kings are not supposed to coexist. Subai only laughs and replies that he is the strongest among the strong, and she was sharp enough to see it at a glance. He then rises, brushing off his clothes, and says that he has been gone long enough, so it is time to step out and take a look at the world again. He even asks Dana, the tavern lady, if she wants to come with him. Dana refuses and says the outside world has nothing to do with her. Subai understands and tells her that if she misses her wine, he will return. Just before he leaves, Dana stops him and hands him a reward for clearing the gods test. Subai smiles, commenting that she is being generous, as the reward is none other than the hidden badge, a perfect grade artifact that can conceal his property panel, status, and even his image. Dana warns him that the tower is filled with many opposing forces against the Demon King. If he shows himself carelessly, he may not live long. Subai laughs again, saying that this proves she cares about him and thanks her. Dana, embarrassed, snaps at him and shouts for him to get out. The scene then shifts to Lim City, the first great city after Novice Town. Here, players can accept quests, learn professional skills, and prepare for the higher floors of the Tower of God. Portals outside the city lead directly to the 11th through 30th floors. As Subai walks through the streets, he feels a wave of familiarity and quietly says to himself that he is back. Soon, he notices Yuchan standing with her group. He smirks and tells her that she found him quickly. Yuchan, clearly relieved, runs up and says she has finally waited long enough. She asks him where he has been since he disappeared for so many days. Chapter 17. Inside the Lim Chamber of Commerce, Yuchan politely asked Subai to take a seat. He agreed, noting inwardly that the Lin family truly lived up to its reputation if they could open such a luxurious private club in the heart of Lim City. Once everyone was seated, Subai acknowledged how quickly they had gathered the resources, remarking that their efficiency was impressive. Yuchan confirmed this by presenting the inventory, explaining that after deducting the 3,000 gold coins spent on supplies, the remaining 17,000 gold coins were all intact. She sipped on a fine drink, while the guards around her exchanged quiet glances. A small cough escaped her before she carefully shifted the topic. She then asked about Subai's current career rating. Subai frowned, wondering why she wanted to know. Yuchan waved her hand slightly, insisting it wasn't meant to offend him, only that rumors were spreading. Rumors claiming he had lost his job change crystal, with many online even mocking him for it. Subai was surprised and wondered aloud how anyone could have known about that. Yuchan explained that word had spread because Dana, the novice tavern owner, had claimed to have crushed his crystal with her own hands. Subai admitted that this wasn't wrong. Yuchan was quietly unsettled. The rumors seemed true, yet Subai showed no hint of worry, not even regret. She reassured him politely, calling him a man of exceptional ability, someone who stood above their entire generation. To her, his calmness could only mean one thing. Perhaps he had already acquired a new SSS-grade crystal. That thought brought her some relief, but Subai only dismissed it, brushing off the matter as nothing more than an SSS-grade crystal, something hardly worth concern. Then he looked back at her and asked directly what she wanted from him. Yuchan gathered herself and explained her request. She wanted him to join the Lin family's guild and work together to fight the boss. At that moment, Subai's expression hardened. He understood well that the Tower of God's difficulty had escalated dramatically after leaving the novice area, so her suggestion wasn't unreasonable. Still, he made his stance clear. He would help them attack the boss, but he would not join any guild. His responsibility, he decided, would only be to lead them in clearing the 5th floor. The team composition required 5 magic professions, all high damage types. Too many support or defensive roles would kill any chance of a record run. Yuchan's eyes went wide at that, and she practically leapt to her feet, asking if he really meant to set a record. Subai only shrugged inwardly. He knew the math. Normally, it took 20 people to clear a level cleanly. Going for a record meant a very different build. When Yuchan wondered aloud whether it was even possible, Subai told her not to bother if she didn't believe him. He added that the reward for a record wasn't nearly as good as a first kill reward, so he didn't have to do it for the money. He started to walk off, but Yuchan trailed after him, quickly covering for her earlier surprise and asking when they should start. She also asked if the team name could carry the Lin clan prefix. Subai agreed to begin tomorrow. He had matters to handle today. Yuchan beamed and immediately set things in motion. Her assistant pulled her aside and whispered that Subai supposedly had no SSS-level crystals anymore. Could he really lead them to break a record? The assistant muttered that the whole thing smelled like a lie. Yuchan glanced back at him, sharp and cold. She reminded him that when Subai was a newbie, he'd sliced through 3 or 4 of them like nothing. If they had treated him as an enemy back then, they might all still be stuck in Novice Town. With that, she ordered him to arrange 4 B-rank magicians and hold 1 slot open for her as backup. No more stupid questions. The assistant stammered his compliance but kept his private resentment to himself, thinking Subai was courting a quick death. Later, at the city lord's mansion, a guard, Wu Kai, stepped forward and barked that Subai couldn't barge in without permission. The guards would shoot first and ask questions later. Subai tilted his head and asked what the fuss was about, then offered to share a secret to get in. The man blinked, suspicious but curious. Subai simply told him that the only real requirement was strength. If you were strong enough, entry would be no problem at all. As Subai approached the entrance, the guard suddenly straightened, his tone changing completely. He addressed Subai respectfully, calling him Sir Brave and inviting him inside, explaining that the city lord was currently at the training ground. The onlookers outside froze. None of them could believe what they had just witnessed. A complete newbie had simply walked into the city lord's mansion as if it were his own courtyard. To them, it was outrageous. Inside, Subai was quickly surrounded by guards and escorted through the halls. Before long, a deafening explosion shook the ground ahead. Subai narrowed his eyes and spotted two figures in the distance. One of them, breathing heavily, was Guard Captain Orlando Mullen, level 180, an Earth Magician. The other was none other than the Lord of Rim City, Black Ryan, level 200, a human swordsman. Subai felt his pulse quicken. This was it, the famous hidden plot of the City Lord's mansion. He had stumbled into it by sheer luck. And luck like this meant one thing, a chance to comprehend rare, high-level skills. A soldier glanced back at Subai and respectfully asked him to wait, explaining that the City Lord was training with the captain. Subai nodded. He didn't mind at all. In fact, his thoughts were racing. Despite having gained dual professions, he lacked both active and passive skills and had no clear development path. Until now, the only option had been grinding for random skill books. But this was something else entirely. Here, he could observe and learn directly from masters. Sure enough, a notification appeared before his eyes. C-level basic swordsmanship detected. Do you want to study it? Subai's lips curved upward. This was no ordinary swordsmanship. It was the personal skill of a level 200 great swordsman. Another alert flashed. D-level Earth-type primary stone wall detected. Do you want to learn it? He grinned, recognizing it immediately as one of Orlando Mullen's spells. He thought it would be a waste not to take advantage of this, so he confirmed without hesitation. The notifications cascaded in rapid succession. Congratulations on successfully learning the skill. Stone wall. C-level continuous step detected. Do you want to learn it? D-level earth element primary stone spike detected. Do you want to learn it? C-level upward attack detected. Do you want to learn it? Subai couldn't contain his excitement. He laughed under his breath and kept hitting confirm again and again, greedily devouring every single skill. This, he told himself, was exactly why he had come here. 10 minutes later, the exhausted magician was finally enveloped in a soft glow of healing magic. Subai, who had been standing off to the side, stifled a yawn and thought to himself that it was about time. They had spent all this while training, and he had only just finished mastering a few new skills before boredom started to set in. At that moment, a guard approached respectfully and informed the city lord that the brave had been waiting. Black Ryan, the lord of Lim City, froze in surprise. He repeated the title as if testing his own ears, asking whether the man before him was truly a brave. He then requested to see proof of identity. The glowing notification above Subai clearly displayed the word brave man. Subai gave a short acknowledgement, and the city lord's expression shifted to one of awe. Without hesitation, he lowered himself into a bow, followed quickly by every guard and attendant in the chamber. Subai, caught off guard by their sudden reverence, awkwardly greeted them and told them to rise, remarking lightly that the ground was cold. Once he stood, the city lord regarded him with deep respect. He said that it was beyond belief. The brave had finally returned, the first to appear in over 100 years. Subai, puzzled, asked what exactly he meant by appearing again after 100 years. Inwardly, he recalled having heard something similar in his previous life, but had never understood the full meaning. The city lord explained solemnly that, according to legend, every century the Tower of God would give rise to an adventurer marked as the brave. That chosen one would pierce through the darkness and one day lead the people toward the dawn. Subai, however, brushed off the mysterious prophecy. He was far more interested in practical matters. He told the lord he had come to take on a quest and asked if one was available. For a moment, the city lord hesitated, thinking it was unusual for someone with the title of brave to request a task, especially at only level 10. He suddenly brightened as if struck with inspiration and offered a simple request. His dog had gone missing, and perhaps the brave might help search for it. The reward, he added quickly, could be 10 gold coins. Subai's face darkened immediately. To him, this was nothing short of an insult. He glared at the city lord with fiery red eyes, demanding to know if he was being treated like a beggar. The weight of his anger filled the chamber, and even the lord of Lim City, a level 200 swordsman, felt a pang of panic under that oppressive gaze. The magician standing nearby, realizing the tension in the room, quickly stepped forward. He offered an alternative, suggesting that if the brave hero did not mind, he himself had a few quests prepared, most of them rewarding skill points or basic skill books. Inwardly, Orlando Mullen could not help but think that asking the brave to look for a lost dog was nothing short of an insult. Almost immediately, a series of notifications appeared before Subai's eyes. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: collect 200 skull flowers. Reward: 10 skill points. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: collect 1,000 skeleton soul fires. Reward: 10 skill points. Subai nodded with approval. Not bad, he thought aloud, which made Mullen beam with pride. The magician even chuckled nervously, thanking the brave for the compliment. Another notification soon followed. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: Wizard's Madness Law, Part 1. Reward: 1 random magic book, 10 gold coins. At that moment, Lord Black Ryan seemed struck with inspiration. He announced that he too had a more suitable task for the brave. A fresh notification appeared before Subai. Great Swordsman Black Ryan issues a quest: Unusual Movements in the Suburbs of Rim City, Part 1. Reward: 10 skill points. Subai's eyes lit up. He instantly recognized this as the main quest of Rim City, a mission that had remained untouched for 10 whole seasons. In his mind, he reflected on how players of this world always focused on tower challenges, overlooking the daily quests that truly shaped their strength. But then another notification drew his attention, one far more enticing than the rest. Great Swordsman Black Ryan issues a quest: Warrior's Guidance. Reward: 50 skill points. The city lord fixed his gaze on Subai with a grave expression. With utmost seriousness, he explained that legends always described heroes as unparalleled masters of combat. He asked, with the weight of expectation in his voice, whether the brave would be willing to provide guidance to his warriors. Subai immediately understood this was a test, a challenge not just of strength but of reputation. Subai asks if this is meant to be a challenge mission and then asks how they plan to compete. He thinks to himself that sparring high-level NPCs isn't appealing, but the offer is too tempting to refuse. The city lord thanks him and offers a handicap. He'll cap their levels and skills. He tells Subai not to hold back and to strike as hard as he likes. Subai decides to warm up and requests that both opponents be set around level 30. Orlando blinks in surprise and asks if Subai really intends to fight 2 people at once. He points out that Subai has just returned to full-time play and likely doesn't have many skills yet. Black Ryan agrees that level 30 will cover the basics. Subai tells them to stop arguing and fight now. He has other business to do. The 2 high-ranking fighters exchange a look, then quickly switch to a respectful tone, asking the brave to teach them. They remind each other that when the Lord and the Captain once worked together, they felled a level 200 elite boss, a scene rarely seen in a century. Now it's almost time. Black Ryan calls on the brave, and the training ground fills with a tense hush. He channels his aura and lunges with a heavy slash and a charging blow. Subai dodges with a blink and moves straight behind the Lord, noting that the timing was good. Orlando responds by spamming Primary Stone Spike, trying to pin Subai down. Subai warns him not to flash and sidesteps every spike in a blur. The onlookers go silent, then erupt in whispered astonishment. They marvel at how fast the brave moves and how terrifying his power is. The Lord and the Magician regroup and plan a combo attack. The training ground shudders as Orlando forms an elementary quagmire, anchoring the field, and Black Ryan winds up for a second stage slash, far more powerful than the first. Subai dodges again in a matrix-like weave and tells them bluntly that their strikes are too direct. He tells them to use their heads. The Lord isn't pleased by Subai's remark and tells him to come again. Without hesitation, he lunges forward, stabbing continuously in a blur of motion. Subai dodges every strike with ease and, in one swift counter, snaps the Lord's sword clean in half. But the Lord isn't done. He warns that there's no place left to hide and unleashes a chained attack, a 3-stage slash so fast it leaves fiery arcs in the air. When he glances at the magician, he realizes the man has already been taken hostage. The spectators gasp, shouting that it's unbelievable. In less than half a minute, the captain has fallen. They cheer, saying the brave hero truly lives up to his title. The magician calls out, urging his lord to move, but Black Ryan hesitates. He wonders if this is really the kind of strength a level 10 adventurer should have. The doubt gnaws at him. What kind of power is hidden inside this man? Determined to find out, he steadies his stance again. He refuses to admit defeat, especially to someone so low level. The thought alone feels humiliating. With renewed fury, he charges, unleashing a 4-stage slash wrapped in blazing fire. The energy surges towards Subai like a burning storm, but before it can land, Subai vanishes from sight. In the blink of an eye, he's behind the Lord, his blade glowing as he performs a sword chi flash. The impact sends the Lord sprawling, unable to stand. When the dust settles, even Black Ryan has to admit defeat. Subai points his sword toward him and tells him he's still far from reaching his level. Then, as calmly as ever, he opens his interface and checks the notifications. The quest warrior's guidance is complete and the rewards have been received. Of course, rewards are the best part and Subai doesn't waste a second checking them. Meanwhile, the Lord lowers his head, humbled. He admits that when he was young, he'd heard the stories of a hero unmatched among his peers, but he'd never believed them. Now he realizes how narrow his vision truly was. The magician agrees, saying that even if they were both reduced to level 50, the brave hero would still overpower them. That brief exchange of blows was enough to convince them completely. Subai tells them that their control over their skills is impressive, and that he'll come to spar again when he has the time. He mentions he has a mission to finish and turns to leave. The Lord only nods and tells him he's always welcome at the mansion. Subai waves a hand dismissively, telling them not to bother seeing him off. He promises to drop by again next time, and just like that, he walks out, leaving the stunned guards and the silent training ground behind him. As soon as the match ends, Subai rushes past the crowd without a word. He has no intention of chatting with anyone or soaking in their admiration. He just wants to move forward. Behind him, the Lord watches in silence before finally speaking. He tells the magician that Subai truly lives up to the prophecy, the one destined to lead them toward the dawn. The magician, still puzzled, asks what that dawn after darkness really means. The Lord simply replies that time will reveal the answer and tells him to wait and see. Outside, the city of Rim stretches vast and busy. Its streets divide into two main circles, the inner district for nobles and the outer ring packed with adventurers. Most players here travel using teleport points scattered across the city. Subai moves through the crowd with purpose, thinking that it's far safer and more efficient to focus on learning new skills before taking on quests. He opens his skill panel. His remaining skill points, 50. The screen lists his options in glowing text. C-level basic swordsmanship upgrade requires 20 skill points. C-level uppercut, 20 points. C-level continuous stab, 20 points. D-level primary stone wall, 10 points. D-level primary stone spikes, 10 points. He pauses for a moment, analyzing the synergy between his abilities. Upward jump can combine with continuous stab to create an infinite combo chain, exactly the kind of brutal efficiency he's after. New notifications appear. C-level stabbing and D-level stone thorn are now available. Subai decides to learn stone thorn as well. He reasons that, paired with his endless firepower ability, it can be cast infinitely, making monster clearing ridiculously fast. Moments later, a cascade of system messages fills the screen. Congratulations on learning C-level pick. Congratulations on learning C-level continuous stab. Congratulations on learning D-level stone thorn. Subai grins as he reviews his updated stats. Character name, Subai. Level 10. Occupation, Demon King Hero X. Strength, 500. Agility, 500. Constitution, 500. Spirit, 800. Health, 5,000. Calculated as Constitution times 10. Magic value, infinite. Demon King passive. Physical attack, 2,000. Brave bonus, plus 100. Magic attack, 3,200. Demon King bonus, plus 100. Professional traits, all weapon mastery. Brave. Can learn any non-magical skill. Proficiency instantly maxed. Endless firepower. Demon King. Can learn all non-physical skills. Cooldowns are removed entirely. Skills. C-level uppercut. Level 20. Maxed. Launches enemies into the air. 10-second float duration. C-level continuous stab. Level 20. Maxed. Executes 10 rapid strikes within 3 seconds. C-level stone stab. Level 1, conjures 3 piercing stone spikes. Subai studies the numbers and smirks to himself. These stats may look ridiculous for a level 10 player, but that's exactly what he is, the hero with the power of a demon king. Apart from his skills, Subai's equipment list shows 3 powerful items: the Clock of All Things, Supreme Artifact, Fire Dragon Fist +1, perfect level, and Chain Purple Gold Armor +1, perfect level. As he examines them, he quietly remarks to himself that having a high-thinking attribute truly makes a difference. Every skill level seems to increase by 10, and all martial arts proficiencies are instantly maxed out. He feels a rush of satisfaction as he thinks that, with this combination, even the land of the dead would pose no problem. Confident, he decides to head there next. When he arrives at the teleportation gate, the guards on duty ask where he intends to go. Subai thinks for a moment and recalls that most of Orlando's missions take place in the land of the dead. He tells the guards his destination. One of them informs him that the teleportation will cost 80 copper coins and warns that the return trip will cost double. Subai frowns slightly and thinks about how expensive traveling is. If he keeps teleporting like this, he might just go blind from all the costs. Moments later, a flash of light engulfs him, and he finds himself standing in the land of the dead souls. The place is dark and eerie, with an icy wind cutting through the desolate air. He mutters to himself that it feels far more realistic than any game he's ever played. Looking at the single weapon he kept after selling all his other gear, Subai thinks that he'll just have to make do with it for now. The chill of the place seeps into his bones, and for the first time he realizes how cold this world can be. He regrets not bringing more layers, but tells himself it'll be fine, as long as the cold doesn't turn fatal. Subai looks around and goes, kind of confused, as he notices a new monster walking toward him, a skeleton warrior. It's an ordinary type, level 21, with 260 attack, 150 defense, and 3000 HP. The skills are pretty basic too, just slash and block. Since these guys have a bit more health, Subai decides it's a good chance to test out his new skills. He waves at the skeletons, basically telling them to come at him, ready to see what his upgraded powers can do. The moment they rush in, he fires off a bunch of stone spikes that go flying straight into their skulls. Clean headshots. Each one drops instantly. 3 skeletons go down in one move, then for more than 6. No matter what he uses, every single hit lands as a critical, wiping them out in one shot. He starts laughing, totally enjoying himself. With over 3000 magic attack power, it's no surprise everything's getting deleted. Notifications keep popping up like crazy. Plus 500 XP, plus 100 bonus XP, again and again. But Subai's not done yet. He draws another magic circle, launches even more spikes, and says to himself that this is what real monster farming feels like compared to the early game. Soon, another notification appears, congratulating him for reaching level 11 and getting 20 more skill points. He remembers how, back in his previous life as a hero, even 10 points was considered insane for an F-class profession. Most people only got 1 per upgrade. Now he starts wondering if having 2 classes means even the skill points are doubled. He opens his panel and checks his stats: Strength 510, Agility 510, Constitution 510, and Spirit 820. Leveling up adds 10 points to everything, and he can't help but think that this X-level class might be even scarier than the so-called SSS level ones. Meanwhile, more skeletons keep coming from all directions. Subai doesn't even flinch. He fires another wave of stone spikes and then raises a stone wall, laughing to himself about how dumb these monsters are. He knows he'll need to find more quests that reward skill points if he wants to keep pushing his power even higher. As Subai looks up, a notification pops in front of him saying the collection of Skullfire, 1000 out of 1000, has been completed. The message also reminds him to turn in the task on time. The reward? 10 shiny new skill points. He smiles to himself, thinking that finally, one task is done, though there's still a long road ahead. Before he can even relax, more skeletons start crawling out of the shadows. Among them, he spots a much larger one, the kind of monster that just feels like trouble. The name floating above its head confirms it. Skullfire, an ordinary boss, level 48. Physical attack 1000, defense 800, and a massive 500,000 HP. The skill list isn't short either: Soul Absorption, Sacrifice, Stomp, and Critical Strike. Without wasting a single second, Subai raises his hand and launches another round of stone spikes. He laughs and says something to himself about how the more that come, the more fun this gets. His attacks tear through the skeleton army like paper. 18 go down in seconds, then 23, then another 40. The regular monsters can't even process what's happening. They keep charging, but every single one is getting deleted in an instant. At some point, even the boss seems to notice how bad things are going. The remaining skeletons start gathering around it, almost like they're having a quick team meeting mid-battle. Subai watches them closely, a bit curious. He wonders if this is some kind of special move, but then he reminds himself, with his infinite magic power, there's nothing they can really do against him. A few moments later, he realizes what's going on. The skeletons aren't retreating, they're sacrificing themselves. The more they offer, the stronger Skullfire becomes. Subai's expression shifts from confident to intrigued. He mutters in his head that this might actually get interesting. It seems like the boss is preparing something huge, something dangerous enough that even he might need to stay on guard. Still, Subai can't help but find the situation a bit funny. He thinks that the boss should have probably tested a few smaller attacks first instead of jumping straight into the big one. Now that all its minions are gone, it's all or nothing. He grins, feeling that mix of danger and excitement, and says with a smirk that he's ready for whatever comes next. He quickly activates his levitation skill, getting into position as the ground starts shaking. The air around him fills with energy, and Subai prepares to counter whatever move Skullfire is about to unleash. Subai keeps hurling spike after spike, each one slamming straight into the boss and chopping away another 5000 HP at a time. He doesn't even think about stopping. He's grinning, enjoying every second, telling himself that it's not over yet. The boss, on the other hand, is starting to look annoyed. It's taking hit after hit, but it's still holding back, waiting for the right moment to use its ultimate move. It seems confident that when that moment comes, Subai's done for. Subai can tell what it's thinking and laughs to himself. He says something like, "Trying to provoke me? Fine. I'll give you another round. Then, without a hint of hesitation, he leaps high into the air, straight toward the giant skeleton's head. While mid-air, he thinks about how convenient his skills are. None of them are charge-type martial arts, so he doesn't have to worry about cooldowns at all. He can just keep spamming them as much as he wants, and later, his next spike smashes right into the boss's skull, landing a clean headshot that knocks off a whopping 20,000 HP in one go. The boss lets out a furious roar, but it's already too late. Subai mocks it a little in his head, saying that maybe if it had relied on its own strength instead of sucking power from others, it could have lasted a bit longer, but now it's just another pile of bones. Moments later, the boss collapses completely. The massive skeleton bursts apart and rains down into fragments all around him. A glowing notification appears. Congratulations! You've reached level 12 and earned 20 skill points. Subai dusts himself off, smiling, and says something like, "So the second mission finally shows up, huh?" Around him, small skull-shaped flowers start rising from the ground, glowing faintly. Then another notification pops up. Collected Bonfire Long Sword, followed by another one. Collected Skill Book D rank Undead Summoning. That definitely catches his attention. He stares at the skill book and wonders what kind of ability it unlocks. Without wasting any time, he spends 10 skill points to learn it. A new message flashes in front of him. Congratulations! You've learned D rank Undead Summoning. Effect: summons 3 skeletons from nearby corpses. Subai nods in approval, finding it pretty interesting. He decides to test it right away, and as soon as he activates the skill, the ground starts to rumble. A few skeletons rise from the remains of the fallen enemies, but this time, they're not here to fight him. They're here to fight for him. He checks their status window out of curiosity. Name: Skeleton Warrior Type, Melee Attack, 500 Defense, 500 HP, 6,000 Skills. / Block Duration, 30 minutes. Seeing them line up in front of him like a small army, Subai folds his arms and looks at them with a mix of pride and curiosity, already thinking of all the ways he could use this new skill in battle. Subai looks at the panel and realizes there's no fixed level for his summons. Their strength is based entirely on his own stats. He figures that makes them about as powerful as level 40 monsters, which is honestly pretty impressive. With that kind of backup, he thinks he could just sit back and let his new skeleton army handle most enemies for him. Feeling proud, Subai watches his skeletons line up neatly in front of him and laughs to himself. He thinks that while these summons might not be much help in a one-on-one duel, in a big fight they definitely shine. To test them out, he orders them to start picking skull flowers since that's what he needs for his current quest. While the skeletons obediently go about their task, Subai strolls around casually, enjoying how much easier things have become. A notification soon pops up telling him the flower collection is complete and that he's earned 10 skill points. He grins, feeling satisfied, and thinks to himself that it's nice to sit back and enjoy the results of someone else's hard work for once. He even feels a bit generous, deciding not to overwork his skeletons. After all, they've just been brought back from the dead. Later, he reaches a new area called Death Swamp. The place looks grim and full of fog, and he wonders if the strange creature moving in the distance could be his next possible summon. Without wasting time, he orders his skeletons to attack. They rush forward while he supports them from behind with his magic. The battle ends quickly, and Subai notices a new entry in his log, a skull-horned lizard with decent attack and defense stats. He studies the details and feels pleased with the result. As another message appears saying his summoning the dead skill has leveled up, he becomes curious about how far this ability could go. He wonders if, one day, he might not even need to fight personally anymore. His army could do it all. Just then, some movement catches his attention in the mist ahead. Subai senses something interesting happening and decides to investigate. He mounts his new skull-horned lizard and rides toward the unknown. Subai keeps looking at the monster in front of him, wondering how many creatures were sacrificed just to stitch this one together. The monster suddenly turns and slashes through the air, showing off its terrifying power. Subai quickly jumps back and realizes it's a monster created by a wizard using evil magic. He tells himself that he'll just have to free it from that curse and starts hurling rock spikes at it, the same kind that had easily taken down so many monsters before. But this one is different. The monster swings again, easily swatting away his attacks like they're nothing. Subai can't help but admit that it's a bit impressive. He quickly understands that he'll have to change tactics, since this enemy is clearly not like the others he's faced. This time, he pulls out his dagger and rushes in. His strike lands, and the monster flinches. Notifications pop up showing minus 3,000 HP twice. A small grin forms on Subai's face. It's working. Calling the monster trash, he goes in for another round. This time, his powerful strike lands a massive critical hit, dealing a whopping 100,000 damage. Even the monster doesn't see that coming. Before it can recover, Subai lands more hits, one for 10,000 and another for 8,000 HP, until the creature finally collapses to the ground. Standing tall over its fallen body, Subai mutters that it was massive and hard to handle, then casually picks up some skull flowers nearby. A notification pops up: Quest Wizard's Mad Diary completed. Subai notices another task on his list that has no time limit, so he decides not to worry and just head to his next appointment. At Remo City West, people glance his way, whispering among themselves. They can't quite see his face, but they notice he's carrying a lot of loot and wonder if the stores have been restocked. As Subai reaches out to grab something from a stall, he sighs to himself, thinking that killing monsters all night only earned him 20 gold coins. Breaking records still seems to pay better. But this kind of life isn't sustainable. His forging level is too low. He starts wondering where he could find a high-level blacksmith. Just then, a loud voice calls out his name. A group of people rushes over, and one of them yells for him to stop, accusing him of losing his SSS-level job transfer crystal and still having the nerve to show up in public. Others around them start murmuring, realizing that this is the Subai. Cursing under his breath, Subai quickly covers his face, thinking that the only people who'd still recognize him now must be from the Lin family. There are way too many people around, and Subai realizes he has to get out of there fast. Once he's outside the city, he keeps his face covered, glancing around nervously, hoping no one is tailing him. But it's no use, the group is still following him all the way out, determined to track him down. One of the guys starts yelling to draw attention, calling for everyone passing by to come take a look at Yen Country's famous super rookie. Another one steps up and asks if he's Subai. Subai, still in his mask, points at himself and acts confused, pretending not to understand what they're talking about. He tries to play it off, saying he's just Su, not Subai, but the crowd doesn't buy it. Some start arguing among themselves, joking that there's no real difference between Subai and Sumomo anyway. They mock the one who called him out, saying he's going crazy over every guy named Su. Among them is Jing Pangxian, a level 49 player, who steps forward and demands that Subai explain why he lost the SSS level job transfer crystal. At this point, Subai has had enough. He takes off his mask and tells them off, saying that it's his own item and he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. But the crowd refuses to back off. Someone shouts that whatever players obtain in the Yen Nation's novice zone belongs to the Yen Nation itself. That's the line Subai was waiting for. He tells them that if they really think that way, they can all come at him together. He doesn't have time to waste. Before he can walk away, one of them yells for his team to get ready. Team 1 to attack, Team 2 to provide support, and Team 3 to handle healing. They plan to take him down and claim all his treasures for themselves. In an instant, weapons flash as they surround him. Subai just sighs and gets ready, feeling his adrenaline rise. He figures it's a good time to stretch his muscles. The moment they attack, he unleashes a powerful burst of magic straight at them. It's a critical hit, instant kills across the board. The entire crowd freezes in disbelief. No one can even process what just happened. Even level 30 players are being wiped out instantly. They can't see the cast time, can't follow the motion, can't react. His spells hit before they can even blink. The scene leaves everyone completely shocked. They realize that facing Subai head-on is practically impossible. Even after watching his teammates drop like flies, one of them still believes they can win. He quickly orders the shield warriors to form a defensive line in front of him. The armored fighters rush forward, raising their shields high, trying to block whatever Subai throws next. But Subai is already ready with another barrage of stone spikes. He gives them a cold, serious look, the kind that says don't test me. The shield warriors, still confident, believe their defense is strong enough to handle anything. Then the spikes hit. A loud cracking sound fills the air. One by one, their shields start to shatter. Shock flashes across their faces. Those shields have never broken before. The realization hits them. Even their strongest defenses won't hold up here. From a distance, a few bystanders are watching the scene unfold. They whisper among themselves, wondering if Subai is even human. One of them admits that maybe now it makes sense how he managed to break records back in the novice area. Meanwhile, the stubborn leader refuses to give up. Seeing his front line crumble, he switches tactics and orders the magicians to start attacking from range. The mages immediately begin chanting, firing spells in Subai's direction. Fireballs, lightning, ice, everything they can muster. Subai doesn't even flinch. He casually raises a stone wall in front of himself, blocking every single magic attack. Their spells hit the barrier and fizzle out uselessly. His defense is solid, unbreakable. Then, while they're still recovering from the shock, he starts gathering his own magic. Fireballs, ice arrows, spiked stones, all at once. The look on his face says it all, he's about to go all out. The next moment, the battlefield erupts in chaos. One after another, bright flashes of red and blue explode across the area. Notifications pop up everywhere. Critical hit, instant kill, critical hit, instant kill. It's a massacre. Every single one of them goes down in one hit. The surviving leader watches helplessly as his teammates fall, realizing this isn't just a strong opponent. This is something completely beyond reason. Panic finally sets in. He tells himself that the only thing left to do is run. Maybe that's his only chance at survival. But even that thought feels hopeless. Subai doesn't seem like someone who lets his enemies escape. And just as he turns to flee, Subai bursts forward like lightning, cutting off his path. Before the man even takes a second step, Subai is already standing right in front of him, wearing that same amused grin, as if the whole fight had been nothing more than a warm-up. He strides up, draws his sword, and levels it at the stunned man. He asks who sent him and warns that there's no point trying any stupid tricks this time. There won't be another chance. Seeing no way to escape, the terrified man starts trembling in front of Subai. He admits that no one ordered him to do anything, that it was all his own foolishness, and pleads for mercy. But deep down, he's hearing a chilling voice warning that if he speaks the truth, his entire family will die. He realizes he's doomed either way. If he talks, he dies. If he stays silent, he still might. So, out of desperation, he decides to take one last shot and attacks. Subai, however, is ready. The moment the man swings, Subai counters effortlessly and strikes him down in a single move. The crowd freezes in shock, their faces pale, while Subai calmly sheathes his weapon and walks away, muttering that even if the fool didn't speak, he'll find out the truth eventually. A woman nearby, clearly distressed, calls out to Subai repeatedly. At first, he ignores her, lost in thought, but after her voice rings out several times, he finally stops and turns. She folds her hands respectfully and tells him she's sorry for everything, that she's brought the real traitor and he can deal with him as he sees fit. It turns out the true culprit is none other than the secretary. Subai studies him with a cold, serious expression and asks why he wanted to kill him, what this whole mess was about. The man, consumed by rage, yells that Subai doesn't deserve the young lady's attention and that his arrogance is unbearable. He admits he just wanted to wipe that confident smile off Subai's face. Subai, now utterly indifferent, tells the lady to handle her own people. She nods firmly and agrees, saying the matter will be dealt with according to family rules. Justice is swift. The traitor faces instant retribution, the kind that leaves no loose ends. The lady apologizes once again, clearly regretful, but Subai simply tells her to move on. He notes how decisively she handled everything. No hesitation. No mercy where it wasn't deserved. Justice served clean and sharp. With that, they both step forward toward the portal that leads to the 11th floor of the Tower of God. Subai looks around at everyone gathered and tells them that since everyone's here, they should form a team right away. He wants everything clear from the start. No confusion later about who's with him and who's not. The place they're in is basically a monster hotspot, swarming with creatures tainted by the outer gods of the upper Tower of God. Lin Yuchan steps up and gives a quick report, saying they've got 3 wind mages and 1 fire mage, all B rank and around level 20. Subai nods approvingly and asks them all to share their skills. Once they do, he carefully studies each one, going over them in his head and figuring out how best to use them. The list includes Windblade, Balam, Air Cannon, Sandstorm, and Firewall. Not a bad setup. While thinking it over, he notes that flame demons are rare among S-rank beings, and that Lin Yuchan must have had quite the luck to be here with them. After reviewing everything, Subai looks at her seriously and says he has just one condition. She can be terrible at cooking if she wants, but she can't go against his orders. If she does, she's out of the team immediately. Lin quickly agrees, and Subai silently hopes she means it because things could turn ugly fast otherwise. Once everyone officially joins Lin's guild, Subai gives the signal to move. A few members whisper among themselves, impressed that the Lin clan guild has the guts to take on the 11th floor, not something most players dare to do. As they move forward, they come across other players who seem to be waiting for their turns to enter. Lin, glancing at their small party, nervously asks Subai if they shouldn't add a few more people, since their numbers are pretty low. Subai shakes his head and tells her that from the 11th floor onward, the number of monsters you face actually scales with your team size. More people, more monsters. Then he adds that he was the fastest one to ever break a record here, while the others only matched records. So they're already doing well enough. Lin looks surprised to hear this and starts to ask more. But before she can, a system notification pops up. Preparation time is about to end. Please get ready. Everyone quickly draws their weapons. Lin and the mages start gathering their mana, readying their spells as the countdown flashes across the air. 3, 2. Subai draws his sword and calmly tells everyone to stand still. He doesn't want anyone making sudden moves until they know exactly what they're up against. As the countdown ticks down to 1, a system notification flashes. Their opponent is a monster called Wolf Eater, level 13, and he's not alone. A whole pack of creatures emerges behind him, ready for a bloody brawl. The mages begin charging their spells, their hands glowing with wind and fire magic, but Subai steps forward and says he'll handle the first few waves himself. He slams his hand on the ground, summoning rows of sharp stone spikes that shoot straight toward the charging monsters. A few of the beasts try to dodge, but the ones hit are instantly impaled. 1 hit, instant kill. 6 drop first. Then 25. Subai mutters that dungeon experience really is on another level as his EXP bar keeps climbing. Soon, the 36th monster falls, and the rest start to hesitate. They charged in fearlessly at first, thinking the spikes couldn't possibly hurt them that much, but the growing pile of bodies proves otherwise. Still, they're mindless beasts. They keep rushing, only to get skewered one after another. Another 29 go down in seconds. Lin Yuchan just stands there, completely stunned. She always knew Subai was strong, but this level of power? It's beyond anything she's seen before. The other mages glance at each other, realizing they're basically just spectators to a one-man massacre. Lin can't help thinking that it almost feels like Subai has no cooldowns at all. He's just casting endlessly. When the last monster collapses, the battlefield goes silent. Subai calmly sheathes his sword, dusting off his hands as if nothing happened. Lin, still amazed, tells him that she's never seen a mage fight like this, not even among the strongest she's met. Subai just tells her that what she saw was nothing. It can be done even without weapons, using bare hands alone. Those words leave Lin completely speechless, and the other mages start whispering among themselves, saying they've finally found a real powerhouse to follow. Lin Yuchan simply nods and says they should move on, and the group begins walking again. Subai leads the way, telling everyone to hurry up and keep pace. After a short while, they arrive at the edge of a cliff overlooking a massive arena below. From there, Subai begins launching his stone spikes, while the mages around him follow with their own spells. Even though they know Subai hardly needs their help, they still join in, wanting to feel useful and contribute. Just as things seem to be under control, a sharp screech rings out behind them. A monkey idiot monster suddenly leaps toward the group. Lin Yuchan, still busy fighting the enemies in front, doesn't even notice it, but Subai reacts instantly. He turns, draws his blade in one smooth motion, and strikes the creature down before it can reach her, saving her without a word. The group keeps pushing forward through waves of monsters until the terrain changes, and they arrive at a place known as Kikapo Hilchuri Slope. The air here feels heavier, filled with tension. Subai immediately takes command of the situation. He turns to Lin Yuchan and tells her to summon the flame demon. Lin acknowledges his order and begins chanting. A summoning circle lights up beneath her feet, flames spiral upward, and in the next moment, Balrog appears, a towering demon wreathed in fire, its eyes burning with fury and hunger for battle. Subai then tells everyone to prepare for combat. Lin replies that she's ready, standing firmly beside her fiery companion. Not long after, new monsters appear, Helchuri, level 14, stronger and more aggressive than the previous ones. The mages immediately begin casting Sandstorm and Firewall, while Balrog charges straight into the horde, unleashing a roar that shakes the ground. The battlefield erupts into chaos. Pillars of fire rise all around, consuming enemies one after another. Even Subai pauses for a brief moment, watching with mild amusement. He notes how every time the demon defeats a monster, it seems to grow stronger, and then, to everyone's surprise, it splits into smaller versions of itself. Subai can't help but grin slightly at the sight, thinking that having such a creature of his own would be quite fun. The mages, on the other hand, are in disbelief. They comment among themselves that the flame demon is incredible, realizing they can simply focus on ranged attacks while the smaller Balrogs handle close combat, turning the arena into a sea of flames. Amid the firestorm, Subai and his team stand their ground. Lin, still keeping an eye on her summon, informs Subai that the flame demon has already split into 8 forms, and that there are only 10 minutes left, though her cooldown still has half an hour remaining. Subai nods slightly and tells her that he already knows. Just as he finishes speaking, the ground shakes. A massive explosion bursts around them, flames surging outward with deafening force and covering the entire arena in fiery chaos. Lin Yuchan looks visibly confused now. She turns to Subai and asks what they should do next, worrying that once Balrog disappears, they won't be able to keep the Helchuries from closing in. Subai stays calm and tells her not to worry, assuring her that the Balrog won't disappear disappear. His tone is so confident that even the fiery demon itself seems startled for a second. Flames begin swirling around Lin Yuchan, making her step back slightly in surprise, not sure what Su-bai means by that. As the flames burn brighter, Lin grows serious and tries to piece things together. She realizes that the Balrog, whose flames had been fading, is now turning to solid stone instead of vanishing completely. The transformation leaves her speechless. Meanwhile, the other mages keep firing spells to hold back the Helcheries, but their attacks are clearly getting weaker. The monsters are inching closer, ready to break through. Su-bai, however, just lets out a small laugh. He tells everyone to relax and assures them he'll take care of the monsters himself. Su-bai begins channeling his magic, causing chunks of stone to lift from the ground. They swirl in the air, gradually twisting into flaming demon skull projectiles. This technique is known as Call to Death. A massive chakra ring forms, and the skulls roar forward, erupting in a violent explosion that engulfs the battlefield. Su-bai casually remarks that the little fire demon has become unexpectedly powerful after being hit with his magic. The nearby magicians stare in disbelief. Some start whispering to each other, wondering if this is what true madness looks like. They assume he must be of SSS rank, and suddenly his relationship with Lin Yuchan makes a lot more sense. Someone with this kind of power clearly isn't ordinary. Even Lin Yuchan is stunned. She thinks to herself that it's been less than 2 hours since they entered the dungeon, and yet it already seems like they really might break the record. Wang Guild Conference Room. Across the city, the Wang Guild's leader slams the table and calls his subordinates useless. He complains that they can't even handle a newcomer, and on top of that, they've provoked the Lin family, making the situation worse with every passing moment. Someone tries to calm him down, saying there's no reason to be afraid. If the Li and Wang families work together, there's nothing the Lin family can do. A woman nearby adds that the situation might actually be a chance for them. When asked what she means, she explains that Lin Yuchan is now the Lin family's first heir. If word spreads that Su-bai, who is being labeled a traitor of Yen country, lost his SSS grade crystal because of a private deal with her, then the public will descend into chaos exactly the way they want. The others seem pleased with this idea. They mutter that it'll be interesting to see how the Lin family reacts once the rumor spreads. The leader orders his strategist to handle the arrangements immediately. Tower of God, 11th floor, Snowfield. Back at the snowy battlefield, Su-bai tells the group that once they get through this area, they need to head straight for the cave ahead. That's where the floor boss is. He warns them not to wander, since even though he's strong, they aren't, and a random mini-boss could wipe them out. Still, he keeps trying to protect them. With a flick of his hand, he unleashes another burst of wind magic. A mage beside Lin Yuchan suddenly realizes what he's seeing and nervously mentions that Su-bai is using a tornado spell, not just an ordinary wind technique. It's absurdly strong. As they continue forward, Lin Yuchan checks the time and reports that 13 hours and 40 minutes have already passed, and their progress has reached 90%. At this pace, she thinks they really might break the record. Su-bai tells everyone to stop overthinking and keep moving. He warns that if they focus too much on breaking the record might crush them before they ever get the chance to break it. Even so, as the mages press forward and see wave after wave of monsters, they can't help wondering why things seem so chaotic. Lin Yuchan asks what they should do next. They're so close to the record, but the pressure is only getting heavier. Su-bai simply tells her to have the Balrogs follow him. Everyone else, he orders to stay where they are. He explains that this is the final stage of the floor, so they don't need to lift a finger. He'll handle it. Lin is startled. She nervously asks whether he really intends to clear the last wave by himself. In her mind, she reminds herself that even though he's mastered spells from all 5 elements, he's technically still a mage. Behind her, one of the mages quietly asks if they should call him back, but she forces herself to shake her head and says there's no need. Deep down, she knows Su-bai has never failed, and with fiery wings unfolding behind him, he hardly looks like someone who plans to start failing now. Up ahead, Su-bai clenches his fist and activates fist energy. The passive effect of his fire dragon gauntlets, explosive flames, erupts, coating his knuckles in blazing fire. The gear truly lives up to its perfect grade reputation. Flames roar around him, vibrating through the air like a furnace. A notification flickers. F-rank Fist Aura LV.10 coats both fists with aura that can be released like sword energy. Long duration, commonly used by boxers. Su-bai grins, practically trembling with excitement. Fireballs gather around his fists, and he charges straight into the monster horde, telling them, more to himself than anyone, that he'll show them what real fist technique looks like. The monsters hesitate, terrified by the chaos swirling around him. The mages behind Lin stare in disbelief, wondering if he's also a boxer. Yet the blazing explosions clearly look like pure magic damage. Even Lin is stunned. This whole journey has been nothing but a constant chain of shocks. Just when she thinks she understands him, he reveals something even crazier. No matter the size or strength of the monster rushing toward him, Su-bai just meets it with a flaming punch, blowing it apart in a single hit. He laughs wildly to himself, reveling in the fact that dual cultivation of magic and martial arts lets him stack back both kinds of damage at once, doubling his combat power and turning everything ahead into ash. But the monsters ahead just keep multiplying, and their strength isn't low either. Subai decides it's pointless to wipe out every last one. He thinks it'll be too slow, and the waves won't stop unless the dungeon boss falls. More undead suddenly rise at his command. He summons his own army and charges forward alongside them, joking that the guards have arrived. Undead spill out everywhere, filling the battlefield like a dark tide. He keeps summoning non-stop and orders them to block the entrance. A notification flashes. Summoning the undead leveled up, LV6. Now summons 20 spirits. Subai feels ecstatic. This is the exact sensation he wanted, commanding hordes like he's the raid boss himself. Behind him, Lin Yuchan and the mages stare wide-eyed. One mage whispers to her that this doesn't feel like tower climbing anymore. It feels way more exciting than any dungeon run they've had before. Another swoons that Lord Subai looks way too handsome doing this and admits she could watch him all day. Lin laughs along, saying this is what a true frontal assault looks like. In the chaos, Subai suddenly spots something unusual, an odd monster lumbering in from the blizzard. It's a snow-loving bear, level 18. This oversized furball is obsessed with snow. Anyone who dares damage his precious ice sends him into a rage. Subai grins and recognizes the creature immediately. This is exactly the mob he's been waiting for. It signals the boss's arrival. He orders his undead to swarm ahead and greet their guest. The bear rears up, ready to maul everything in sight. But Subai channels fiery aura through his fists, already moving. The beast slams the ground, shattering the snow beneath it, its anger rising with every crack. Subai dodges casually, amused that the bear is throwing a tantrum over damaged snow. He decides to have some fun, treating it like a personal warm-up. When he strikes back, the bear reacts slowly. The flames sear its body, and the monster roars, both from pain and from fury. Fire is its natural enemy. Every burn means more snow melting and more rage igniting. The snow-loving bear roars wildly, its voice shaking the icy battlefield. Its power begins to surge as if it's trying to rip past its own limits. It keeps howling, layer after layer of strength piling up until its aura reaches a terrifying breakthrough. Just like the bear, push past your limits of support and help us break our limits of subscribers. Subscribe right now to never miss the excitement. The bear's pressure becomes overwhelming. Even Subai instinctively steps back, acknowledging that this limit-broken beast isn't like the others he's crushed. He mutters to himself that the monster is too strong to be ignored. If he doesn't take this seriously, the snow could become their grave. And the worst part of it would be how this snow-loving bear would do weird things with you while you are in the snow. Because it loves snow so much, so whatever thing is in that snow, he would of course love that as well. Then the air grows colder, the ground trembles, and the bear prepares to unleash its full wrath. The snow-loving bear finally snapped. With a furious roar, it charged forward like an avalanche come to life. The entire battlefield trembled as the mages and summoned warriors braced themselves, ready to meet it head-on. Under Subai's command, the undead army surged forward, their weapons flashing as they struck the beast from every angle. Notifications started flooding the screen one after another. Critical hit, minus 10,000 HP. Critical hit, minus 10,000 HP. Subai narrowed his eyes, curious to see just how far this enraged bear could push itself before collapsing. He darted around the creature, circling like a predator, looking for its blind spot, the one place where his next blow would end things for good. As he ran, fire coiled around his fists, burning hotter and brighter with every step. He muttered under his breath that it was time to finish this oversized snow freak once and for all. Then, with a burst of flame, he struck. Another wave of notifications popped up in rapid succession. Minus 10,000, minus 10,000, minus 10,000. The bear's health plummeted. Desperate, the creature tried to roar again, clinging to its last shred of dominance. But that roar became its final cry. A moment later, the beast hit the ground with a thunderous crash, snow scattering everywhere. The once mighty guardian of the ice field lay still, defeated. Subai stood over the fallen monster, flames flickering off his gauntlets. He looked down at the creature's face and murmured to himself that it was finally done. It had been a good fight, but if it had dragged on any longer, he joked inwardly, getting buried under all the snow would have been way too embarrassing, not to mention awkward, considering what that snow-obsessed bear might have done to his corpse. From a distance, Lin Yuchan and the mages watched in stunned silence. They couldn't believe how easily Subai had handled such a terrifying boss. They had fought side by side with him before, but this time, his power seemed on a completely different level. None of them dared to get close. The sheer energy radiating from Subai was enough to make their skin prickle. Even Lin Yuchan, despite her confidence in him, knew better than to step into the blast range of his magic. It wasn't that she doubted him. It was simply that a man who could vaporize monsters that size probably didn't need backup. Then, Just as the tension was beginning to fade, a new notification appeared before them, glowing brighter than the rest. Lin Yuchan froze, her eyes widening. The mages around her began whispering, trying to guess what it meant. Was it the system announcing their record-breaking clear time? Or was it something far worse? A warning of danger that even Su-bai hadn't anticipated? The icy winds howled louder, as if the tower itself was holding its breath. When the glowing notification finally settles, the entire team goes still for a moment. Lin Yuchan is the first to read it properly, and her eyes widen as she realizes what the system is saying. It's not danger. It's not a warning. It's history. The system congratulates their party for clearing the 11th floor of the Tower of God. Their official clearance time, 14 hours, 58 minutes, 59 seconds. Then, with a thunderous chime that echoes through the entire tower, the world announcement explodes across everyone's screens, whether they're grinding mobs, shopping in the marketplace, or just waking up from a nap. A global notice. Su-bai, leading the Lin Clan Guild, has broken the world record for clearing the 11th floor. The notification repeats over and over in every corner of the game world like a festival bell being rung non-stop. Players everywhere freeze. Merchants drop their coins. Hunters mid-fight stop swinging. Everyone starts talking at the same time. Some players insist it can't be real. They ask each other why the system would make such a joke. Others swear that it must be Su-bai again, because no one else has been causing this level of chaos lately. A few players are completely confused, trying to figure out how someone who supposedly never changed classes is now breaking world records like it's nothing. Then the speculation begins. Someone wonders aloud if Su-bai picked up an A-rank class and everyone else just underestimated it. Another guy scoffs and says A-rankers have never done anything like this. Someone else says he has seen it and insists that Su-bai must be hiding a big secret, that there's no way this is normal. He suggests Su-bai is doing some kind of black wizardry. Others then wonder if it could be because of Miss Lin, pointing out that the team belongs to the Lin Clan Guild. But another person immediately says not to joke around, reminding everyone that she is an S-rank fire mage, and even she couldn't possibly break the Holy Knight King's record. They start talking with other people as well, hoping someone else might finally have an answer to all of this. The new folks who join the discussion say that the 11 layers of corrupted monsters can only be handled by holy classes with light attributes. That's the only natural counter to them. Someone else adds that even Li Jianxian couldn't get the clear time anywhere close to under 20 hours. Meanwhile, over in the Yanghua War Conference Room, people are having their own meltdown. Their leader slams the table and says he told them to go find Su-bai, yet instead of locating him, other people have gone ahead and broken every record possible. They haven't even found a trace of him. He demands to know if this is how they do their job. One of the girls tries defending the team and says they're the strategy department, not the intelligence unit. But the leader snaps back, saying they're nothing but incompetent in every kind of affair, yet they still dare to talk back. He insists that if they had listened to him earlier and tracked Su-bai down, maybe they could have been among the top record breakers too. He rants about how they haven't broken any records and how only record breaking can give them a life free from misery. Without any achievements like that, no one will even acknowledge their existence. Then he turns toward the actual intelligence officer and asks for an update. The intelligence guy reports that, according to their investigation, Su-bai was last seen outside the outskirts of Rimu City, where he single-handedly killed a group of players all above level 30, the strongest among them being a level 48 B-rank professional. He adds that Su-bai's name still isn't showing up on the official lists, but since Su-bai traded an S-grade job transfer crystal to Lin Yuchan, logically speaking, even if Su-bai was at rock bottom, the technical department assessment of Su-bai's potential is tentatively set at SS level. The leader doesn't even let him finish before saying they need to contact Su-bai immediately. They can't afford to wait any longer. And regardless of their earlier evaluation, he is now personally classifying Su-bai's potential as SSS level. Everyone immediately agrees in unison, desperate to avoid another round of shouting. Then the leader flips through the report in his hand and sees the details. Name Su-bai, gender male, level 13, nationality Inkaku, health points unknown, occupation unknown. The leader stares at the report and wonders who this kid even is. He suspects maybe Su-bai has some special item, but then dismisses the thought immediately. If it were some tool, he would have at least heard rumors about it. Whatever Su-bai is doing is far beyond something a simple item could achieve. Suddenly, another informer rushes in. The leader is already on edge and snaps, wondering what now. The newcomer says there's urgent news and hands over a fresh report. The leader takes one look and freezes. He can't believe what he's seeing. A new world announcement has just gone out. Su-bai and the Lin Clan Guild have broken the record for clearing the 12th floor of the Tower of God in 3 hours, 2 minutes, and 29 seconds. The leader loses it again. He can't understand how Su-bai cleared another floor in just a few hours. At this point, he's convinced something about this kid defies every possible explanation. Meanwhile, on the 12th floor of the Tower of God, Shadow Abyss, the boss Ner, level 22 towers over the battlefield. Su-bai stands firm as always, while the mages behind him are struggling badly. Even Lin Yuchan is on the ground this time, breathing heavily. But Su-bai doesn't bother panicking. He simply asks whether they really want to keep going like this. Lin Yuchan admits the current pace far surpasses anything they've ever done during previous tower climbs. She suggests he bring in a new batch of mages. Anyone will do as long as they can cast. She's clearly worried her group won't last. But the moment she says that, the exhausted mages force themselves back onto their feet. One says he can still continue. Another one pushes himself upright as well. They refuse to miss this opportunity. They know Su-bai isn't someone they'll get the chance to climb with again anytime soon. They remind each other that their names are already on the record board. That kind of honor isn't something they can walk away from. They declare that as long as they're not dead, they will push through to the end. Seeing their resolve ignite again, Su-bai nods, satisfied. He opens up the portal ahead and prepares to step inside, telling them it's time to move on to the 13th floor. Lin Yuchan watches him from behind, still catching her breath, but determined to follow him no matter how insane the pace becomes. As Lin Yuchan watches Su-bai step through the portal to the next floor, her thoughts spiral. Even though the other mages have regained their resolve, she still carries a shadow of doubt. In her mind, she keeps comparing their own performance to his. To her, Su-bai feels like someone far beyond ordinary SSS players, almost mythical. She wonders how the final bosses of the 11th and 12th floors could fall in under 10 minutes if not for power truly beyond their comprehension. Next to him, she feels like she and her team are nothing but jokes wearing borrowed titles. Meanwhile, back in the Vank Guild's meeting room, chaos erupts. A guy stands at the front of the room clutching the latest world announcement report and muttering that Su-bai isn't just strong, he's completely insane. The higher-ups finally understand the scale of what they're dealing with, a top-tier newbie that even elite strategy teams would fight over. The more they learn about Su-bai, the more terrified they become. His power seems limitless. The moment the panic settles, the guy turns sharply toward Yuran, trying to compliment her on her brilliant strategies, the rumors she spread, the moves she made. But Yuran just blinks in confusion, acting like she has no idea what he's talking about. He tries reminding her of their relationship, but she brushes it aside with a laugh, treating arranged marriages as a joke. She makes it clear she has no interest in him. He pushes harder, insisting she was the one who told him to stall Su-bai. Now that the results of that decision have blown up in their faces, he's drowning in guilt. He keeps blaming her, saying they should have befriended Su-bai, begged him to work with them, anything, because letting someone like him slip away was a disaster. But Yuran still refuses to take responsibility. She says she never told him anything and claims he's blaming her to escape his own shame. She even says she prefers a man like Su-bai, someone capable, someone powerful. The others watching Yuran walk out immediately whisper among themselves, pointing out how she's basically an award-winning actress. They note how she always knows exactly when to play innocent, when to act offended, and when to shift the blame. She leaves dramatically, tossing a final remark over her shoulder about how they can continue yelling pointlessly if they want. She's done. GC panics and tries to stop her, stumbling after her like an idiot, but she doesn't even slow down. She isn't looking for someone like him anyway. She wants someone on Su-bai's level, someone who can fight monsters, protect people, and stand strong without relying on anyone else. Meanwhile, on the 13th floor of the Tower of God, Plane of Evil Sounds, the moment Su-bai steps in, the battlefield erupts. Notifications flash non-stop. Critical hit. One strike. One kill. Whatever shows up in front of him is instantly deleted. The mages behind him keep casting spells too, even though their attacks barely scratch anything at this level. Still, they try, even if in reality, they're like ants nibbling on leftovers while Su-bai handles the entire battlefield alone. As more monsters appear, Su-bai gets annoyed. Fighting like this feels painfully slow to him. The monsters here are called Hearse-free, level 22, rabbit-like things that move fast and burrow into the ground the moment he swings at them. They pop out, nibble at ankles, and dive back into their holes before he can slash them all. So Su-bai quickly orders the team to guard each cave entrance. They agree instantly, though they know even a random mob here could probably one-shot them if they slip up. Then Su-bai switches tactics. He begins hurling fireballs into every burrow one after another. Instantly, the rabbits realize they're doomed. Their low squeaks echo all around as flames chase them underground. Su-bai just laughs to himself. He thinks about how cunning rabbits are supposed to have 3 burrows, but he's already taken over every single one. With all the exits blocked and the tunnels filled with fire, he knows the next few moments will be nothing but boom, boom, boom. Explosions go off everywhere. Every tunnel, every burrow, every corner where the monsters could possibly run is bursting into flames. The remaining escape paths are sealed off by Yuchan and the mages, who, for once, are working exactly the way Subai wants. With everything blocked, the rabbits have no choice but to pop out and get blasted into dust. When it's over, Subai stands amid the smoke, gives the battlefield a quick glance, and casually notes that it's done. That was fun. Time to visit the boss. Yuchan, however, is completely wiped out. She drops to the ground, breathing hard, chugging water like her life depends on it. She still manages to ask why Subai has the energy of 1,000 people after clearing 3 levels in a row. He hasn't even taken a sip of water yet. She can't tell if he's human or something else entirely. Eventually, they reach a gloomy mansion. Above them, a swarm of bat-like creatures circles in the sky. Others crawl around below. Subai, Yuchan, and the mages take in the view together. The boss of this floor is Vince Slater, level 25. Inside the mansion, a bunch of terrified children are surrounded by wolves, clearly trapped and helpless. Subai simply says the boss is inside and that they should wait at the entrance. Even the low-level monsters here can hurt them badly, so if the boss lands even a single attack, it'll be over. Yuchan practically sparkles at the idea, saying that watching him fight will be more than enough for her. Subai walks up to the gate and kicks it down without hesitation. Inside, Vince Slater turns sharply when he hears the crash. The children immediately try to run and hide, clinging to the sudden hope that someone brave has arrived. Vince Slater warns that anyone who steps into his manor invites certain death. He clearly hates being interrupted, especially by someone who barges in like they own the place. From outside, Yuchan quietly suggests they all stay far, far away. Even from a distance, the boss radiates danger. The mages, who were already terrified, feel relieved. With Yuchan also advocating retreat, they can safely stand back without feeling cowardly. Then Vince Slater unleashes his fanged hounds, level 23 monsters that could easily shred Yuchan and the mages. But unfortunately for him, this time they're up against Subai. Subai channels a bit of magic into his hands, swings once, and the entire pack goes flying. Stone spikes erupt from the ground, blasting through the wolves before they can even snarl properly. The monsters are left stunned, shocked at being deleted in a single instant. Once the hounds are dealt with, the boss switches tactics. He begins weaving hand signs like some off-brand Naruto villain, and after the final seal, a wave of distorted music bursts through the entire mansion. The moment that horrible sound hits Yuchan and the mages, they instantly clamp their hands over their ears. The noise is sharp and chaotic, like someone smashing rusty metal inside their skull. They can't focus at all, and now they fully understand why staying back was the right call. 1 second of distraction like this, and those hounds would have torn them apart. But Subai, he doesn't even flinch. He casually remarks that whatever the boss is doing, singing, screeching, or playing some cursed instrument, it's completely useless against him. The noise simply doesn't affect him. While the boss is still proudly unleashing his creepy sound jutsu, Subai flashes forward and cuts him down in one clean strike. Once the enemy is taken down with another sharp, clean critical hit, its SP drops by 12,000, and its HP also plummets by the same amount. The creature can't even process how it was defeated so easily. Of course, Subai knows it's all thanks to his newly upgraded gear, but the enemy has no clue. It just dies confused. Before the boss collapses completely, it rages one last time, vowing that every despicable intruder will face punishment. It clearly still has some tricks left and refuses to go down quietly. A moment later, it unleashes a swarm of bats, all screeching and thrilled to follow their master's orders. They shoot out from every corner of the room, making a beeline for Subai and the others. The mages, already tortured by that cursed noise attack, now have to deal with this bat swarm piling on top of everything else. But Subai doesn't even blink. He reminds the boss, almost lazily, that all of this is useless. With his equipment fully upgraded and his mental stats maxed out, nothing about the sonic interference or mental attacks can faze him. He practically scoffs, thinking that his mind is so stable right now there's no way anything could shake it. While the bats flutter around pointlessly, Subai closes in on the boss again and slices through him. This time, the hit is even heavier, 22,000 HP gone in one shot. Subai mentally comments that none of the boss's sound-based tricks work on him, so it's best the monster just heads to the afterlife already. Once the fight ends, Subai stands over the defeated boss and remarks to himself that dealing with this guy was ridiculously easy. With his mental energy hitting the cap, it was basically a free win, especially since the attacks weren't physical anyway. At worst, they could have caused some eardrum discomfort, nothing more. Yuchan, meanwhile, was not nearly as lucky. Her mental resistance isn't high, so she was stuck there enduring all the noise while unable to move. Thankfully, now that the boss is down, she can finally relax. Then she checks the notifications and freezes. It says, "Congratulations on your team clearing level 13. Clear time, 5 hours, 49 minutes, 11 seconds. Right after that, the world announcement appears. World announcement. Congratulations to Subai and the Lin Clan Guild for breaking the record for clearing the 13th floor. Clear time, 5 hours, 49 minutes, 11 seconds. Yuchan is stunned. She can't believe they took down such an annoying boss so quickly, especially one that relied on sonic harassment and mental interference. She herself couldn't even lift a finger, and the mages behind her were equally frozen. Still, in the end, she knows exactly why this record was broken. It was because Subai did everything. They wanted records, and Subai, like always, delivered, just to calm everyone down. Subai tells them the situation is handled and suggests they head out to rest for 2 hours, so everyone can recover before moving on. Yuchan agrees immediately. She's clearly relieved and says she's fine with that plan. After fighting non-stop for almost a full day and night, she feels like she finally earned a break. She even admits that following a pro is fun, even if he's the one doing all the actual work. Later, while they're camping, the magicians start chatting excitedly about everything that happened. One of them complains that he's exhausted but insists it was the most fun he's ever had leveling. Another agrees, saying he's never enjoyed grinding enemies this much before. Subai just sits quietly in the background, letting everyone talk. But soon Yuchan approaches him with food and tells him he must be even more tired than the rest since he's been fighting continuously. Subai simply replies that, luckily, his physical condition is better than theirs. Hearing this, Yuchan realizes something. Despite doing all the fighting, using both magic and martial skills non-stop, he still isn't starving or collapsing like the rest of them. Clicks that this break wasn't for Subai at all. It was for them. He could have kept going straight into another dungeon or another floor without even blinking. In her head, Yuchan admits that Subai isn't just a little stronger. He's on a completely different level. Still, even if he's not tired, who would say no to good food? So Subai finally takes the meal from her and starts eating while checking his status panel. It shows, name Subai, level 15. Occupation, Demon King Hero X. Strength, 550. Agility, 550. Constitution, 550. Spirit, 900. Health points, 5,500. Constitution bonus, times 10. Magic power, infinite. Demon King passive skill. Physical attack, 22,000. Warrior bonus, plus 100. Magic attack, 3,600. Demon King bonus, plus 100. Professional skills. All-round martial arts master. Hero can learn any non-magical skill, and the proficiency instantly maxes out. Subai scans through the rest of his status panel. Professional skill number 2. Endless firepower, Demon King. Description, can learn any non-physical skill. All non-physical skills have no cooldown. His current skill list shows Rank B, Frozen Blade Gun. Rank C, Chain Thrust. Rank C, Upward Slash. Rank D, Stone Spikes. Rank D, Stone Wall. His equipment tab displays the Clock of All Things. Supreme Artifact, the tool he uses to upgrade everything. Fire Dragon Gauntlets, plus 1, perfect grade. Triple linked purple gold armor, plus 1, perfect grade. Looking at all of this, Subai thinks out loud that the hero class seems to gain 30 attribute points per level, while the Demon King class gains 20. The hero side grows balanced, the Demon King side simply brute forces raw damage. While scrolling through the system interface, he wonders whether he should try using the universal clock to upgrade some of his skills. He considers starting with C-level Chain Thrust. The upgrade direction shows that it can be pushed to rank B. However, the system shows the cultivation time is 30 days unless he wants to spend 2,500 gold to double the speed or 10,000 gold to skip the upgrade time entirely. He checks again to make sure the system isn't trolling him. Thankfully, it seems perfectly functional, so he confirms the upgrade. A moment later, a notification appears. Congratulations, you have successfully upgraded. Acquired rank B skill, Frozen Blade Spear. While the others are relaxing around the campfire, Subai continues preparing for the next wave of insane battles. He then examines another potential upgrade. B-grade Frozen Blade Gun A-level skill. The system shows cultivation time, 90 days. Double speed, 25,000 gold. Skip time, 100,000 gold. Subai lets out a breath. Even for him, that's way too expensive to casually throw money at. A-level skills are rare, sure, but he's not rich enough to burn cash like that yet. For now, he decides to leave that upgrade untouched. After running the numbers, he notes that once he's done upgrading the cheaper ones, he'll be left with barely 8,000 gold coins. He mutters that the road to making money is long and painful, just like real life. Then he scrolls through more options he could potentially upgrade later. B-grade Frozen Blade Gun. C-rank Combo Thrust. C-rank Uppercut. C-level Backstab. C-rank Critical Strike. C-rank Crescent Moon Slash. C-grade Stone Spikes. C-grade Stone Wall. C-rank Undead Summoning. C-level Fireball. The list just keeps going. Subai scrolls further further down his skill list and sees sea-level water balloon, sea-level water rocket, and sea-level wind speed boots. But even looking at all these skills doesn't lift his mood half as much as the food in his hands. He's been starving for a proper meal ever since entering the newbie zone. While he eats, the other magicians keep sneaking glances at him. They whisper among themselves, amazed that even someone SSS level strong still pushes himself this hard. They remember how he kept chewing those awful wax-like energy bars just to stay energized. Seeing how tirelessly he works, even at his level, makes them feel embarrassed about all the excuses they usually make. Their motivation spikes immediately. Soon, they finish their food in a hurry and line up in front of Subai. They tell him they've rested enough and can continue anytime. They don't want to waste another second. Subai looks confused for a moment, wondering if something happened behind his back to suddenly hype them up like this. But since they're all so eager, he gets up too and agrees that they should move on. He instructs everyone to tidy up and get ready, and once they're prepared, he gives his one rule for this floor: stay close. Getting lost here won't be pretty. Yuchan walks behind him with a happy, bright expression, while the other mages are fired up again. Tower of God, 14th floor, Stonehenge. The group soon enters the next area and starts battling flame beetles, level 24. Staying in formation just like Subai instructed turns out to be the correct choice, because wandering off in this maze-like floor would be a nightmare. After pushing ahead a bit more, they run into man-eating vines. Subai switches to some of his archery skills, ripping through the vines with clean arrow shots. But after walking a little more, Yuchan suddenly starts doubting the path. She quietly admits she feels like they stepped into the wrong area because everything around them is empty and silent. She worries she might be leading them astray. Subai reassures her that this is absolutely the right place. He explains that this area is actually a hidden boss zone, so the silence is normal. He tells her to stick close. Then he channels his magic power, drawing a glowing magic circle across the ground. The group positions themselves at the entrance just like before, and the flame demon materializes once again with a rumble. They aren't acting like they're idle, they're preparing. Subai takes the lead and steps forward into the quiet area. But suddenly, Yuchan feels something shift, an odd sensation in the air, as if something huge just stirred beneath the ground. As soon as Subai steps forward, the boss name materializes in front of them. Twin golems, level 29. Subai immediately recognizes them. In a very familiar, almost nostalgic tone, he mutters that it's been a long time since he last saw these two stone idiots. He studies their massive bodies and casually comments on how tough their stone shells look, as if he's inspecting old furniture instead of bosses. He draws his upgraded weapons, and the golems also lock their glowing eyes onto him, both sides waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That moment arrives instantly. Both golems charge. Subai doesn't back away. He leaps upward and stomps down on their heads with a resounding bang, brushing off the attack like it's nothing. He mocks them for being completely useless, saying that being made of rock is pointless when he carries weapons capable of crushing anything. The twin golems, meanwhile, keep bumping into each other as they try to reposition. Their clunky bodies knock together loudly, making them look more frustrated than dangerous. Subai watches them tumble around and waits for the next opening. He's already figured out their routine and knows they've blown through their little trump card. When one of the golems tries to reflect an attack, Subai scoffs at the attempt and moves in fast. He begins destroying part of their stone armor until both golems suddenly freeze and their eyes begin shining ominously. A huge laser erupts from their bodies. Subai dodges instantly, sliding back as the beam tears through the floor. Lin Yuchan watches the explosion from the entrance and nearly collapses. She wasn't prepared for this level of destructive power from a hidden boss, and seeing that beam fly past is enough to make her skin crawl. Subai charges straight at the golem with full momentum. Just as he's about to smash his fist into the creature's face, he slips in a precise knowing blow, a strike sharp enough to make even a stone giant flinch. The golem staggers back, clearly irritated, but Subai doesn't give it a second to breathe. He keeps unloading attack after attack as if he's running through a shopping list of techniques. He decides this is the perfect moment to test out his newest skills. He mutters that he'll use these golems as experimental dummies, then prepares his chemical gun in one hand and a frost blade in the other. He wants to see exactly how these effects behave on a tough stone-type enemy, and the golems definitely feel it. Under the continuous barrage, explosions, frost cuts, crushing impacts, one of the golems finally cracks apart completely. The other one freezes in fear, realizing it's next. Subai doesn't slow down. He slams it with every effect he prepared, and soon even that golem breaks into a pile of scattered rubble. Once both giants collapse, Subai lands back on the ground and casually says that this is a good place to stop because he's done enough practice for now. But before he can relax, Lin Yuchan suddenly screams for him to be careful. She warns that the rubble fragments can reassemble into a boss if they aren't handled properly. Subai just tilts his head slightly, snaps his fingers, and says that reassembly isn't happening today. The technique he used on these golems is completely different from normal damage, and even these golems were a bit special. As the crystal fragments drift through the air and fall around him, the reason becomes obvious. The other mages run closer and stare wide-eyed. They realize he has completely frozen every single piece of rubble in place. The boss can't reform. It can't move, can't do anything except stay cold and defeated. Right then, the system notifications pop up in front of everyone. Congratulations on clearing floor 14. Clear time, 30 hours, 45 minutes, 12 seconds. World announcement. Congratulations to Subai and the Lin Clan Guild for breaking the record on floor 14 of the Tower of God. Record time, 30 hours, 45 minutes, 12 seconds. Another floor, another broken record. Lin Yuchan nods proudly and says they've done well. Subai simply tells them to keep moving. It's the final floor. Meanwhile, outside in central Long Street of Rim, crowds have already gathered. Everyone is buzzing with curiosity and panic. One person says he hasn't seen Subai's name anywhere on the professional ranking list. Another asks if Subai really plans to break records at this speed, one after another without any break in between. Another person in the crowd starts shouting that the Yen Kingdom has produced another monster on the level of Li Jianxian. People keep talking about Subai, some with frustration, some with admiration, and many with a new sense of worship. Subai has become the topic in every corner of the kingdom. Then we switch to that one frustrated dude sprinting across the street. His underlings chase after him, muttering, "Is this even human?" The guy's expression is twisted with annoyance as he grumbles that, as expected, Subai cleared the 14th floor instantly. He clearly wanted to be the one breaking these records, not watch Subai casually steal the spotlight again and again. Meanwhile, across the world, other countries are also thrown into chaos. A global announcement pops up congratulating Subai and the Lin Clan Guild for breaking the record on the 15th floor of the Tower of God, clearing it in 6 hours, 29 minutes, and 50 seconds. Everyone everywhere goes into shock. They can't believe this guy is breaking records on autopilot with no intention of stopping anytime soon. Back inside the 15th floor, Subai simply dusts off his hands and says, "Done. See you all," standing over two massive collapsed teddy bear-like beasts and a giant bird, apparently the bosses of the floor. Lin Yuchan, however, quickly stops him. She tells him that because of his help, the Lin family has gained a massive advantage. She wants to discuss with her father about giving him proper compensation. Hearing this, Subai pauses and casually asks what kind of compensation she means. The answer turns out to be very attractive, potentially attractive enough that he might even consider helping them again later. Any smart clan head would definitely make such an offer. A moment later, a portal opens and several mages arrive from the Lin family side. Lin Yuchan is visibly relieved to see them, then turns to Subai and explains that the reward depends on what he wants, either shops or gold coins. If he chooses coins, then they give 10,000 gold per tier. Subai chooses gold without hesitation. Lin Yuchan nods and tells him to wait 3 days while they gather the amount. Even Subai finds it impressive that she can raise that much money in such a short time. It really shows how wealthy the Lin family must be. He says okay and adds that if they want him to break more records in the future, they can contact him. He'll even give them a 20% discount. Lin Yuchan doesn't act surprised at all. She already knows exactly what Subai is capable of. Subai, in return, simply thinks, "Sure, whatever you say," and leaves it at that. But the moment Lin Yuchan hears about the discount, she instantly grabs Subai's hand, her eyes sparkling. She asks if he really means 20% off. When Subai confirms it, regretting it instantly, she happily declares that the Lin family would like to reserve the first 30 floors for record-breaking runs. She asks if that's acceptable. Subai, meanwhile, mentally collapses. He thinks, "Great, I should have kept my mouth shut." 15th floor, 30,000 gold lost. 30,000 gold. Why am I like this? He tries to play it cool. He coughs lightly, forces a laugh, and says, "Heh, no problem. No problem," even though inside he's screaming. Lin Yuchan is thrilled. She's smiling so brightly that it looks like her face might burst into sunshine. She thinks to herself that even if the Lin family has to mortgage properties to gather that much gold, it's worth it because they'll get their name on 20 consecutive tower records. The rise of the Lin clan finally feels real. But then Subai says he has one condition. He tells her, "I only want you." The moment she hears that, her entire face goes bright red. She freezes, stunned and flustered. She honestly cannot believe he said something like that so casually. For a second, she thinks this is some kind of confession. She shyly murmurs that it's a bit sudden, but Subai quickly clarifies before she flies away into the clouds. He says what he meant was that he wants just the two of them to form a team for the tower. No extras, no additional mages, no unnecessary burdens, nothing romantic, just efficiency. It crushes her expectations instantly, though she hides it well, but she nods quickly and agrees. She says it's fine and that she'll cooperate fully. She also thinks to herself that, on the 14th and 15th floors, they were barely able to keep up anyway. Honestly, they slowed him down more than they helped. With everything decided, they finally wrap things up. Lin Yuchan waves and says goodbye. Subai waves back and says they'll meet again in 3 days, same place and same time. He leaves immediately afterward because he has other things to take care of. Inside Limu City, people everywhere are discussing Subai's insane tower runs, but ironically, none of them recognize him as he casually walks past. Then suddenly, a new system notification appears. Wizard's Mad Diary Part 2. An infection source has appeared in the south of the city. When the notifications appear, they inform Subai that the southern infection source request will reward him with 20 skill points, and the Rim City suburbs investigation will give him another 10. After reading both, he mutters to himself that 30 skill points is a pretty generous haul. He decides that clearing all Rim City quests first will neatly fill the 3 days he promised Lin Yuchan. Later, he walks up to the quest board and checks every mission available. He browses through each line carefully, picking out the quests that look fun or offer rewards worth his time. After selecting everything he wants, he heads to the reception desk and tells the clerk that he has accepted every mission he possibly can. Outside, he stretches and comments to himself that he has taken on every role available. Soon after, he runs into the city guards. One of them asks him where he wants to go. Subai tells them he's heading to the Shursian mine and adds that there's no need for further checking. The guards immediately activate the teleportation array. A blinding light flashes behind him, and the next moment, he's standing inside the Shursian mine. He rubs his eyes and complains that he forgot to close them again, warning himself that at this rate, these teleport lights will blind him someday. Before he can even start moving, another notification pops up. Pei Lingxue is sending him yet another friend request. Subai stares at the request and shakes his head. He tells himself there is no way he's accepting it, because doing so would turn his peaceful life into a nightmare. After a moment of thought, he rejects the request again. Meanwhile, at her residence, Pei Lingxue is losing her mind. She slams her hands on the table and shouts that Subai has rejected her 27 times. She cannot believe he has the nerve to keep doing this. Her irritation spikes, and she immediately sends yet another request. But this time, the system informs her that the message failed to send because she has been blacklisted by the other party. She goes completely silent for a moment, then her expression twists with anger. She grits her teeth and mutters that Subai can just wait. She refuses to believe that someone like her can't corner him inside Rim City. She starts plotting her revenge, determined to show him the consequences of ignoring her. At the Shursian mine, Subai runs into a group of skeleton dark demon swordsmen, each around level 38. But to him, they're nothing more than mobile EXP packets. With one clean swing, he wipes out 8 at once. Another slash follows, and 6 more collapse instantly. For now, nothing here is giving him trouble, but he still expects the boss later might be a different story. When he checks his status window, a whole list of messages pop up. He sees that hunting the dark demon swordsman 2000/2000 is completed. He also notices that hunting the dark demon boss 1 is finished, and the Dark Demon's revenge is also marked done, all asking him to deliver them promptly. The reward list is pretty generous: 30 rare materials, 20 skill points, and 1 random skill book. For Subai, all of this felt too easy. After turning in the quests, he summons more skeletons and immediately notices his summoning the dead skill has gotten even stronger. Now he can call out sturdier skeleton soldiers capable of independently wiping out monsters. His undead army keeps growing like some unstoppable snowball. He tells himself that the next destination is Gartine Snowfield, where the next set of quests should help him grow even stronger and probably create an even crazier undead army. Later, Subai arrives at Gartine Snowfield. The whole place is covered in snow, mountains, trees, rocks, everything blanketed in white. Seeing this majestic scene, he gets hyped again. He says that no wonder everyone is desperate to climb higher. The thrill of commanding thousands of troops is just too exhilarating. He even hops around excitedly, kicking up snow even though it's freezing. But the excitement doesn't last long. The cold slams into him like a sledgehammer. His body trembles, and he starts sneezing non-stop. He finally admits to himself that this place is no joke. If he isn't careful, fighting here could become extremely troublesome. So the next second, he snaps his fingers and drops a fireball at his feet. Flames erupt, giving him some warmth. Fireballs aren't difficult for him anyway, so conjuring them one after another is easy. With some heat around him again, he feels ready to fight, jump around, and enjoy himself like always. But then he notices a new problem. His movement speed is reduced by 10 due to the cold wind. Even after the fireballs, the debuff stays. His troops are also slowed, meaning they can't rush to his aid immediately if something dangerous appears. He tells himself that he'll have to factor this in carefully once the monsters start showing up. Because Subai still remembers that snow bear he fought earlier, he stays alert the moment he reaches deeper into the snowfield. Then he spots a new group of monsters. The system labels them as Fluffy Yeti, level 28, and Subai immediately thinks they actually look pretty cute. He laughs a bit and says the Yetis are adorable, but he doesn't let that distract him. In his mind, cuteness is not not protection. Just because a monster looks fluffy doesn't mean it gets a free pass. He tells himself that he's here to gain power, not collect plush toys. So, without hesitation, he snaps his fingers and orders his skeleton minions to charge in and smash the fluffy idiots into the ground. The Yeti group turns out to be larger than he expected. More of them keep popping out from behind snow piles, from crevices, and even rolling downhill straight toward him. His skeleton warriors are fighting hard, but the numbers just keep increasing. So Subai decides not to waste unnecessary time and throws a fireball to support them. The moment the flames spread across the snow, all the fluffy yetis start making weird grumbling sounds, clearly unhappy. But Subai also realizes something disappointing. Even though his fireball skill is now upgraded to level 3 and the fireball itself is much bigger, the damage is still too low for his liking. He mutters to himself that the flame demon is still leagues ahead. After all, trying to upgrade a B rank skill to A rank once cost him 100,000 gold coins, and going beyond that is even more insanely expensive. But he shakes off the frustration and focuses on what matters, completing the quest step by step without crying about his financial pain. He starts mixing in stone spikes, which pierce forward and land critical hits. 1-hit kills 6 at once, then 13 more. The fluffy yetis continue grumbling as more spikes fly into their faces. Then he switches to ice arrows, freezing and piercing through them while more critical hits stack up. 11 yetis down in one go. Subai feels the rhythm kicking in. He thinks that his dual chanting is finally smooth and that next time he should aim for higher level multi-chanting. It looks cool, it feels powerful, and most importantly, it's insanely practical. But suddenly, boom, a huge explosion erupts nearby. Subai freezes for a moment, confused. He didn't cast anything. He didn't trigger any skill. So what the hell was that? When he looks ahead, he sees all of his skeleton warriors lying shattered in the snow. Even the fluffy yetis are down, collapsed everywhere like someone switched off their batteries. Something else caused that blast, and Subai definitely wants to know what it was. As Subai looks around the snowfield, he suddenly notices smoke rising from the ground, thick, black, and writhing like something alive. The moment he sees it, he instantly recognizes what it is. He mutters that this is the resentful spirit smoke, the kind that forms when dead souls accumulate without being purified. He says it looks like this entire snowfield has basically been turned into a giant testing site for dead spirits. The Gartine snowfield experimental base slowly reveals itself through the haze as more and more black smoke hisses out, spreading across the area like poison. Subai frowns. He says the whole place resembles the Death Swamp, another area where no players ever bothered starting the questline, letting resentment pile up endlessly. Only light attribute and dark attribute attacks can damage these spirit-type monsters, and light spells even double the output, so he thinks he'll have to rely on those. But then he pauses and suddenly says out loud that the others should run. He declares he can't fight this thing right now, he's just a newbie, and a newbie with barely any proper light skills. He snaps his fingers again and again, trying to warn the clueless players who were nearby. Meanwhile, another group of adventurers has also noticed the rising smoke. They stare at it nervously and ask among themselves what this black energy is. They were confident enough to deal with fluffy yetis a minute ago, but this black mist? This feels like death approaching. The mist begins hissing toward them, sucking away at their souls little by little. They don't even wait. They immediately turn around and run for their lives. 3 days later, inside the Lin Clan Chamber of Commerce, private room number 3, Subai sits comfortably on the sofa, rolling his shoulders and rubbing his hands like a gambler preparing for a jackpot. He tells himself to try his luck and opens the first reward box. A notification pops up. Congratulations, you have obtained a common grade weapon, long sword. He stares blankly, then opens another. Congratulations, you have obtained a small experience potion, level 10. Another. Congratulations, you have received 5 gold coins and 50 silver coins. Subai freezes, and then his eye twitches. He complains that the drops are absolute trash. He wonders what happened to the so-called newbie protection period. At this point in his strength progression, even items that used to be helpful have become as useless as wet tissue paper. While he's complaining internally, the door slides open and Lin Yuchan walks in quietly. She sees Subai sitting surrounded by piles of useless junk and looking completely betrayed by RNG. She gently says the Lin family can handle those materials and items on his behalf if he wants. But Subai waves it off. He says it doesn't matter. Garbage is garbage. Whether someone manages it or not, what use does he have for it now? Lin Yuchan sits down across from him. A moment later, several members of the Lin family staff enter carrying multiple heavy suitcases, each of them looking serious and respectful. Something important is clearly about to happen. The moment the suitcases are set down, Lin Yuchan takes a step forward and calmly tells Subai that she has brought both the gold she owed him earlier and the advance deposit for the next tower runs. She explains that the total comes to 100,000 gold coins. Subai nods slowly. He tells her that the Lin clan association is certainly bold, and in his mind he's already calculating how heavy that 50,000 gold deposit must have hit their treasury. He thinks they probably don't have much gold left after handing that over so openly. He accepts the money and then says that if he gets the chance, he'd like to meet her father someday. But the moment he mentions her father, Lin Yuchan's smile falters just a little. She clearly didn't want Subai talking about her father at all. She only wanted him to think about her, at least for now. Still, she doesn't show it too openly. Subai then tells her to go get ready. They'll be heading to the Red Tower soon. Hearing that, Yuchan immediately brightens up again. She waves cheerfully at him as she heads out, and Subai responds with a casual thumbs up. After she leaves, once he's finally alone, Subai looks at his hands and has an epiphany. He mutters to himself that maybe he's been getting garbage loot because his hands were dirty and he hadn't bathed. Maybe luck really does care about hygiene. So he washes his hands thoroughly, bathes, dries his hair, and sits down again with renewed confidence. He clasps his hands together and says that this time the system should be kind and give him some light attribute skills. He opens the next bundle of rewards. A notification pops up. Congratulations on obtaining D-grade skill book, Holy Light Shield. Then another. Congratulations on obtaining E-grade skill book, Ice Spikes. Then congratulations on obtaining B-rank skill, Holy Light Demon Slaying Bullet. A whole batch of light element skills pours out, including the rare Holy Light Shield. Subai's eyes light up. He says this is more like it. He even gets excited after seeing the E-rank Ice Spikes. He laughs to himself and says that if he'd had these skills 3 days ago, he wouldn't have run away from the Gartine Snowfield experimental base like that. More notifications scroll past his vision, D-rank Crosscut, B-rank Battle Song, and of course, the B-rank Holy Light Demon Slaying Bullet that he absolutely needed. Now he's convinced. Maybe the problem really wasn't his luck. Maybe the problem was simply not bathing. You guys should also wash hands and bath after liking this video. Maybe a bit of Subai charm will also rub on you. Just when Subai finishes appreciating his new light element skills, the door opens again and someone else steps inside. Subai's instincts kick in immediately. He raises his hand and prepares a fire spell without even thinking. The newcomer lifts her hands casually and tells him he sure reacts quickly. Even she hadn't expected such a sharp response. And then Subai finally gets a clear look at her. It's her. The same girl whose friend requests he had rejected, 27 times? She walks further in and says he probably doesn't recognize her in person, adding that she looks much better live than in photos. Subai gives her one glance and immediately identifies the gear she's wearing. He remarks that her outfit looks like the perfect Great Assassin set, Dragon Vein, used by second-tier swordsmen, and since it's almost level 100, he knows there's no escaping this situation now. In his mind, he's already thinking, great, of all people, it had to be her. Instead of responding to her dramatic entrance, she simply plops down on the sofa like she owns the place. She asks again if he recognized her and compliments him for being surprisingly knowledgeable. A moment later, Lin Yuchan enters, and her reaction is immediate. Her eyes widen in pure shock as she blurts out that the newcomer is Pei Ling Shu, a member of Yen Kingdom's frontline strategy team and a top 100 player on last season's world leaderboard. Subai keeps quiet, though inside he's evaluating this beauty with a calm face and a very tired heart. Pei Ling Shu sits there like a queen in her lounge. She doesn't seem bothered by Yuchan's shock or Subai's silence. She just crosses her legs and asks why he's not surprised. She says she expected him to at least be stunned by the sight of a gorgeous woman. Subai tries to fake a reaction, but all he can manage is a flat, "What's up?" That's the most emotion he can squeeze out. Pei Ling Shu looks disappointed, calling him boring. Meanwhile, Subai quietly admits to himself that she is beautiful. Her presence is sharp, her gear is immaculate, and her whole vibe is dangerously stunning. But he keeps that thought to himself because beauty is not something he wants to get blindsided by. After staring at him for a bit, Pei Ling Shu finally gets back to business. She tells him that she's here to officially welcome him to Squad 11 of the first-line strategy team. Hearing that, Lin Yuchan stiffens. Even though Squad 11 is at the bottom among second-tier teams, just being invited into a frontline strategy team at all is something normal players can't even dream of. She knows exactly how huge that offer is, but Subai barely reacts. He gives a tiny nod, maybe the bare minimum of surprise, and then answers politely but firmly that he'll decline. He isn't interested, not in the reputation, not in the position, and not even in the face of the unbelievably beautiful girl offering it. He only wants to know if there is any depth to it, to the proposal meant. But then Pei Ling Shu immediately rose from her seat, clearly unhappy. She questioned why he was refusing and told him not to be arrogant as a newcomer, insisting that only by joining a top-tier strategy team could he access the best resources and a proper growth plan. Subai calmly replied that climbing the tower and finding guides were things he could manage on his own, so he didn't see the point in relying on others. This irritated Pei Ling Shu even even more, mainly because she knew it was true. He had already broken the records for the first 15 floors entirely by himself. He then added that he simply wasn't interested in joining their group. Pei Ling Shu quickly changed her approach. She even bowed slightly and said that the higher levels of the Tower of God were not nearly as simple as he might think, and that going alone would not get him far. She explained that Team 11 was sincere and hoped he would reconsider. Su Bai responded that difficulty wasn't the issue. In his mind, he thought about how, in his past life, he had cleared 300 floors without taking any damage, and in this world he had already cleared around 100. So he couldn't understand why this would be considered impossible. Pei Ling Shu then asked if he meant joining them as a special assistant, something like a guest advisor. Even Lin Yuchan stepped in and explained that it would be similar to her own arrangement with the Lin family. He provided the money, she provided the labor. Pei Ling Shu repeated that arrangement and, after thinking for a moment, agreed to treat it as an outsourced partnership. She said that they would need a contract and that their strategy team would support him fully with manpower, equipment, and any other resources he needed. She also thought privately that they had to win him over before another team grabbed him, because she wouldn't be able to justify losing someone like him once she returned. Then, to everyone's surprise, Pei Ling Shu immediately pulled out a contract, making it obvious how afraid she was that he might run away. Su Bai looked at it, surprised, and noted that she had even prepared a contract in advance. Pei Ling Shu pushed it toward him and told him to check it and sign right away, insisting that they could not afford to waste any more time. Su Bai explained that he had one more condition. He needed top-tier blacksmiths to forge equipment for him, and he wanted the team's help in gathering materials. He clarified that he would cover all the costs himself. Pei Ling Xian hadn't expected this. She only wanted him to sign the contract, but now more demands were appearing. Even so, she didn't dare object. She told him not to worry about the forging fees and said that the team would handle them. In her mind, she was relieved that his request wasn't something outrageous like millions of gold coins. Normally, forging expenses were covered by the team anyway, so it wasn't anything extra. He just seemed unaware of how these things usually worked. While she watched nervously, Su Bai took the contract into his hand and began signing. He did it deliberately slowly, fully aware that she was anxious and enjoying dragging the moment out just a little longer, letting her understand exactly how much she needed him. Once he finished, he handed the contract back and said he would send the materials list and forging requirements later so she could prepare a quote. Lin Yuchan had been quietly observing the whole process. Pei Ling Xian accepted the signed contract immediately, repeatedly saying there was no problem. In her mind, she was overwhelmed with relief. After all that trouble, the mission was finally complete. She felt she could now return and report her success confidently, regardless of what anyone else might say. As Pei Ling Xian prepared to leave, Su Bai and Lin Yuchan headed in the opposite direction. Su Bai told her they should get going and continue their grinding. Then a notification appeared asking whether he wanted to receive the material list and forging requirements. Seeing Lin Yuchan following along with Su Bai, Pei Ling Xian quickly asked if they were heading to the 16th floor to break another record and whether they would mind her watching. Su Bai turned back and replied that it was fine. She could watch all she wanted. He even added that he would help her keep up with him in the future. In his mind, Su Bai was already planning his next move. He felt this was the perfect chance to show Pei Ling Xian his full strength, just enough to remind her that if she didn't handle things perfectly, he might decide to stick with Lin Yuchan far longer than she expected. Pei Ling Xian, on the other hand, was thinking that this guy was absolutely insane. His thoughts, attitude, and behavior were all unbelievable to her, but at the moment she had no choice but to endure it and follow along. Later, the group was shown trekking across a mountain path. Su Bai reminded everyone to keep up, since the last thing they needed was someone falling behind and wasting precious record-breaking time. They were now on the Tower of God's 60th floor, the flame rock ground, a scorching, lava-heated zone. Meanwhile, Pei Ling Xian watched everything through the luxurious viewing room's holographic feed, lounging comfortably on a sofa. She muttered to herself that she wanted to see for real what the year's top scorer was capable of, and whether all the stress she went through to recruit him was even worth it. Soon, crab-like monsters began leaping down from the rocks above, ambushing Su Bai and Lin Yuchan. One of the crabs launched an attack straight at Su Bai, but he spotted it in time and instantly fired back with spiked fireballs, wiping the entire cluster out effortlessly. For Su Bai, it was nothing special. For Pei Ling Xian, it was jaw-dropping. She stared at the damage numbers in disbelief, wondering what level he actually was, because nothing about him felt remotely close to level 20. Her shock only grew when she saw him casually using Chaos Fire and Fire Rain, unleashing destruction without breaking a sweat. Watching from afar, she could only think that the whole thing was terrifying. Facing this guy in a PvP match would basically mean instant death. Back on on the floor itself, Subai simply commented that the smell was pretty good. Lin Yuchan agreed, saying it smelled delicious. That was all the cue they needed. 2 hours later, both of them were happily sitting together, munching on freshly roasted giant crab meat, enjoying a surprisingly peaceful moment in between all the chaos. Subai commented that the crab meat smelled unbelievably delicious, and Lin Yuchan looked just as satisfied while eating beside him. What they were feasting on wasn't just any monster. It was Narek, the lord of the flame crab. The creature was so massive that they were literally sitting on its shell while using the rest of its body as an endless buffet. At this size, food wasn't going to be a problem for a long time. But right in the middle of their relaxed meal, the world announcement suddenly rang out again. It declared that Subai and the Lin Clan Guild had broken yet another record, this time for clearing the 16th floor in 7 hours, 8 minutes, and 59 seconds. The entire world erupted in disbelief once again. Pei Lingxue nearly jumped from her seat the moment she heard it. She immediately called headquarters, practically yelling into the communication channel that they had really struck gold this time. She wanted to tell them that their gamble had paid off, that this guy was the jackpot of jackpots, and that the boss had been absolutely right about contacting him as quickly as possible. She also knew that if the higher-ups hadn't shown such urgency, she wouldn't have endured half the madness she went through while trying to recruit him. But now that it was done, she finally felt the satisfaction of a painful investment paying off. Subai was a monster, plain and simple, and even Lin Yuchan's performance made her realize that the Lin clan really wasn't simple either. Meanwhile, notifications continued to flood the world, stating that Subai and Lin Yuchan were still inside the Tower of God. Outside, however, their legends were spreading like wildfire. Crowds everywhere were constantly refreshing the announcements. After a week of this madness, one man in the marketplace shouted for everyone to come see the great Subai again, only for another man to point out that everyone was already staring at the feed nonstop. Someone else remarked that the 2 members of the Lin Clan Guild were unbelievably active, appearing in the world announcements every single day, so much so that it was impossible not to see them. Then another global notification appeared, announcing that the Holy Knight King of the Lighthouse Kingdom had personally formed a massive elite team. The team included the Dharma King of the Eagle Kingdom, the boxing champion of the West Kingdom, 3 SSS rank players, and dozens of SS rank elites. And still, despite all that overwhelming power, none of them were achieving anything remotely close to what Subai was doing alone. People everywhere were buzzing about the newest announcements. One update reported that the elite coalition team was currently conquering the 100th floor. Another notification from the 103rd floor complained that the coalition had shamelessly combined the strategies of 3 different factions just to push forward. By the 176th floor, another update appeared, grumbling that the Yen Kingdom's progress was only at 50%, while the most recent American guide had already reached 82%. People wondered how they were even supposed to compete with that. On post 213, someone lamented that the Yen Kingdom seemed destined to simply watch other nations reap the benefits. On post 268, someone else declared that a new historical moment was about to unfold. It didn't matter where anyone went, Subai's name was everywhere. The legends about him spread across forums, plazas, guild halls, shops, and even the most remote parts of the world. Fan groups started popping up everywhere. People wanted to watch him play, follow him, copy him, or at least get close enough to brag about standing in the same air as him. Soon, a massive crowd gathered at the Lin Clan Guild headquarters, shouting over one another about wanting to sign up. The receptionist kept trying to calm the mob, telling them to chill while desperately organizing the chaos. Inside, butlers were receiving frantic orders from their masters to satisfy every requirement Lin Yuchan might have. Everyone understood that missing the Subai wave would be a huge loss. Meanwhile, back in Rim City, at the City Lord's mansion, this was part of the Wizard's Mad Diary questline. The City Lord, who was practically acting like a king, asked Subai whether he was truly certain about what he was doing. He reminded him that once a war started, it wouldn't be just one person's business. It would affect every resident and player in Dream City. But Subai simply replied that he would deal with the problem he created. In his mind, though, he was just thinking about how quickly he could finish this last Dream City mission so he could move on to more exciting things. Lin Yuchan stood quietly to the side, listening to everything. Even the mage present didn't know how to respond, leaving the room in tense silence. Eventually, the City Lord spoke again. He told Subai that if he wanted to participate in the war, then he needed to defeat the City Lord's white captain, Thomas Pett, an 80-level summoner. Subai responded casually, saying it wasn't a big deal, and that they could start anytime. The city lord almost choked. He clearly hadn't expected such confidence. Inside his head, Subai was thinking that although this challenge was twice as difficult as it had been in his previous life, it was still manageable. After all, it wasn't as if the city lord expected him to defeat a level 200 sovereign. Lin Yuchan, on the other hand, was stunned. She couldn't believe she was witnessing Subai so casually accept a challenge from an 80-level summoner. It only confirmed what she already suspected. Lord Subai really was on another level entirely. Lin Yuchan was practically trembling with excitement. In her mind, she kept thinking that this duel was too good to miss. If she skipped it, nothing else would feel enjoyable anymore. So when the duel was about to start, everyone stepped aside to watch. Subai calmly asked whether they could begin, and the vice captain questioned if he was really sure about challenging someone of his level in his current state. But Subai looked as confident as ever, so the vice captain put on his helmet and said it was commendable courage and that he wanted to see what Subai could do. He seemed just as eager for the duel. Then the summoning ritual began. The vice captain called forth a massive dragon, a giant bear, and an undead bone boss, each one level 80. The dragon was Barioth, level 80. The shadow grizzly was also level 80. These weren't normal summons. They were boss-tier monsters straight out of a high-level dungeon. Lin Yuchan was stunned. She commented that the summoning speed was insane and every summon was level 80, basically 3 boss fights at once. Even Subai had shown moments of difficulty with certain bosses before, so facing all 3 together would have been a nightmare for any normal player. But Subai stayed relaxed. He decided to first test things out with Fire Rain and began casting the spell. When the flames rained down, it became clear the vice captain wasn't taking any damage. The skill was too slow for PvP and forced Subai into predictable movement. The vice captain even seemed to hope Subai would slip up using such a clumsy skill. But Subai just smirked as if the real show hadn't even started yet. He then began chanting again, this time summoning something different. The ground cracked open beneath the vice captain as sharp stone thorns erupted upward. The vice captain was clearly caught off guard. He hadn't expected threats from below after evading the attack from above. He muttered in shock, wondering what those spiky things were and how they even came out of nowhere. Even the mage and the city lord watching the duel were stunned. They recognized it as dual element chanting, something incredibly rare. The vice captain quickly tried to counter. He commanded Barioth to unleash Frozen Lake, and the dragon instantly froze the entire battlefield, covering everything in thick ice. The dragon then took flight while the shadow grizzly used a shadow technique that turned the entire area into a murky, swamp-like battlefield. But Subai simply said it was useless and leapt into the air with complete ease. As Subai was descending from his jump, the vice captain hurriedly commanded his Balrog to use thrust, hoping to pierce Su by the moment he landed. But Subai wasn't worried at all. While falling, he muttered that if one wanted to catch a thief, one should first catch the king, and the next second, he shifted his focus behind the vice captain instead of the incoming Balrog. Right then, another set of stone spikes erupted from the ground, wrapping around the vice captain's arms and locking him in place. The entire summoner was completely bound before he even understood what had happened. Subai landed smoothly, glanced at the helpless man, and casually asked whether he planned to admit defeat or drag this out longer. The vice captain finally let out a tired sigh and said he would concede. The last thing he wanted was for those dangerous stone spikes to reach any more sensitive areas. Subai simply snapped his fingers and accepted the surrender. He had no intention of wasting even a second more than necessary. The vice captain thanked Subai for showing mercy. Subai just watched him quietly for a moment and then replied, a little awkwardly, that it was nothing, just a small scene, nothing impressive. Lin Yuchan commented that the whole experience was amazing, clearly thrilled by what she had just witnessed. Even the king stepped forward to reassure the vice captain, telling him not to feel discouraged since it was normal to lose against a hero. Then the mage hurried over, staring at Subai with wide eyes. He asked if Subai had been using some technique that required no chanting. Subai looked a bit surprised, but before he could answer, the mage quickly added that he wanted to learn that technique, along with Subai's dual element chanting. Right then, a notification appeared for Subai, a special mission from Orlando, with a reward titled Orlando's Army and a chance to obtain one of Orlando's exclusive skills. Subai cleared his throat, agreed, and immediately felt the excitement rising in his chest. He couldn't believe his luck. An exclusive Orlando skill meant at least a B-rank ability. Exactly the kind of reward he liked to see. He then turned to Lin Yuchan and told her to come along too. She lit up instantly, repeating me, before happily tagging along. Wherever Subai went, she was ready to follow. The king approached with a serious expression and explained that since Subai had passed the test, he would now be entrusted with the final task, one that affected the entire population of the city. He asked Subai to take it seriously. Subai simply responded with a brief acknowledgement. The king continued, saying the mission would begin in 24 hours and that Subai could coordinate with the rest of the players to form a joint defense. But Subai casually told him it wouldn't be necessary. He planned to guard the south gate alone. The king was stunned, asking if Su-bai really intended to defend it single-handedly. Su-bai confirmed it without hesitation, assuring him that he already had a plan for the entire situation. The king eventually agreed, saying he would handle intercepting the second-tier monsters outside the army, but explained he still needed to make the news of the beast tide public. Su-bai accepted that, saying he understood. Then another notification appeared. Side quest unlocked: the last uprising in Rim City. Reward: 100 skill points and 1 exclusive black skill. A second notification followed, reminding Su-bai that the rewards this time were double those from his previous life, and that the exclusive skill being offered was an A-rank skill worth a full 100,000 gold coins. This time, even Su-bai was shocked. The reward, the exclusive skill, the doubled bonuses, everything was way beyond what he expected. But before he could process it fully, a global announcement echoed through the world. It stated that 24 hours later, Rimu City would be attacked by the wizards, and thousands of ferocious beasts were already gathering nearby. From now on, the announcement said, the city would allow entry only, no exits. The rules continued. All players below level 30 were restricted to the inner city and forbidden from approaching the walls. The guards of Rimu City and Lotus City would jointly defend the north, west, and east gates. Player Su-bai would be solely responsible for defending the south gate. All players participating in the event would operate under Su-bai's command, and his battlefield authority took priority over everyone else's. As soon as the broadcast ended, the entire main town square exploded into chatter. People whispered that it looked like a dangerous, large-scale mission. Someone else said they definitely heard Su-bai's name. Another wondered in panic if the Beast Tide event was real. A frustrated player complained that he was only 1 level away from leveling up. Too late now. Another, already level 40, begged people nearby to help him get added to Su-bai's friend list, promising to behave. A different voice remarked that they thought Su-bai would disappear after clearing the 30th floor, yet here he was again, causing an even bigger uproar. Later, Su-bai and Lin Yuchan walked along the quiet halls of the castle. Yuchan suggested that they request reinforcements from the frontline strategy team. Su-bai calmly explained that a high level didn't guarantee an advantage, especially now. The monsters involved in this beast tide were all below level 200, and considering Earth's current level cap of 100, players couldn't truly control the situation. They would have to depend on NPCs to carry most of the weight anyway. Still worried, Lin Yuchan suggested inviting the strategy team again. But Su-bai turned to her and clarified his reasoning. He told her that if he alone held the south gate as a level 30 player, the beast tide attacking his side would be capped around level 100. But if second-tier, high-ranking players came to help, the system would scale the monster levels accordingly, and the beast tide would become far more dangerous. This time, Lin Yuchan fully understood. She laughed lightly and admitted she finally got the logic. She now realized Su-bai wasn't just physically absurd. His strategic thinking was sharp as well. Su-bai clearly knew what he was doing. Whether it was fighting or strategizing, he understood both the how and the when. Even in situations where physical strength alone wouldn't be enough, he could always rely on his brain to push through. At that moment, Lin Yuchan asked if she could join him in the upcoming defense. Su-bai gave her a serious look and told her she could, but only if she mastered dual element chanting and no chanting within the next 24 hours, otherwise surviving would be too difficult. Hearing this, she finally understood why he had been explaining all of that to her earlier. Elsewhere, Pei Lingxian also reacted to the world announcement. She commented to herself that Su-bai had managed to stir up a beast tide. Clearly, he was someone capable of causing large-scale chaos wherever he went. Curious and slightly excited, she messaged him, asking what was going on and if he needed help. Su-bai simply replied that he didn't need any. Pei Lingxian sighed, thinking it was true. He rarely needed help anyway. She felt a bit disappointed though, because if the strategy team weren't currently preparing to tackle the 100th floor, she would have personally joined the fun. Back at the training grounds, Su-bai began instructing Lin Yuchan. He explained that the essence of dual element chanting and no chanting lay in mental reading, using pure mental power to compress a long casting process into an instant. Lin could understand the logic behind it, even if performing it wasn't easy. Su-bai went on to tell her that the incantation needed to be internalized as her own thoughts. The rest would depend entirely on her practice. Once she mastered it, she could even pass the skill on to Orlando. This suggestion startled her. She hadn't expected to be teaching Captain Orlando anything, but Su-bai simply encouraged her to continue practicing, then casually announced he was going to take a nap, leaving her to work. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, a crowd of players gathered at a pub. People there were buzzing about the latest rumors. Someone mentioned that Wu Kai had apparently been recruited by Su-bai and was even live-streaming Su-bai's Beast Tide preparation. Others were baffled. How did a random guy get that opportunity? Someone else chimed in, saying Su-bai regularly posted tutorial videos and that even Pei Lingxian and another top-tier Pei goddess from the strategy team had liked his posts. To them, this was proof he was some kind of absolute genius. Another player sighed and admitted he had applied to join the defense team but didn't pass the screening. Someone asked his level and he replied he was level 50, yet still didn't qualify. Someone in the pub muttered that they should forget the complaining guy because even he was a level 50 B-rank elementalist and still failed the screening. He pointed out that the requirement was supposedly level 50, yet none of them had passed, and he wondered aloud whether Su-bai was really going to guard the entire place by himself. Before they could discuss further, a loud voice suddenly boomed from the screen. Wu Kai introduced himself as the livestream operations officer and apologized for the delay. He explained that he was currently standing on top of the southern wall of Rim City, balancing recklessly on the edge because all he cared about was showing everyone the real action. People watching immediately got excited. Many commented that a live stream was actually happening and that it was awesome. Others yelled asking where Su-bai was. Some even called him Mosaic, frustrated that footage of him was always censored before. Wu Kai then proudly announced that the one guarding the south today was none other than the Yen Kingdom's super rookie, God Su himself, and aimed the camera towards Su-bai and Lin Yuchan standing side by side. The viewers exploded instantly. Some screamed in excitement that they were finally seeing Su-bai. Many fangirled and fanboyed over how handsome he looked. A few called him their personal god, and as expected, a handful of jealous viewers hurled insults and demanded he leave Rim City. But those voices were quickly drowned out as thousands continued cheering his name. Just then, every screen filled with a flashing system warning announcing that the beast tide was coming. People began panicking. Some feared they would be trapped forever. Others pointed out that only Su-bai and Lin Yuchan were guarding the south and questioned how they would possibly survive. Someone shouted that the event had started, and another dramatically proclaimed that they were all doomed. Then one viewer noticed Wu Kai's stream had abruptly cut off and assumed he had died right as the fight began. People complained that they didn't even get to see anything, that everything was over before it began. But on the wall, none of that noise mattered. Su-bai simply stood there, looking over the southern field of Rim City. Thunder rumbled across the sky, lightning crackled through the dark clouds, and he remained calm. He looked ahead, unfazed, and quietly said it was time to get to work. Lin Yuchan quietly tells Su-bai that the battle has already started. But before she can say anything else, fire suddenly begins falling from the sky. She quickly thinks to herself that they're lucky it's only a level 26 horned lizard, something Su-bai can easily wipe out. Su-bai then utters the words for fire rain, unleashing the spell without hesitation. For him, these weak monsters pose absolutely no threat. At that exact moment, the live stream comes back online. Wu Kai hurriedly announces that he is reporting from a corner of Rim City and apologizes, explaining that he got too excited and accidentally unplugged the power cord. The chat immediately explodes with relief and irritation. People shout that he nearly scared them to death. Others yell for him to hurry and show what Su-bai is doing. As the camera stabilizes again, the viewers see Su-bai flinging out spells without even chanting. Lin Yuchan tries to stay calm, repeating to herself not to be nervous. Wanting to keep up with him, she summons the Balrog, and just as Su-bai taught her, she manages to cast it without chanting. She excitedly tells him she succeeded. Su-bai simply responds with a calm, "Not bad," before ramping up the intensity. He unleashes chaos and fire rain together, layer after layer. Magic circles bloom across the sky, and the rain of fire intensifies until it becomes a full-blown fire hailstorm. If he could go beyond 9 chains of fire rain, he absolutely would, but for now, 9 is his limit. The horned fire lizards, however, are not handling even this much. They're dropping like flies. Online, the viewers go wild. Some scream that it's unbelievable these two are holding down the entire south side of the city. Others insist no ordinary person could ever do this and call Su-bai a god. A few argue that this must be the power of an SSS-level existence. Then Su-bai calls out the next move in a low voice, Call of the Dead. A sea of undead rises behind him, their eyes glowing, ready to fire. The audience erupts again. People start shouting that it looks like a resurrection spell. Others insist it's real necromancy. No one can believe he can summon so many at once. It completely breaks their understanding of the game. Viewers continue exploding with comments. Someone says the number of undead is too terrifying. Another points out that Su-bai's abilities are unbelievable, wondering aloud what can't he do if he can even perform mass resurrection. Wu Kai keeps the camera trained on the battlefield, trying his best not to scream over the microphone. Even the horned lizards Su-bai killed earlier begin rising as undead. Wu Kai announces in shock that Sushin looks like a modern-day war god, a being who controls fire rain in the sky and an army of skeletons on the ground at the same time. Meanwhile, Su-bai stays perfectly calm. He simply tells Lin Yuchan to rest for a moment and prepare for a prolonged battle, because he can tell she is starting to struggle after so much spellcasting. Lin Yuchan agrees and sits back, watching the battlefield fill with undead soldiers clashing against the tide of beasts. She then asks Su-bai how long the beast tide might last. Su-bai explains that it could end in as little as 24 hours or drag on for several days, depending on how intense the waves become. The fire continues to rain endlessly from the magic circles hanging in the sky. Even an hour later, the bombardment doesn't slow down. Every drop of flame keeps wiping out the monsters trying to force their way into the city. Su-bai holds his hands forward, maintaining the spell rhythm while thinking that he is fortunate he upgraded his skills in advance. Otherwise, 9 streams of fire rain would never have been enough to handle this level of chaos. Everyone watching the live stream stares in disbelief, even though the events are unfolding right in front of their eyes. The streamer excitedly comments that the entire battlefield has turned into a sea of fire, and that Su-bai is defending the whole city single-handedly. He even adds that Su-bai looks incredibly handsome while doing it. Hearing the exaggerated praise, Lin Yuchan quietly tells herself that she cannot afford to fall behind and must also give her best. Su-bai glances back and immediately notices that Lin Yuchan is entering the fight again. He acknowledges her effort and tells her she's doing well, reminding her to keep the chaos fire rain stable and to let the Balrog hold the defensive line. He also warns her that stronger monsters are on the way and that this is only the beginning, so they shouldn't use up all their strength too early. The streamer, after stuffing himself with food during the brief lull, suggests that Su-bai take a moment to eat as well, since almost a full day has passed. Su-bai agrees. Some food wouldn't hurt, so he joins Lin Yuchan and Wu Kai for a quick meal before returning to the battle. Meanwhile, outside the battlefield, things are getting hectic everywhere. Inside the Zhao Dynasty conference room, tension fills the air as a subordinate reports that the East District is severely short-staffed. Too many players from the inner city are trying to transfer toward other guilds, and they simply don't have the manpower to process them all. Young Master Zhao sits rigidly, unable to hide his frustration. In his mind, he blames everything on Su-bai, muttering internally that Su-bai is the cause of this entire mess. Out loud, however, he instructs his people to distribute the workload if they cannot handle it. He orders them to contact the leaders of the major guilds in Rim City and prepare them to absorb the incoming flood of players. His attendant immediately agrees, rushing off to carry out the order. But young Master Zhao continues stewing internally, thinking that with tens of millions of players panicking and switching sides, he has no choice but to share the pressure with others, even though he hates being forced into this position. And in his mind, he repeats that Su-bai is at the root of it all. At Rimu City Square, a world announcement appears, inviting elite players to join the Zhao Dynasty Guild for a coordinated defense effort. The crowd reacts instantly. People murmur among themselves, saying they cannot believe the news. Someone points out that the announcement is real, and that the Zhao Dynasty Guild will be handling the frontline sniping forces. Another person notes that the guild has already sent out a message. A few in the crowd start praising the Zhao Dynasty Guild loudly, claiming that a major guild naturally shoulders greater responsibility, unlike Su-bai, who, according to them, is still casually eating and drinking at such a critical moment and playing with their lives. Then a voice rises from behind the crowd declaring loudly that he wants to join the Zhao Dynasty Guild and refuses to associate with arrogant idiots like Su-bai. Another quickly echoes the sentiment, saying that it is the Zhao Dynasty Guild taking responsibility and leading everyone in resisting the beast tide. Hearing these words, other bystanders, easily influenced, begin agreeing as well. They say they should not follow an egomaniac like Su-bai and that they are leaving the Lin Clan Association immediately because they believed it was reliable, but never expected it to be so blindly arrogant. No one realizes that the voice from behind belonged to a PR agent hired to manipulate public opinion. Once he sees momentum shifting against Su-bai, he quietly slips away through the crowd like an Assassin's Creed rogue, having completed his task. Meanwhile, in the Zhao Dynasty conference room, tension builds. Advisors ask young Master Zhao what they should do if the beast tide fails to breach the city walls. Another wonders if all their preparations would then be for nothing. Someone else insists that the fall of the city is inevitable and questions whether Su-bai alone could possibly hold back such a massive beast tide. Young Master Zhao remains quiet on the outside, but inside he sneers. He thinks to himself that it is laughable to believe Su-bai could withstand the beast tide alone, SSS level or not. He silently decides that Su-bai's downfall is only a matter of time, and all they need to do is wait. Back on the battlefield, Su-bai continues unleashing the fire rain. Everything is still proceeding smoothly despite the endless flow of monsters. Deciding to intensify the assault, he raises a hand and summons the dead. Instantly, skeleton soldiers rise from the ground, glowing with a cold blue aura, eager to join the battle. Su-bai continued using both fire magic and his summoned skeleton army to suppress the incoming beasts. While watching the the battlefield, Lin Yuchan asked what stage of the beast tide they were currently facing. Su Bai, still focused on casting his spells, replied that it was taking longer than he had originally predicted. The streamer, who had gone unusually quiet after stuffing himself with food, suddenly snapped awake when he heard this. Lin Yuchan guessed that the beast tide might drag on for 5 days and stared in disbelief, thinking the number sounded absurd. Before she could fully process it, Su Bai muttered that even 5 days wouldn't be enough. This shocked both of them. The streamer blurted out in panic that another 5 days of beast tide was insane. Su Bai, unfazed, simply said that even if the difficulty increased tenfold, he wouldn't be afraid. Lin Yuchan was stunned. She knew he was brave, but dealing with a beast tide was on a completely different scale. Before she could say anything else, Su Bai told her to stay put and announced that he would be right back. Then, without a moment's hesitation, he leapt straight off the city wall. Lin Yuchan instinctively reached out, trying to stop him, but he was already mid-air. She could hardly believe what he had just done. Jumping down from that height should have meant instant death, or at least serious injury, for someone only at level 40. But when Su Bai landed, he didn't even flinch. He immediately surveyed the battlefield up close, completely unharmed. Lin Yuchan was stunned by the sheer speed and fluidity of his movements. Even the streamer could only mumble that Su Bai's physical capabilities were unbelievable. While the undead army continued fighting, Su Bai personally rushed into the thick of the beasts, slashing monsters aside with each swing. Creatures were sent flying in all directions as he carved a path straight through them. From above, Lin Yuchan watched the chaos unfold, astonished by the level of destruction he was causing. She eventually asked whether he was setting up a magic array, because the pattern of his movements, cutting down beasts in certain areas and running in specific directions, made her think he was preparing something intricate. Meanwhile, the streamer, lying under the massive shell fragments Lin Yuchan had accidentally crushed him with earlier, felt like death itself was sitting on his chest. Yet somehow, the live stream continued running, and the viewers flooded the chat with reactions. Comments poured in non-stop. Su Bai is awesome. He's too amazing. Is this guy even human? The whole world seemed to be watching as Su Bai personally tore through the beast tide, one monster after another. People watching the stream continued shouting over each other, praising and questioning everything they saw. One viewer commented that Su Bai was mighty, while another insisted Su Bai must have set up some kind of magic array. Someone else said they couldn't even tell what type of array it was because the battlefield looked too dark and chaotic to see clearly. Another viewer declared that Su Bai was basically a god, saying that the jump he performed earlier was obviously something only a martial arts master could pull off. Someone sitting on a bench in the viewing plaza wondered aloud why Su Bai, who was supposedly a magic-based class, had the physical strength of a martial artist. A woman next to him simply replied that an SSS-grade professional could hardly be weak. Another nearby said that even someone of Li Jianxian's level had never shown such outrageous versatility. Su Bai was simply too far ahead. Then Su Bai leapt up again, rising above his own fire rain, and within moments he dropped back down right beside the streamer and Lin Yuchan. The streamer nearly jumped out of his skin, saying that he was shocked because Su Bai seemed able to move freely up and down the towering city wall as if gravity didn't apply to him. He joked that maybe they should just call him Su God. Su Bai immediately dismissed the jokes and explained that he had already finished setting up a magic array. He told them the three of them would rotate shifts guarding it so they could fight a prolonged battle without collapsing from exhaustion. Lin Yuchan understood right away and offered to take the next watch, telling Su Bai to rest first. She was determined to support him in any way possible. Su Bai agreed and said she should wake him immediately if anything happened. The streamer, still buzzing from excitement, promised that nothing would go wrong on his watch. Later, the monsters approached again, but now every creature that stepped into the perimeter of the array was taken down instantly. Critical hit notifications lit up the battlefield like stars. Both Lin Yuchan and the streamer were stunned by the array's strength. Lin Yuchan noted that Su Bai had casually created something capable of one-hit kills, something far beyond what she expected from a simple defensive setup. Even the streamer began to tremble a little, muttering that the array was terrifying, and that the last thing anyone would ever want was to become Su Bai's enemy. Hours later, after watching wave after wave of monsters disintegrate upon contact, the streamer finally admitted he couldn't stay awake anymore. He told Lin Yuchan that he was going to sleep for a bit and asked her to wake him if she couldn't hold out or needed him to take over. Lin Yuchan immediately agreed, but after taking another look at Su Bai, she couldn't help thinking that the longer she spent with him, the less she understood the true limits of his power. He just kept revealing more incredible abilities every single day. 3 days later, the magic array was still functioning, burning away waves of monsters without pause. But Lin Yuchan finally reported that they were no longer able to effectively stop the beast tide. The front line had pushed much closer, and boss-level monsters had begun to appear in the horde. The streamer added that based on the trends from the last 5 days, it seemed unlikely they would be able to hold out much longer. Su Bai, however, continued calmly eating his meal while watching the array work. People watching the stream were losing their minds, questioning how he could remain so relaxed. One viewer claimed they should force Su Bai off the wall and fight together. Another pointed out that a level 60 boss had appeared while Su Bai was only level 40, insisting that defeating it should be impossible. More voices shouted that there were too many bosses and they were all doomed. Others began declaring that they wanted to join the Zhao Dynasty Guild to help fight the beast tide. Even amid the chaos, countless eyes remained glued to Su Bai. But now that public opinion had started to sway against him, some hired agitators, assassins working in the shadows, watched gleefully, knowing they had successfully stirred up negative sentiment. All they wanted now was to sit back and enjoy whatever spectacle came next. Meanwhile, Su Bai finished the last bite of his food, stood up, and calmly said that the meal had tasted pretty good. Then he walked over to Lin Yuchan and told her that she should take a rest and leave the rest to him. She, having pushed herself to her limits, finally felt some relief. The moment Su Bai jumped straight into the battlefield, the entire stream exploded with shock. People shouted, wondering what he was planning to do. Someone speculated that he might have an even more advanced magic array. Others couldn't understand how a mage could possibly have such absurd physical strength. The streamer was almost speechless, muttering in disbelief that Su Bai seemed to be charging in alone, as if preparing to take on boss monsters one-on-one. Viewers questioned whether a single person could really fight an entire group of bosses. But Lin Yuchan simply smiled, completely unbothered, and said that of course he could. He was Su Bai. The wolf monsters kept howling, their eyes locked on Su Bai as they tried to anticipate his next move. But anticipation meant nothing against him. As soon as he struck, a critical blow landed, shaving off 1,000 points of their HP in an instant. Before they could regroup, another critical strike followed, taking away another 1,000. Then another, each hit slamming into them with terrifying consistency. The wolves could do nothing but stagger under the barrage. They wanted to fight back, but the speed and precision of Su Bai's attacks left them utterly helpless. And then, with yet another devastating strike, nearly 9,000 HP vanished at once. To the viewers, it looked as if lightning itself had descended. Su Bai moved like a living thunderstorm, tearing through the battlefield with the authority of a god. Nothing in front of him was spared. Anything that stood in his way was promptly destroyed. Yet, even after unleashing such overwhelming force, Su Bai still assessed the situation calmly. He remarked that they would need to speed up, otherwise things might spiral out of control. Subscribe now to not miss the next chapter and show support for Su Bai by liking and commenting on the video. Don't get manipulated by the words of those shadow assassins trying to defame Su Bai.